What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new series. Today we have a scenario that I've wanted to do for a while, but have held it off because I've been trying to find a way to tweak it. If you remember a while back, I did a what if where Jiren was from Universe 7, and I liked doing that one. So I thought, what if I move someone from Universe 6 to Universe 7 instead? And I wanted to make one about Hit in Universe 7, but instead I had a different idea. And after looking into the comments some more, I see that a lot of people suggested it too, so I decided, why not do this? A what if where Universe 6 and 7 are one universe. And I'm not just going to be putting characters from Universe 6 into Universe 7, I actually have a whole story about how it happens and what it actually affects in the story too beyond that. You'll see what I mean as it goes on. Anyways, let's begin covering what would happen if Universe 6 and 7 were one. Beerus and Champa are constantly butting heads, and at some points, fights even break out between them, and at one point, there's a particularly bad one. Knowing the two brothers, it's over something petty. It's over Beerus eating some food at Champa's birthday, which is also Beerus' birthday obviously. It's the same event that actually was seen in the manga, except here we're changing it a little bit. It happens a while before everything else in the story, and the fight gets a little too intense. Whis and Vados are able to intervene, finally stopping the battle. But as they look around, they see the results of the destruction. Besides the countless planets that were destroyed, it seems like the fabric of the universe itself is falling apart. And not just one universe, but both of them. Universe 6 and 7 are structurally damaged, and it's almost as if one begins leaking to the other. The two begin merging. Beerus and Champa regain consciousness after Whis and Vados knock them out. And they ask what's going on as their attendants scold them. They so badly damage each universe that now the two of them are just, well, they're collapsing in on each other. They're able to mitigate some of the damage, but it seems it's already too far gone. The two universes merge into one giant one. The neutral space between them completely disappears, as the two universes begin connecting. Beerus and Champa are terrified because now they know they're going to have to enter to Zeno for it. And soon enough, Zeno does call them over. He doesn't do anything about it. He actually thinks that one mega universe, it might be pretty entertaining. It could raise the mortal level, especially because those two are so weak, and it leaves one less universe for him to look over. Another upside is the fact that this could be better for their management. They haven't really been doing the best jobs with their individual universes, but with the two of them overseeing one, as well as having more Kais looking over everything, well, maybe those weak universes can be saved. But Zeno tells them they're on very thin ice. He tells the two of them to not cause any more havoc, or they'll face his wrath. They're absolutely mortified, and they do anything that he asks for. They're surprised they weren't just erased on the spot for that. But Zeno actually sees this as a fun experiment, and now they really just need to watch their act and make sure they're being better gods. Or at least being less chaotic. And while this could be easily fixed with the Super Dragon Balls, Zeno advises against it. He wants to see it through. Beerus and Champa almost went to gather them actually. But now it looks like they're just going to have to live with it. With this mega universe being created, it now has multiple gods. 2 gods of destruction, 2 Supreme Kai, multiple other Kai, and of course, 2 attendants, Vados and Whis. The Kais are taking this very seriously. Fua and Shin are trying to do their best to keep everything going as is. And now they have to figure out what to do next. There's multiples of each planet too. For example, there's 2 planets called Earth. These are twin universes after all, but they can't just have 2 of each planet existing. There are some unique planets between them. But as for those duplicates, something needs to be done about that. Beerus and Champa decide to handle it themselves. After all, before creation comes destruction. To create a functional new universe, they're going to have to destroy some things. At random, duplicates of each planet are destroyed. Thankfully, they're so far apart that they're not affecting each other. For example, Universe 7's Earth is so completely detached from Universe 6's Earth that it doesn't really matter. But one of them has to go while the other stays. And this is thousands of years before everything else, so Universe 6's Earth is actually intact right now. Well, at least for the time being, until they have to destroy it. Universe 7's Earth gets spared. And they repeat this for all the duplicate planets too. Some planets are already very civilized. For example, the 2 Nameks, they're already developed. And the Namekians from each are pretty similar. So the Kais do help, making larger planets, coalescing the 2 societies together, with Universe 6 and Universe 7 Namek merging. This is only done for very few planets, the higher level ones that are very civilized. Neither Earth, for example, was heavily developed, and is still at a critical stage in its development. Merging the 2 together would be disastrous. But for 2 very similar planets like Namek that already seem like they're developed already, they're put together. They do this on a planet by planet basis. For each planet, it's going to be a little bit of a different case. One interesting case is the 2 Saiyan planets. One planet is actually a little bit farther along in development, Universe 6's planet Sadala. There's also Planet Plant, which eventually would turn into Universe 7's planet Vegeta. Since the Kais are both so frantic right now about everything, and let's be honest, they're also a little bit incompetent, they don't realize that these 2 planets are actually the same, just at different stages of development. So, the 2 planets are actually left alone. Planet Plant eventually develops into Planet Vegeta, a society with Saiyans and Tuffles, and even goes through its own phase where it's called Planet Sadala, without even knowing that there's another one already. Shin and Fua notice this when it's too late. But for some reason, Beerus steps in and tells him not to destroy either. He doesn't know exactly why, but he feels like down the line, the Saiyans will be important to him. He can't quite put his finger on it, but he did have a dream recently. He might need to go back to sleep again soon. Many years pass, and eventually, the Saiyan societies eventually come in contact with each other. Also for our purposes, Saiyans will come to be just as normal, and will take liberties and keep some of the same characters as normal. Realistically, if this is how it went, so much of the history of the Saiyans would go differently that people like Vegeta wouldn't even exist. But this is Dragon Ball, and we're not being realistic here. The Saiyan societies eventually do merge, with the Universe 7 ones being more dominant over the Universe 6 ones. Unlike with the Tuffles, the two Saiyan societies live in peace. Although, they kinda keep to themselves. Planet Vegeta is pretty classist as we've seen. And if low-class Saiyans are looked down upon, there's also going to be the Universe 6 Saiyans that are looked down upon. They do seem weaker. They don't even have tails, they've evolved past that. So even though those Saiyans are actually farther developed, the ruthless Universe 7 Saiyans are still looking down upon them. The non-tailed Saiyans are basically looked at as their own class like the low-class Saiyans, while the middle-class and elite-class Saiyans from Universe 7 reign above them. There's some differences between the two. Universe 6 Saiyans of course don't have tails and they're more peaceful, and we'll add some other things to them too. For example, they keep their youth for longer and have longer lifespans. Universe 7 Saiyans are stronger, but have shorter lives, and a little bit less potential than the Universe 6 ones. I'm kinda keeping some of the ideas from the main story where Universe 6 Saiyans seem to be a lot more peaceful, and have a lot more S cells because of that. Although instead of it being the S cells as an explanation, it's more so just them being further developed in general, and this creates the genetic difference between them. And their longer youth also explains why some of the Saiyans here look so young from Universe 6, but the Universe 7 Saiyans actually kinda look their age. Looking at you, Kappa. And right now, Planet Vegeta is pretty heavily developed anyways. Vegeta the Third, aka the King Vegeta that we know, he just took over, with the Saiyans still being controlled by King Cold's army. King Cold actually did want the two societies to merge. The Saiyans are powerful soldiers that they could use, although the Universe 6 ones don't seem to want to cooperate. They're a lot more docile than the Universe 7 ones, which also does rub off on some of them. King Cold is trying to expand his army as much as possible. He did come in contact with another army. It was on a farther side of the universe, but it still was there, an army called the Frost Corps. It seems there's a ceasefire between the two, but not an official one. We'll be seeing more of that army later on, as well as many of the other things in the universe that develop differently. But let's just focus on the Saiyans for this moment. Frieza eventually does take control, and ends up destroying Planet Vegeta. Not at the request of Beerus either, he actually does this on his own, which is another change here. And while Beerus did want to keep the Saiyans around, he kinda forgot why he wanted to in the first place. Maybe it'll come back to him, and maybe this is for the better. It was a mistake for those two planets to exist in the first place. And Champa kind of agrees too. At least they don't need to worry about it anymore. But even with Planet Vegeta being destroyed, there's probably many more Saiyans that went off planet. But Frieza knows this. He wants to hunt them down. Some Universe 6 Saiyans escaped from the Universe 7 Saiyans. And for those that were in that merged society, some of them deserted to avoid being in Frieza's army too, or just because they didn't want to be under King Vegeta's rule and rather King Sadala. But in the Frieza Force, some Saiyans still do exist, and there are some out there that he doesn't know of yet. But right now, he knows of 4. 3 of whom are tailed Saiyans, and 1 is a tailless Saiyan. They don't actually know they're from separate universes. They're just separated by whether or not they were born with a tail. In Frieza's army, there's Vegeta, the Prince, as well as Nappa and Raditz. And there's one tailless Saiyan who's kind of unlike the rest, who actually did join the Saiyan army due to her strength. This is Caulifla, an orphan tailless Saiyan that was raised by some of the other ones. Now also part of Vegeta's crew. In Vegeta's eyes, the more Saiyans together the merrier, even if Raditz and Caulifla are essentially low-class Saiyans in his eyes. Still, it's better this way. But as I mentioned, there were a good few who weren't killed on Planet Vegeta when it was destroyed, with one of them being sent away as a baby, a Saiyan named Kakarot, who eventually ends up on Earth. Now, unlike something like Planet Vegeta for example, Earth actually developed like normal. Comparatively to the others, it's still a relatively undeveloped planet, but now it's civilized. There's human societies. With each decade that passes, they're more technologically advanced. It's no longer roamed by dinosaurs or cavemen, it's roamed by intelligent humans, as well as a Saiyan who doesn't even know he's a Saiyan. Earth has actually remained completely unaffected, which includes Goku as well. But I did mention the history of the Namekians was affected as well, and we're not really going to be seeing that just yet. But just know that the nameless Namekian that came to Earth wasn't the same one that we know in the main story. He has some slight differences due to his different society too. But we still do have Piccolo on Earth. And as much as I'd love to go into the story of Dragon Ball, at least the parts before Raditz arrives, well, there's nothing really to cover. Since we left Earth completely unaffected, and we don't have any sort of space travel until later on, nothing changes. This is another one of the liberties we're taking, just because I don't want to create a completely different story with different characters, even though that's realistically what would happen with the two universes combined like that. But as the series goes on, we'll be seeing different characters pop up, different storylines, different planets. The hierarchy of gods is completely different. At some point, Vegeta does want to find every surviving Saiyan. He's been kind of looking around, but he knows it's dangerous. Frieza's also been on the lookout because he knows they could be threats. He's not particularly concerned about the tailless ones, more so the tailed ones who grew up in a more aggressive environment, the ones ruled by King Vegeta, not King Sadala. But he doesn't actively seek out the Saiyans, he's just keeping an eye out for them. And this leads to Raditz being sent to Earth, looking for his younger brother that was sent to this place. It's shocking to Raditz to see that Goku actually doesn't have a tail. It's a sign of weakness among Saiyans because it makes him look like one of the non-tailed Saiyans, an even lower class than the low-class Saiyans that they are. But of course, he knows that's not the case. Kakarot just had his tail cut off, which must mean he's pretty weak too, because they view that as a source of power for them. and his power level isn't anything too impressive either. He knew Kakarot was weak, but he's still this weak after all this time? And he's not acting Saiyan-like. It's so strange. Outside of that, their encounter goes pretty much normal, leading up to the death of Goku and Raditz. But Raditz gives a different warning this time. In a year's time, 3 Saiyans will come to avenge him. 3 warriors will arrive on Earth, finishing the job that he started, leading everyone on Earth to prepare for the Saiyan invasion. But they're not the only ones preparing. With all this chaos in this giant merged universe, there's another faction, one that formed a while ago, but is still relatively new. An agency created to keep peace in the universe. Not one created by gods, but by mortals, the Galactic Patrol. A couple of them are monitoring this planet called Earth, of course one of them being Jocko. He knew a while ago that some Saiyan was sent there that he was supposed to kill, but he never was able to do it. Luckily, the planet turned out completely fine. But he did get word that another Saiyan space pod was going there. Great. Is it one of the Planet Vegeta Saiyans that went there to cause havoc? Why is that? But the guy never leaves the planet. It seems that both the Saiyans on that planet ended up dying in a battle with each other. You know what? Jocko's actually glad that happened. Well, if Earth was being invaded, then it was stopped, and that means both the Saiyans are gone. None of them can be a problem in the future. He does know that there's probably some other Saiyans out there still, but at least those 2 are gone. Granted, that one on Earth, he probably wasn't that bad of a guy because he never caused any problems, but he can never know for sure. Looks like it's not his problem anymore, but one of his colleagues hears of this too, and he particularly takes interest in it. Jocko says that it's not really his problem either. He shouldn't have to worry about it. I mean, if the Saiyans are gone, why does he want to go there? But for this guy, it's something more personal. Jocko always knew this guy was kind of strange as one of his colleagues. But he kind of gets why this guy wants to get involved because he actually is a Saiyan too. Not one of the Universe 7 Saiyans, but one of the ones from planet Sadala. At least a descendant of one of those Saiyans. He's actually around the same age as Goku. It's a galactic patrolman named Kappa. His family barely escaped Frieza. Although, his parents weren't so lucky. They didn't make it out. But they're able to safely hide their kid, with Kappa surviving, then eventually being found by the Galactic Patrol, who came in to see if there were any survivors from what happened, since the Frieza Force was tracking down some of the people that deserted. This is actually right before the planet got destroyed too, and they didn't know what to do with this kid, but they decided to actually take him, with Jocko being one of his mentors too. And for Kappa, a lot of this is personal, figuring out that the Frieza Force is still out there causing havoc. And what's worse, it's more Saiyans being pitted against each other. It's even weirder this time because apparently these 2, they're not Sadalan. They're Vegetan, I guess that would be the term for that. One's from planet Vegeta. They don't even know that those 2 Saiyans are brothers too. But he wonders why particularly this planet is an interest for the Saiyans. Because that could put this planet at risk. Not just from the Saiyans attacking, but from Frieza attacking too. And Kappa wants to check it out, just to make sure that everything's fine. It's not going to hurt to at least just get some info. So, against what Jocko says, Kappa actually goes out to Earth, trying to figure out what's happening here. He wonders how many Saiyans are still out there. Not just the ones from planet Vegeta, but the ones like him. There's definitely got to be some survivors. And what concerns him is this planet is now on the Saiyans' radar. There's definitely others out there. He knows that the prince is out there alive somewhere. Vegeta, a guy that kind of concerns Kappa. Not as much as Frieza, but still, he's concerning. And Kappa tries to think of what's going on. He can't figure it out though, but eventually he does arrive on Earth. During the 1 year of training, a few months after Raditz arrived, Piccolo's in the middle of nowhere, watching Gohan survive in the wilderness. And he senses something strange, a power approaching. It doesn't seem malicious, but still, it's concerning, since it's coming from space. Others actually pick up on it too. On the lookout, the humans there, they could sense this. And of course Kame could see. There's another invader on Earth, it seems. Telepathically, he starts speaking with Piccolo, which kinda does annoy Piccolo, but Kame tells him to check it out. Piccolo tells him not to intrude on his thoughts like that. He already was gonna go intervene anyways, but he will let them know what's going on. Piccolo still is Piccolo at this point, so he's a little bit difficult to work with. But in this case, he's actually gonna cooperate. He flies over to where the space pod is. And it's not one like the Saiyan space pods that they saw before. It's more like a normal spaceship. Well, whatever constitutes as normal for spaceships. The hatch opens, and a man steps off. Piccolo's stomach drops. No, it can't be. This early already? There's another Saiyan here. Kappa steps off the ship, making eye contact with Piccolo. Piccolo is immediately ready to fight. Seeing that this guy's clearly a Saiyan, his first instinct is to jump into battle. This is bad. The Saiyans aren't supposed to be here for another few months. They're not ready yet. Goku's not back either. And the worst part is, he's the only one here that knows too. The other fighters are all off somewhere else. Piccolo has to face this alone. And Kappa simply asks for the Saiyan named Kakarot or the one named Raditz. He just wants info on either of them. Piccolo tells him they're both dead. If he's looking for his friend Raditz, he's gone. And Raditz is the reason Goku's dead too. And Kappa just gives off a sigh of relief. And that leaves Piccolo kind of confused. What, he's not worried that one of his comrades is dead? And Kappa tells Piccolo he thinks there's a misunderstanding. But Piccolo questions, he is a Saiyan, isn't he? And then he notices he doesn't have a tail either. It seems the two of them have to catch up a bit. Kappa learns about Kakarot and how he eventually became Goku. Jocko actually never knew of that. A while ago he was tasked with killing Kakarot as a kid, but never ended up doing that. Thankfully for him, it seems that the planet remained okay, and the Saiyan didn't cause any rampage here. Kappa knew that one Saiyan Raditz came here, but he didn't know that the other three are actually going to show up soon too, with Raditz warning them. So that must be Prince Vegeta's crew. Piccolo also learns about the Saiyans, hearing more of the history of them, and how there's kind of two different kinds of Saiyans. The Sadalan ones without tails, like Kappa, or the Vegetan ones, like Vegeta, obviously, or Goku. It seems Goku's a weird case because the Vegetan Saiyans actually are more, well, destructive, while Goku's a good guy. And Kappa mentions how Saiyans like him are a lot more passive, but have greater potential than the Vegetan Saiyans. Goku's apparently a low-class Saiyan from that society, and Piccolo's a bit confused on why there's two separate groups of Saiyans. They still don't know about the separate universes thing, so Kappa doesn't really have an answer for that. Kappa does say that he's around Goku's age, and explains how his family deserted planet Vegeta, with him being the sole survivor. For a while he's been trying to help the Galactic Patrol stop Frieza, which includes stopping the Saiyans in his army. He's not even sure if the Saiyans are loyal to him. The Saiyans should hate Frieza, if anything. But Vegeta and the three Saiyans that were part of his crew, well, now the two Saiyans that are part of his crew, they've remained loyal soldiers to Frieza. And Kappa thinks this might be a good opportunity. They're gonna get the two Saiyans alone. He could figure out what their true motives are. Maybe they do want to revolt against Frieza. And if not, well, it leaves a perfect opening for them to destroy the rest of the Saiyans, if they truly are that evil and loyal to Frieza. And Kappa tells Piccolo that he'll join the fight. He can't promise that the rest of the Galactic Patrol will help, but he says that he will. The rest of the Galactic Patrol knows that Frieza's army is very formidable, and they kinda tend not to get involved with that. But Kappa's doing this on his own accord. This is a personal goal of his. And Piccolo can't believe it. They found another Saiyan and he's actually on their side, supposedly. He's still not that trusting. Piccolo was pretty suspicious about this whole thing. But then Kami butts in. He could sense this guy's presence. And he asks Piccolo, he feels it too, right? His energy. There's no malice in it at all. Piccolo's still wary about this whole situation, but at least he might be able to trust this guy. And then Kappa asks something kind of weird. So, Goku's been on this planet for this entire time and is assimilated with the humans. Kappa asks if Goku has a kid or anything. And Piccolo tells him about Gohan. This makes Kappa pretty excited. He's heard rumors about how strong hybrid Saiyans can get. This isn't just Saiyans with other species. With Sadalan and Vegetan Saiyans, this was the case. Although there weren't too many of them, and they're all gone by now. Supposedly. But a Saiyan and Earthling hybrid? He's glad to hear about this because he could be a very valuable asset. Although the issue is, Gohan's pretty young. And very inexperienced. And pretty cowardly too. Oh yeah, Kappa should have realized that. Well, maybe he could help train Gohan. But Piccolo's not too sure. He's confident in his own methods. And no offense, Kappa did say he is a more passive type of Saiyan, so he wonders how strong Kappa truly is. And Kappa would be glad to show Piccolo. The two of them begin sparring, and Piccolo immediately comes to learn that Kappa is actually quite skilled. Despite being a pretty young Galactic Patrolman, he's very experienced as a fighter. Almost as much as Goku, actually. Of course, his fighting style is completely different, but he can immediately tell that this guy's very smart. Not to mention, powerful. And because of this, Kappa's gonna help Piccolo spearhead this whole operation, since it seems like he's kind of the one leading everything. Which includes Kappa training Gohan. It's even better because he learns that they have a way to bring Goku back to life, and Kappa wonders how strong Goku can truly be. He grew up here on Earth and apparently grows pretty quickly as a fighter. As a low-class tailed Saiyan, maybe he's not that strong. But at the same time, he seems like a very unique case, so maybe he's actually more powerful than Kappa expects. And let's cover some power levels at this point too. Kappa's the strongest of the group, at a power of around 6,000. Piccolo grows a bit stronger too because Kappa becomes his training partner. And with such a strong and experienced training partner like that, Piccolo's power jumps to 4,500. And with Kappa's involvement, Gohan's training actually goes a lot more smoothly. With two teachers around like that, it really does help him grow as a fighter, controlling some more of his power, putting him at around 2,000 before any rage boosts. Although this doesn't mean he's going to be a perfect fighter by now, it just helped him out a little bit. But Kappa says there is one advantage that other Saiyans have that he doesn't. They have tails, which means they can transform into great apes. While the Sadalan Saiyans have greater potential and can grow faster as fighters, them turning into great apes is a huge advantage. Although Gohan's tail got cut off by Piccolo already. And it turns out Goku's tail's gone, and it's been gone for a while, and it doesn't seem like it's coming back anytime soon. So unfortunately they don't have that power on their side, but at least they know to watch out for the other Saiyans' tails and see if they can cut them off somehow, just to prevent them from transforming. And eventually, 3 Saiyan space pods arrive on Earth. They actually have a little bit more info about these Saiyans, thanks to Kappa. The Galactic Patrol got some more info on the Saiyans as well. They're much stronger than Raditz, but they don't know the extent of the Saiyan strength. There's 3 members of the crew. Vegeta, the prince, who's definitely the strongest. Then there's Nappa, who's a pretty high-class warrior. From what Kappa knows, he seems strong, but Kappa might be able to match him, possibly even surpass him. But then there's one more Saiyan that they don't really know much about. She's also fairly strong and probably around Nappa's level, and her name is Caulifla, and Kappa can't really confirm it, but from their data, it seems she doesn't have a tail, which might mean she's a Sadalan Saiyan, which makes no sense that she's part of that crew, because apparently she's just as good at the job as the other two. So maybe she's a Vegetan Saiyan that got her tail removed, but they can't know for sure. It's just worth noting though. The group comes face to face with these 3 Saiyans, and just like Piccolo feared, they're way stronger than Raditz. Kappa can sense Ki too, and his predictions were right. Nappa and Caulifla are around the same, but Prince Vegeta, he's definitely the strongest of them. Way stronger than anyone they have in their group, but they might have a shot if they work together, and if Goku comes back on time, they'll be able to defeat him with Goku's help. But surprisingly, none of the Saiyans attack first. Nappa just plants some Cybermen. And as soon as they hatch into the ground, Kappa wastes no time. He immediately pulls out a blaster, shooting at all of them with precision. The Cybermen all explode. He didn't want to take any chances with them. The group might be able to defeat the Cybermen easily, but he knows the tricks of them. He's actually fought some himself. It's too risky to leave them around. And Nappa perks up. It seems like they have another Saiyan here. That's strange. They don't remember hearing about another one living on this planet. And then he nudges Caulifla. He says maybe she's the same type of Saiyan as him. So it is true. They're both the same kinds of Saiyans, but then why is she with that crew? And Nappa says he hopes she doesn't mind, but he's gonna have to fight this guy. And the two of them start arguing, deciding who gets to defeat Kappa. But then Piccolo speaks up. He yells out to Nappa saying that they'll fight together. A Namekian. Interesting. Fine. Caulifla could fight that other Saiyan, while Piccolo will fight Nappa. Krillin butts in, wondering if Piccolo will be fine, and Piccolo says he should be okay. At his current strength, he should be able to take Nappa, with Piccolo actually having a higher power level than him. And Kappa feels just as confident too. If Caulifla's around the same strength as Nappa, he'll have no problem. Piccolo and Kappa assume a battle stance, while Caulifla and Nappa do the same, with Vegeta watching as the two duos launch in towards each other. And the rest of the fighters watch on with amazement. They can't believe how strong Piccolo's grown, and more importantly, how strong Kappa is. It's good that they have another Saiyan on their side. Well, besides Goku, of course, who should be arriving here pretty soon. He's running late, but maybe they'll be fine with just Kappa and Piccolo's help. And Yamcha says that they have Gohan too, who apparently has some pretty crazy power stored away. And Gohan's still a bit nervous to fight, but he's glad that the rest of his friends seem so confident about it. Maybe this won't be as bad as they thought. And Nappa taunts Piccolo. Piccolo isn't using his 100% power because he does want to conserve some of it. And he asks Piccolo if he's sure if he doesn't need help from the humans. He'll even let them bring one of them in with him. How about that short one, huh? And he beckons over to Krillin, telling him to join the fight too. This irks Vegeta a bit. He's pretty focused on Kappa and Caulifla's fight because it seems like Caulifla's losing a lot of ground. And Nappa seems to be holding his own well, but he doesn't want him to get too cocky. And Piccolo smirks. Okay, he'll bring Krillin in. And the two begin fighting Nappa together, with Piccolo saying that he has an idea. He just needs a little bit of time to charge his attack. And Krillin's not sure if this is going to work, but Piccolo quickly gives him the full rundown of what he's got an idea of. So, they decide to apply it. Krillin puts his hands on his head, performing a solar flare, blinding Nappa as Piccolo then quickly jumps back, starting to charge his own attack. And Nappa's infuriated, swinging punches randomly. He'll kill that weakling for blinding him. But as his vision comes back, he looks around frantically, and at the last moment, he hears a beam fired towards him as Piccolo yells out. Nappa turns, seeing it at the very last second, jumping up in the air as the beam grazes him, and he laughs. Did that fool expect that to work again? They heard it all in the scouter. They know Raditz died to the same thing. But then he hears another key attack launched towards him. Mid-air, he turns around, seeing that Krillin launched a Kienzan at him. This is nothing to him. The Kienzan curves as it flies towards Nappa, going completely vertical, and Nappa decides he'll catch it between his hands, standing there with his hands in front of him, ready to catch it. Oh god, Krillin doesn't want to see this. He looks away and Nappa wonders why, as he tries to catch the Kienzan in his hands. And he times it perfectly, but the attack's powerful. It slips right through his hands, and then right through him. Piccolo lands on the ground nearby, with two separate halves of Nappa then landing on the ground too. And Piccolo tells him to toughen up. That's his own attack after all. He's gonna have to get used to that if he wants to use that attack more. Their plan worked perfectly. Piccolo's attack was just a distraction, dropping Nappa's guard so Krillin could use his own. And Piccolo knew that Krillin had some new attack that he wanted to use, but he didn't know it was that potent. And yeah, it's kinda disgusting. Vegeta was so preoccupied with Kappa and Caulifla's fight, and he just now notices that Nappa was killed. That's why he didn't yell out at Nappa to dodge it. He just sees two halves of Nappa on the ground. Really? He felt at those two? It doesn't seem like Caulifla's doing too well either. Kappa's holding his own pretty well. He doesn't even seem too injured, while Caulifla's definitely having a tough time. And Vegeta's pissed off that she's not doing more. He tells her to pick up the pace. He knows she's the second weakest in the group, but this is pathetic. And then Caulifla yells at him to shut up. Don't intervene either. She's got this. But as she looks over to Vegeta, she sees where he's standing. He's right near Nappa's body, or half of it at least. What? They killed Nappa that quickly? And Kappa looks over and he's just as surprised. And he lets Caulifla in on some info too. He's nearly stronger than those who combined, and if they were able to kill Nappa that easily, this shouldn't be a problem. And he's about to land a finishing blow, but before he does, someone else launches a blast at her to end the fight. The blast doesn't kill her, but it launches her far away, taking her out of commission, and Kappa looks around to see that Vegeta was the one who launched it. He's angered. He has no use for her anymore. Damn it, he should have known that those two would fail him. They can't believe he did that. He attacked one of his own crewmates, and he doesn't seem to care that Nappa died either, or Raditz for that matter. But Vegeta simply doesn't care. Maybe it would be better if he fights them himself. But they still need to buy some time. Goku's not here yet, so Krillin butts in. Doesn't Vegeta want to fight that other Saiyan Goku as well? What, Kakarot? That guy? He's still not here yet. He's running late. And he doubts that Kakarot's going to be much stronger than them. But Piccolo promises that he is. And Kappa butts in too. He's only heard about Goku from other people, so he actually doesn't know too much about him. But he tells Vegeta that Goku's actually stronger than him. Doesn't he want to fight another Saiyan like himself? And Vegeta's a bit annoyed, but fine. He'll wait. And Kappa does try to stall a little bit more, asking about Vegeta's true motives. Vegeta's not giving a lot of info and it's going to take a lot to pry out of him. They don't know that part of the reason he came here is for the Dragon Balls. But from what Kappa could tell, this guy isn't truly loyal to Frieza. They still seem to be terrible, but maybe they have a common enemy. Of course, Kappa can't see them becoming allies anytime soon, but maybe they don't have to destroy the other Saiyans. Maybe they could actually just temporarily work together against Frieza. Kappa doesn't float this idea just yet, but it comes to mind. Vegeta definitely doesn't seem to care about Frieza. He's more concerned about his own Saiyan species, which is also exactly why he decides he's gonna fight Kappa first if Goku doesn't get here in time. And surely enough, Goku doesn't get there in time. Hours pass and he's still late, only a few minutes away, and it looks like they have no choice. Kappa steps in, ready to battle, and Gohan watches on. He has the feeling that he needs to do something here. He actually does have some sort of a connection with Kappa too. It's not as deep as his connection with Piccolo, but Kappa came here and helped him. He helped Gohan grow stronger. He's a teacher to Gohan, and just as importantly, he's one of their allies, one of their friends now. Kappa assumes a battle stance, getting ready to fight Vegeta, and as the fight begins, he completely outpaces Kappa, and the rest of the group watches on completely hopeless. Kappa's the strongest of them, and Vegeta's fighting him so effortlessly. They gotta do something to help, but nothing they can do will work. And then Piccolo flies in. He'll help too. They just need to buy a few more minutes, and then Goku should be here. And Gohan stays with the humans, still terrified about this whole thing. He wants to help, but he doesn't know if he can. But he watches as Kappa and Piccolo desperately try to fight Vegeta. Nothing they do works. And his anxiety then turns to some sort of rage. Seeing his teachers, his friends, getting hurt like that, it causes a temporary fit of rage for him. The humans sense Gohan's power rise dramatically. As an aura flares up around him, he launches in towards Vegeta. Vegeta's scouter beeps, and he looks over in the direction of Gohan, and his scouter then explodes. Wait, what? Gohan lands a direct hit on Vegeta's stomach, delivering a flurry of kicks and punches, then jumping up in the air, launching a volley of ki blast down below, with Piccolo and Kappa barely getting out of the way. And Kappa looks on with awe. It seems their training paid off. That combined with Piccolo's harsh training really toughened him up, but Kappa's influence definitely helped. And he knew Gohan had some crazy latent power, but it's interesting to see a Saiyan like this. It makes sense that he's a hybrid with humans, but still, to see reserves of power like this, it's incredible. Is this what all hybrids are like, even for non-human hybrids? The dust settles and Gohan powers back down, surprised at what he did, and Vegeta's there, having defended against all the blasts, but he's clearly a bit scratched up. And then Kappa takes notice of something. His tail. It's not wrapped around his waist any longer, and Vegeta's completely focused on Gohan. He might attack him soon. And in a split second, Kappa decides to act. Vegeta almost goes to attack Gohan after that, which helps to distract Vegeta, but Kappa sees a great opportunity not only to keep Vegeta from doing that, but also an opportunity to get the upper hand here. He quickly pulls out his blaster, channels all of his ki into it, and aims a precise shot at Vegeta's tail. The blast quickly darts across the battlefield. Vegeta doesn't even have a chance to react. He's already mid-attack as he lunges towards Gohan, and just feels a sharp pain in his tail as it's cut off. He stops himself midair, looking back to see that it's been cut, and Kappa's standing there with his gun pointed out, with smoke coming off of it. Infuriated, Vegeta then launches towards him, with Kappa desperately getting ready to defend. And then there's a loud burst of energy. A streak of red light flies across the battlefield next. Vegeta never makes it to Kappa. Something hits him midair as he's sent rolling across the field. Kappa drops his arms and sees someone in orange standing in front of him, with a yellow cloud floating above him too. Gohan looks over and smiles, and Kappa says this must be him. This must be Goku. Goku turns back to look at Kappa, saying he's glad to finally meet him. King Kai did tell him about this other guy here. Apparently, he's a Saiyan as well. He was surprised to hear that there was another Saiyan that wasn't bad like his brother. Good to know that he's not alone. Vegeta gets up quickly. In that split second, he was punched in the face. He didn't even notice Kakarot arrive. And what was that red flash of light? And he smiles. Finally, he gets to fight this other Saiyan. Far away from the battlefield, Cauliflower regains consciousness. Infuriated that Vegeta did that, she pulls out her scouter to try and find where the others are. And she locates the general direction. Before a split second, another power appears, and then it sharply shoots up, starting at over 8,000 and then doubling quickly. Her scouter explodes. What the hell was that? Goku and Kappa stand together, both ready to defeat Vegeta. Goku has some tricks up his sleeve thanks to King Kai, which is also what he just used to help here. It's the Kaioken. He has to use it sparingly, but thankfully he shouldn't need to use it too much. Vegeta's not going to transform into a Great Ape. His tail's gone. He's maxed out at his regular base power, and the rest of Goku's team is still alive. Individually, he's at a big advantage, but he's not fighting individually. Vegeta is actually significantly disadvantaged here now. Everything's working against him, but he's not going to retreat here. He's not going to quit. And now he finally gets to fight Kakarot like he wanted. He does want to fight Goku alone, so Goku does oblige. Kappa says they should work together, but Goku thinks he has this. Personally, he does want to fight Vegeta alone, and with help from Kaioken, he should be able to actually win here. Worst case, Kappa can't help. He doesn't want to get too confident, but he thinks victory is assured already, which is exactly why he wants to take this opportunity and fight Vegeta one-on-one. The low-class warrior faces the prince. Goku's disadvantaged at first, but once he shows off his full power and goes into Kaioken times 2, he starts closing the gap. And using Kaioken times 3 actually does help a lot, even though that's very strenuous. In short bursts, he's able to overpower Vegeta, but otherwise Vegeta overpowers him, and Goku gets to enjoy his time fighting. Vegeta definitely is just as strong as he thought he'd be. He really is an amazing opponent, which is exactly why he wants Vegeta to leave. They don't need to fight anymore. Vegeta doesn't need to be here. But of course Vegeta's not going to have it that way. He's not just going to leave because Kakarot said he should. He'll fight until everyone's dead here. And at this point, Cabba does step in. He's not going to have another opportunity to catch Vegeta, so that's probably the best option here. Cabba doesn't necessarily just want to kill Vegeta either. Capturing him could be a great help. Plus, killing Vegeta would be kind of tough anyways. Capturing him to get some information about the Frieza Force could be really helpful here. And for all he knows, maybe they can get Vegeta to join their side. That would be the ideal outcome actually. Of course for Goku he knows nothing about this Frieza guy or anyone else, but he's not out to kill Vegeta either. It would be a waste of such a great warrior, and they've already humbled him enough. And now, Goku and Cabba finally fight together. Vegeta can't believe it. He's being beaten by these two Saiyans, one of whom is a low-class warrior and one of whom is a Saiyan. Two lower tiers of Saiyans that shouldn't beat him, the elite prince. The low-class one doesn't even have his tail, which makes Vegeta think back to how his was cut off, which is just truly embarrassing. Vegeta continues fighting, but at some point he is defeated, and as much as he hates to do it, this time he decides to escape. Able to create a diversion and get to his space pod. He gets in his ship and launches off into space. Cabba quickly tries to shoot the ship down, at least to get Vegeta back here on Earth. He's able to charge a powerful blast, aimed right at Vegeta's ship. But right when it's about to hit, two other ships fly in front of him. It's Nappa and Caulifla's pod. They swirl around Vegeta's ship, making it tougher to hit, and basically act as a shield, with Cabba's blast hitting both of them, and Vegeta safely getting out into space. Damn it, they almost had him. He needs to track Vegeta down somehow. The group has no need to go to Namek here, but Cabba wants to keep track of Vegeta, and while he wasn't able to stop Vegeta's ship, he was able to do something during battle that will really help. He was able to slip a small tracker on Vegeta himself, within his armor. This is a good foresight because now he can at least find Vegeta, wherever he's going off to. Goku thanks Cabba for his help, and then Cabba surprisingly asks if they could help him now. He understands that if they don't want to, and he hates to ask or make them feel indebted to him. He knows this doesn't involve them either, but he wants them to help track down Vegeta, and maybe defeat Frieza too. These warriors are so powerful, Goku especially, he's even stronger than Cabba is. He does reiterate, they don't need to join if they don't want to, but he's going to monitor where Vegeta goes, and he will be back soon enough to tell them what's going on, and he lets them think on it, also thanking them for their help here. He says they'll see them soon. He gets in his own ship, but right before he leaves, he senses something strange nearby. Piccolo senses it at the last moment, turning around and then blocking someone's attack. It's that same Saiyan from before. Caulifla, she's still alive. They thought Vegeta killed her. And she looks around at the rest of the group, realizing she's completely outmatched here. And she asks where Vegeta went. Did they defeat him? Well, kinda. But also, he left, and completely left her behind. She then pulls out a remote trying to summon her own spaceship, but it doesn't work. She saw some explosion in the sky at the last minute, but didn't know what it was. Then realizing that Vegeta used her spaceship basically as a distraction. Oh crap, she's completely stuck here, and completely outmatched on top of that. Well, that Nappa guy's dead, and Vegeta's gone, but Cabba could at least arrest her for the lack of patrol. She's ready to fight everyone even though she knows she can't. And then she has something pretty surprising. They're looking to track down Vegeta, right? Well, yeah. And she says she'll help. After that betrayal, she wants Vegeta gone. He killed Nappa. He almost killed her, and then he abandoned her here. She's just not gonna let that slide. Piccolo's kinda suspicious of it, especially after how cunning Raditz tried to be, but it seems she's completely serious. She did watch Vegeta kill one of her comrades after all and almost kill her. So it probably is real. It takes a bit of time for everyone to work everything out, but eventually, a new plan is formulated. Cabba and Caulifla actually stay on Earth for the time being, because Goku suggests that they stay here and train. Using them as training partners could be pretty helpful for Goku, even though Caulifla kinda hates the idea of it. But Cabba's up for it, and since Piccolo wants to keep watch on the other two Saiyans, he joins Goku too in his training, with Gohan and Krillin joining too. Although Krillin doesn't plan to go off planet with them. Cabba's waiting to find out where Vegeta went, and then they'll move to go after him. And as time goes on, a pretty strange team is formed. There's Goku and Gohan, and then there's Piccolo, who really isn't still the greatest guy, but is better than before, but it's still worth noting that's basically Goku's nemesis. Then there's Cabba, who's a good guy, but they barely know him. He's a galactic patrolman, and this is actually his job. And then there's Caulifla, who's pretty much still an untrustworthy enemy, but it's an enemy of my enemy situation, and if she does do anything to act up, they can defeat her pretty quickly. She's just going to be very useful for info, and she's another strong warrior that could help. Gravity training is eventually developed on Earth as well, with the group even using this to kill time, and eventually even installing it on a spaceship because Cabba finally found out where Vegeta went. He found the trajectory of Vegeta's ship, and it's going to some Frieza base, but that's not their main target. The most important part is the microphone on the tracker picked up something interesting. Vegeta was mumbling something to himself about Namek, and this could be a good opportunity to capture him in his tracks. They don't know what this planet Namek is, at least until Cabba and Caulifla point out that Piccolo's a Namekian, that's his home world. So why could he possibly want to go there? But Cabba does remember from their fight. Vegeta was after the Dragon Balls here, so what if he's trying to find them somewhere else? Cabba didn't even really know what the Dragon Balls were then, but he does know now what they are. And Caulifla then butts in too. That is exactly why they came here. They did want to recruit Kakarot or kill him, but more importantly, Vegeta wanted the Dragon Balls for himself. Maybe to wish for immortality or something, she wasn't too sure, but she knows he wanted them. So that settles it. Vegeta's target might be Namek, and it looks like he'll be there alone, which is the perfect way to capture him. The rest of the humans in the group don't really want to get involved in this because it's not really their place to go, but Goku, Piccolo, and Gohan are still in on it. Goku likes the idea of having an opportunity to fight Vegeta again, and Gohan wants to go along with him. Piccolo also does want to stop Vegeta, and make sure that other Saiyan Caulifla doesn't pull anything funny. And now he gets to go to his home planet, which could be interesting for him. So the group heads out for planet Namek. And let's discuss some power levels now. Goku's the strongest of the group. He has access to Kaioken, but in his base, he's at 150,000. Kappa's not too far behind. He's at about 120,000. He grew really quickly with gravity training, and having some great training partners around him. But most importantly, his potential as a Saiyan is actually going to really help here. Same goes for Caulifla, who's still behind but is at 60,000, which is way higher than before. Piccolo's also grown stronger, also around 60,000, with Gohan being at 30,000, having a better control in his power, and of course having his own great potential. So now let's go over to Namek itself. Eventually Vegeta does get there, being one of the first to go. But unbeknownst to Kappa's group, he's not going to be the only one there. Vegeta could already tell, some Frieza soldiers are here. Frieza was listening in on him. But something is strange, the Frieza force is fighting somebody. He senses battles going on across the planet. That could just be the Namekians, but no, it doesn't seem like that. Vegeta puts on a scouter, trying to listen in to some of the Frieza Force soldiers, and also track some of the fights going on. He is a bit lost because he had to spend some time healing, so he might be a little bit farther behind, but it seems some of the Frieza Force is already here, as well as another faction maybe. And then out of nowhere, blaster launched at him. He's barely able to defend against it, then launching his own attack at some of the soldiers. Not even sure who they are, but he could tell exactly by their armor. Those aren't Frieza Force soldiers. Those are soldiers from the Frost Corps. He's quickly able to figure out what happened. Frieza was spying on him, but Frieza also might have had spies in his own army. The Frieza Force is here for the Dragon Balls, but the Frost Corps is as well. And Vegeta's right in the middle of it. And little does he know, another group's coming right for him too. That Galactic Patrolman and those Earthlings. And one of his former allies who's still alive unbeknownst to him. Vegeta might have bit off more than he could chew. It's not just that, but it's also the fact that Namek is stronger than normal, having more people. As I discussed before in the first part, Namek is actually a combination of the two Nameks from both universes. It still is Universe 7's Namek as the planet itself, but there's more inhabitants, and even though a majority of the population was wiped out a while back, there were more to begin with. They had stronger civilizations, they were more resilient, and there's more Namekians to this day, and stronger Namekians at that too. At the same time, a Namekian resistance is going on. Vegeta is in the middle of a battle between three factions, the Namekians, the Frieza Force, and the Frost Corps. He didn't realize this planet was so powerful either. It has so many of its own warriors. And it seems the Namekians are actually the strongest faction here. Plus, it does help that they are on their home turf. So Vegeta tries to make haste, trying to at least get some Dragon Balls for himself. And not too long after, another group arrives. Thanks to Kappa, they already had the tech and the directions to get here. The Galactic Patrol had some great resources for space travel. And Bulma was able to help too, which is how they got some gravity training done on their ships. Plus, they're able to turn their ships into capsules. But that's besides the point now. They're just glad that they got here, and before they landed, they knew something bad was going down. Kappa got his own intel from the patrol, with King Kai also butting in and telling Goku the same thing. Namek is under attack, and it's not necessarily going to be a welcoming place. And as they put their ship away in a capsule, Goku feels something. A familiar presence is coming towards them. They must have already been spotted when they landed here, even though they found some place that was kind of far away from everybody. But the fact that the energy is familiar, they wonder who it is. The power vanishes, and then suddenly reappears, as Vegeta then jumps out at them. He charges an attack aimed right at them, thinking it's another group of Frieza Force soldiers. But as he flings his arm back to charge the attack, he comes to the shocking realization that it's those same people that he just fought before on Earth. And what's more, Caulifla's in that group. Immediately at the sight of him, she's completely pissed off, jumping up in the air to fight Vegeta. But Kappa yells out trying to get them to stop. They need to keep their powers low. It's already too late though because she's able to land a good hit on him, flipping him and then throwing him down to the ground right in front of everybody. She gets ready to kill him right then and there, but Goku and Kappa then try to defuse the situation. But wait, aren't they supposed to be here to catch Vegeta? This is what they should be doing. Well, not exactly. When they got word from the Galactic Patrol and King Kai that Namek was under attack, they kinda had to change plans. They were already really close to the planet when they heard about that, and they did consider turning around and going back to Earth, but instead decided to fight here. And as much as Kappa did want to capture Vegeta, it's like he said before, he'd rather have Vegeta work with them. Maybe he could help against the Frieza Force. And as a patrolman, this is exactly what he wants to do. He told everyone they could turn around if they wanted, and no one opposed to going along with Kappa. They decided to join in on this fight. It's a good test of their strength, and they have their own personal reasons. Caulifla still wanted to go and kill Vegeta, Goku wanted to fight Vegeta, and Piccolo also wanted to kill Vegeta, but more importantly, he did like the idea of going to his home planet, and he thinks it's fated that he comes here to defend it. They successfully defuse the situation, and Vegeta says they're better off leaving. He was thinking of doing the same thing. He wants to get the Dragon Balls as quick as possible, but he knows it's not going to work. And he doesn't want to fight them as well. He doesn't want them meddling in his plans. But he can already tell by Caulifla alone, he can't win here. The others must be stronger as well. He didn't even realize she was still alive. But he does have one idea. They could all work together. Don't they all want to stop Frieza? And for that matter, Kappa, that Galactic Patrolman, shouldn't he want to stop Frost as well? Well, this is good because that's exactly what they were thinking. They need to work together. It doesn't seem like either Frost or Frieza is here, which is good because from what Cabba knows, they're incredibly strong, and that could make things a little bit more complicated. Things are already complicated, but they at least have a chance to make things more simple. Although Vegeta doesn't really plan to work with them. This is a strategy for him to not have to fight them right now. He'll use them as a means to an end, use them to find the Dragon Balls, and have some allies against Frieza. They could act as a great distraction, and he could slip away when he needs to, getting the Dragon Balls and getting his wish. Or simply just stealing the Dragon Balls from them if that happens. Cabba's plan is to get the Dragon Balls before Frieza can. They should be able to. Goku was able to bring a Dragon Radar just in case. And then Vegeta picks up on something weirder. There's another person there that he didn't even realize was there until now. She's hiding behind a rock nearby, and then Goku tells her she can come out. It's Bulma. She decided she wanted to come along too, and Goku says she can help him track down the Dragon Balls. They originally were going to use this as a way to find Vegeta in case he learned to suppress his power somehow, because if he did get a Dragon Ball, this would be a very easy way to track him. And she says it's good that they have it here because now they can get the Dragon Balls for themselves. And Vegeta can't believe it. Being reduced to this, working with these fools, he can't even get the wish he wanted. But at least he could kind of stick it to Frieza, so that's kind of nice. But he is still concerned. If Frieza himself shows up, or if Frost shows up, they're going to be screwed. They don't even really know that much about Frost either. Even less than they know about Frieza, and they don't know much about Frieza to begin with. Things aren't really looking that good. The group makes haste as they go around getting the Dragon Balls. Thankfully, they are able to defend some of the Namekian villages too. Granted, Vegeta and Caulifla aren't really doing much with that, but the others are all doing it. Frieza didn't really realize what he walked into either. It looks like there's more people here than he expected. His army just went to get the Dragon Balls, not knowing that Frost would be there, which infuriates him. Somehow this info leaked from his army. And not just that, but the Namekians are stronger than they all thought. Frieza himself is about to step in, but he has a better plan. He is present on the planet, and he just needs some assistance, and it's a good thing that he called for it already. This will be sure to wipe out Frost's army, as well as the Namekians. One Dragon Ball is in the hands of Frost's army, one is in the hands of Frieza's army, two are still in some of the other villages, and three of them, they're in the hands of Cabba's group. They're making pretty quick pace. The Dragon Radar helps a lot, and the Namekians do willingly give the Dragon Balls to them after they find out who it is. Especially with Piccolo being in their crew, it's a little bit easier for them to trust that group. Besides him being a Namekian, they could just tell by his presence that he's one of them. His ki reveals it all. But the group senses 5 powers approaching Namek, with Cabba, Vegeta, and Caulifla realizing it's the Ginyu Force. And they become the Ginyu Force first target because they see a bunch of Dragon Balls all together. But it shouldn't be too hard to stop the Ginyu Force. Cabba actually has a lot of info on them, and knows some of their abilities too. Ginyu and Goldo are the most dangerous, but first they should aim at defeating Ginyu. He doesn't even have time to do a body swap, because Goku and Piccolo attack him together, defeating the captain. They take on Recoome, Jason, Birder, and it's pretty easy, since there's so many of them, and the group does collectively overpower them too. And Goldo's barely able to escape. He's going to try and use his time-stopping abilities to try and at least get the Dragon Balls for himself. That could really help here. He doesn't even use this to attack. He used this to try and escape. He'll do this to avenge his whole crew. He'll get the Dragon Balls and make Frieza proud, and maybe he could wish for the Ginyu Force back. That would be great. He freezes time, going to take the Dragon Balls from them, and he's just about to run out of breath. But as he does, he hears someone talking to him. Wait, that makes no sense. Time's frozen. Who's talking to him? An ominous voice is behind him, saying he's surprised that Goldo can stop time too. Goldo then clutches his chest, exhaling all the air he had, with time then resuming once more. He falls to the ground, and his last sight is a towering purple man standing there. Cabba's group is left confused because their Dragon Balls are gone. 2 of them are missing, and they still have 1, and they don't know where that Goldo guy went. But then they sense that ominous power near them too, and Cabba turns pale when he sees who's there. The Frieza Force wasn't the only one who called in reinforcements. It looks like the Frost Corps did too. This is Frost's highest level assassin. The Galactic Patrol knows all about him. He can manipulate time just like Goldo. And while it doesn't just freeze time by stopping his breath, this guy's actually more powerful and has better time-stopping abilities. Even if the time-stopping isn't as lengthy, this is the assassin, Hit. And he says he'll ask them politely once. He wants to take that last Dragon Ball from them. The group has no idea of who this Hit guy is. Clearly he's someone who doesn't mess around. And it's also pretty obvious that he's not with the Ginyu Force or the Frieza Force for that matter. Vegeta and Caulifla say this guy didn't work with them ever. There's only one explanation for who this guy is. He's got to be working with Frost. Although, it kind of looks like they have no choice. Even though they know nothing about him, they still do need to fight him. Especially because they're not giving up those Dragon Balls. It's pretty clear right away that Hit is stronger than Ginyu. And Captain Ginyu was the strongest of his group. Although he's not too far beyond him in terms of strength, the real issue is his abilities. As an experienced assassin, he has a bunch of techniques up his sleeve, the most deadly of which is the ability to control time. Again, they know nothing about this guy, and they need to learn something about how he fights in order to defeat him. It's pretty easy to tell that he can control time somehow, and Goku wants to test that out, seeing what he could do and figuring if he could work a way around that. As the group fights him, he effectively fends them off. He's got power to back up his abilities. He's an excellent warrior, and they can see that it's not going to be easy to take him down. And Goku thinks he might have a way around this. He wants to see how much time Hit can control. He learned how this guy fights, adapting to his fighting style.
But also Hit reveals that he can control time for 1/20th of a second, using it to basically skip ahead. It doesn't sound like a lot, but in a fight, it's a lot of time. But Hit says he'll also be able to improve it as he fights. And Goku has an amazing idea. They need to predict his moves, catch him off guard, and outspeed him somehow. And Goku has the perfect technique for that. He lunges in for an attack, and the second he's about to land a strike, Hit activates his time skip, and Goku activates Kaioken, bursting into it for a fraction of a second, speeding him up enough to attack Hit before his time skip activates. And when he uses this, he goes into Kaioken times 20, a very strenuous and powerful version of Kaioken. But it barely affects him because he's only using it for a split second when attacking. And not only does it greatly boost his speed, but it also makes his attacks way more potent. And the rest of the group stands back, as Goku handles this. And Hit can immediately tell he's pretty heavily outmatched here. He needs to make an escape. He'll cut his losses, he'll at least get some Dragon Balls back to Frost, even if he can't get all of them right now. As Goku prepares his last attack, Hit uses his time skip, using it not to parry or dodge, but to do something completely unexpected. Retreat. The ground explodes around them. Hit lowers his ki drastically, and makes a quick and silent escape. They try their best to find where he went, but they don't know. At least they know they can defeat him once they encounter him again. And not to mention, he didn't get all the Dragon Balls, so at least there's that. But Vegeta says this could be an issue. If Frost is bringing out his strongest troops too, he must be here as well. He knows that Frieza's here nearby somewhere, and that's bad enough as is. But with Frost being here too, that's even worse, because they have no clue about Frost. They have no idea what his powers are like, what he's capable of, nothing like that. They didn't know about Hit, for example. On the other side of the planet, Hit's able to quickly make it back to Frost, who actually just recently arrived on the planet. Well, he's glad that the Ginyu Force is gone, but they didn't account for that other group being here. Hit explains that it's some group that's not with the Frieza Force, and they're not Namekians either. Well, one of them is, but he's not with the Namekians.
But one of them was wearing the Frieza Force armor. Although they were fighting the Ginyu Force for some reason, he has no clue who they're truly aligned with.
And Frost is angered beyond belief. There's others meddling in his plans too. Frieza's one thing, they could take care of him. But this random group that's here, how are they causing trouble? How did they defeat Hit of all people? Hit says he needed some time to regroup. He plans on striking them when they least expect it, because that'll be effective. And he'll deal with them in due time. For now, they should focus on the Namekians and the Frieza Force. Frost has his own scouter, which then goes off. Someone's approaching him. Actually, a couple people are. But most of them seem weak, except for one person with an exceedingly high battle power. It's Frieza. As Frieza flies towards them, his jaw drops. That's who was trying to get the Dragon Balls? They found it all in the scouters and saw that someone defeated the Ginyu Force. And here they say Frost, one of his strongest men, Hit, and some Dragon Balls. The fact that Frost is here means that he's ready to make his final moves. And Frieza needs to stop it before it begins. Hit steps in front of Frost, ready to defend him. But Frost says there's no need for that. The two stare each other down, with Frieza giving off a wicked grin. He knew that someday they'd finally cross paths, in a circumstance that would cause them to battle. And Frost is glad that Frieza's prepared for this. That's exactly why he came here on this planet. Since he knew Frieza himself was involved, Frost himself needed to get involved as well. Naturally, they're the only ones capable of taking each other on. And Frost thinks the best way to kill the Frieza Force is to cut off its head. Instead of eliminating all these targets, they just need to eliminate one, Lord Frieza. Frieza chuckles. Well, one thing he can compliment Frost on is his thinking. The two of them have pretty similar ideas. Although, Frieza didn't expect to see Frost here right now. But it doesn't matter though, he's ready to fight. As the two prepare for battle, Hit tries to time skip, using it to try and hit Frieza with one deadly attack before the battle begins. But as he uses time skip, he's outpaced by Frieza. Frieza's not even fazed by it, and with one powerful blow, he's able to knock Hit away. This is going to be a one-on-one, no petty tricks like that. He begins powering up, as Frost does too, as the two of them show off their true power, going right into their final forms. They didn't actually know for sure that they had final forms, but they kinda assumed that the two were very similar in how they could transform. So seeing each other using the same powers, well, it gives them comfort to know that they're probably on equal footing. Back over where Goku's group is, they can sense everything happening, and they're just astounded. Two powers, at that high of a level. What are they supposed to do against those two opponents? They assume the other one is Frost, and one is definitely Frieza. And they sense Hit get knocked away with just one attack, completely fodderized by Frieza. But then, Piccolo notices something strange. One of the Dragon Balls in their possession, it starts glowing and then suddenly just stops. As the orange color of it disappears, it turns into stone, and he begins panicking, as the rest of the group notices too. Doesn't this mean the Dragon Balls are inactive now? But how did that happen? Frieza and Frost haven't even noticed yet because they're in the middle of their battle. But now this group knows about it. It turns out that Guru has died. The immense stress that he felt, his planet being torn apart like this, two armies converging in on it, and now their two leaders are fighting each other. It accelerated his death, taking the Dragon Balls and Parango with it. Well, okay, that's actually kind of good for them. It's a shame because that means Namek lost its elder. But remember, the group didn't actually need the Dragon Balls here. They just wanted to avoid Frost or Frieza getting them. And with no Dragon Balls, that means there's nothing to worry about at the moment. Well, at least in regards to the wish. Some of them have different ideas in mind. Vegeta thinks it's best that they leave. Same with Cauliflower. This planet isn't their problem anymore. They think this is great news. As much as they'd love to kill Frieza, well, that might just happen with Frost doing it. They could escape here, unnoticed and unscathed. And while Vegeta can't get his own wish for immortality, he relishes in the idea that Frieza's gonna find out he won't get his wish. But the others have different thoughts in mind. For example, Goku does still want to fight Frieza, even though he knows it's way too dangerous at this point. But it's not just that. It doesn't feel right leaving Namek like this. Piccolo himself is thinking about this too. There's still a lot of Namekians here. The planet can be saved. They can't just up and abandon it like this. It's not right. It won't sit right with them. And as the group tries to figure out what to do next, they sense some powers approaching, but not malicious powers. It's a group of Namekian warriors. And Kappa notes something really strange about them. Their energy feels weird, different from the other Namekians. It's a lot more powerful, first of all, and also, I feel like there's multiple energies in one. He can't quite put his finger on it, but the others notice that too. The 3 Namekian warriors land. They don't recognize these people. And it's kind of confusing because one of the people in the group appears to be wearing the armor of the Frieza Force, that being Vegeta. But also there's Piccolo in their group, a Namekian. They don't recognize him, but they can clearly see he is one of them. They try and figure out what's going on here, and ask this group to identify themselves. Piccolo explains, and they find out that these 3 are Namekian warriors, warriors that have merged with other Namekian warriors. That's why they're so powerful, and why their energies feel weird. Their names are Nail, Saunel, and Pirina, the 3 strongest Namekians. They were the strongest before, and now they're even more powerful. They've merged with other warrior Namekians, using this as a backup plan. They know the Dragon Balls are gone, and they really need a fight here. They're not sure how the battle between Frost and Frieza will go, but at least one of them is going to survive. There's no way they kill each other. Someone is going to make it out of there, and they're going to need someone to defeat that last person. Although there's another issue too. When they fuse, that would have been enough to defeat First Form Frieza. The 3 of them together could have done it, and it probably would have been the same result for Frost. But Frieza and Frost's power shot up so far, they went right into their final form, and now, they're not sure what they could do against these 2. And even if the 3 of them merge together into one really strong Super Namekian, they still have no clue how that fight will go down. They still don't know the full power of Frieza or Frost, only what they sense at the moment. These Namekians were pretty powerful from the get-go too. As I mentioned in the first part, Namek's history is a lot different. It had a lot more warriors, the population was larger in general, and they had a greater amount of strong Namekians. But now that brings them here. They don't know what the best course of action is to defend their planet. The situation is dire. Namek is already in ruins, and they're pretty straight up about it. They say a lot of the population has died. While Namek has a larger population than normal, it's still relatively small, especially in comparison to planets like Earth. So even a small loss of life is great in proportion. But they have one last-ditch idea. It's what they mentioned before. If they can all fuse into one Super Namekian, maybe that will be more than enough. It'll assure their safety. It is a last resort. The Dragon Balls are gone, the Elder and the Dragon Clan Namekians are dead, and if these 3 die, the only one left will be Piccolo, and Kami, who they don't know about. At the rate this is going, Namek and his people will be wiped out. And it's not like the fused Namekians can come back either. This fusion is permanent. As far as they know, there's no way to reverse it. But Nail has a pretty shocking proposition. He asks if Piccolo can help. Maybe a 4th Namekian could really tip the scales. But Piccolo has no clue who these people are, or what this even is like. He doesn't know what Namekian fusion will do to him. Meanwhile, the battle between Frost and Frieza continues. Hit watches from the sidelines. The entire area around them is torn up. It's an unrecognizable wasteland. The 2 are a pretty good match for each other, it seems. And by now, they notice that the Dragon Balls are gone. So they're purely focused on killing each other. It doesn't matter if the Dragon Balls are gone. There has to be another place to find them. It can't just be this planet. But Frieza notices something interesting. He asks Frost if he's truly at his full strength yet. And Frost says he is. Why? Is Frieza terrified by it? Actually, the opposite. And Frieza has a little secret that he's going to let Frost in on. This is its final form, but he's only been fighting at 50% of his power. And Frost doesn't believe this. No, that has to be a bluff. And Frieza asks if Frost really wants to test that bluff. He starts charging power as it begins transforming once more. Not really changing form, but changing size, with his power spiking as well. It takes a bit to charge up, but he fights as he does so, charging up a little bit more energy between each attack, going gradually from 50% to 100%. And it can see, Frost is quickly losing ground. He needs to do something to help, but he knows he can't. But actually, this might be an opportunity for him, the perfect opportunity to leave Namek. He doesn't care about the Dragon Balls, and while he does work under Frost, he's not loyal to him. He's there for the pay. But there is one thing that's important to him, finishing the job. And if he fails at the job he was hired to do, that's really gonna irk him. But Hit also knows when he's defeated. If he stays here, it'll be pointless. He'll die regardless, and his job won't be completed. He decides now he's gonna escape Namek. If Frieza does win here, he'll come for him later, but he'll also come for that other group that was meddling. Their time will come soon enough. Hit will grow much stronger before he meets them again. Frieza finally reaches his full power, completely overwhelming Frost. He says that was a fun battle, but it's gonna have to end here. And Frost curses Frieza. He says Frieza thinks he might have won here, but he knows that he'll be back. Frost says this isn't the end for him. It's the beginning of the end for Frieza instead. But Frieza pays no attention to this, simply just landing the finishing blow on Frost, piercing a powerful blast right through him, then grabbing onto the mangled Frost, and launching one more blast to fully eradicate him. Frieza's breathing heavily. He's injured too, but he's victorious. Although, what does he have to do now? He wonders where that assassin went. He should probably clean up that loose end. And also, that other group that was meddling in his plans, he needs to get rid of them as well. But maybe the best way to do that will just be to, well, simply destroy Namek. That'll assure that everyone on this planet will be dealt with. He aims a hand right down to the surface, launching a powerful blast. But it never makes contact with the ground. It's actually sent right back to him. His own blast hits him square on. Someone deflected it, and he hears the sound of someone vanishing behind him, turning around to see what looks like a Namekian standing there. But something about this one's different. His demeanor, it's strange. And he has a brilliant glow around him. But other than that, he looks completely unassuming. This couldn't have been the one to knock his attack back. Frieza swings an arm at him, and the Namekian catches it, and that glow vanishes around him. And Frieza can clearly see his face now. The Namekian thanks Frieza for killing Frost. That's less work for him now. He then punches Frieza, with his fist going right through him. But Frieza surprisingly is unfazed by this. It is painful, but he's still alive, even though he got punctured right through his chest. Who is this? The Namekian states that his name is Piccolo, although a new version of Piccolo. It took a lot of convincing, but eventually the Namekian fusion went through. They were fine with Piccolo being the host. He was powerful enough as is, and the fusion would be potent regardless. Sanao, Pirina, and Nail all merged into him, creating the strongest Namekian that the planet has ever seen. They knew the fusion would be powerful, but no one expected it to be like this. Piccolo simply launches a blast at Frieza, setting him flying down towards the surface. The power of the attack is very intense, leaving Frieza badly mangled and seemingly dead. And Piccolo sees now that this was overkill, but he's still glad that they got to defeat Frieza. And now that Frost isn't an issue anymore too, it seems Namek is safe. He descends down below, going to where Frieza's mangled corpse is. That should be the finishing blow. But he notices something strange. Below Frieza, the ground is glowing. He kicks over Frieza's body, and it's a disgusting and brutal sight. But Frieza is still alive actually. How did he survive that? How durable is this guy? And the glow below him grows larger and larger. Frieza just detonated the planet. He launches a blast at Piccolo's face. It does nothing, but it serves as a distraction. A plume of lava shoots up in front of them too, as Frieza then tries his best to fly out into space, barely being able to escape. And Piccolo can't believe it. He failed? No, that should have killed Frieza. How did he survive that? They didn't know he could survive attacks like that. That's why Frieza eliminated Frost so quickly and destroyed every little bit of him. He knew that Frost was durable, but they didn't know that Frieza was that durable, giving him the ability to do this. Piccolo quickly flies over to the rest of the group, grabbing all of them and bringing them back to the ship. He says he'll explain what happened in a bit, and the group is barely able to escape. As Namek explodes, Piccolo watches on through the window. He failed. His planet, it's gone. If there were any Namekians still alive, they're not there anymore. He and Kami are the last of them. Whatever remains of the Namekian race, it's within him. The rage he feels, not just towards Frieza but himself, it's immense. He could have obliterated Frieza. He could have saved the planet at least. And now Frieza's still out there. But Goku says it's fine. They'll fix the planet. They could use Earth's Dragon Balls to fix it and then revive the other Namekians. But he also notices something weird too. While Piccolo was told this fusion wouldn't really change him, it seems it kinda did. He clearly has a strong connection to this planet now. And he feels for it. He feels for the rest of his species that's gone now. His planet was torn apart by these two armies, with him being the sole survivor of Namek. He'll avenge his planet and his people. He'll stop Frieza. Nail, Sanao, and Pirina's sacrifice, as well as the sacrifice of every other warrior Namekian, it won't be in vain. For the time being, our group of protagonists ends up splitting up. Kappa goes back to the Galactic Patrol, thanking everyone for their help here. As for everyone from Earth, they end up going back there, obviously. Caulifla and Vegeta actually don't really have anywhere to go, and they end up on Earth, both in solitude, not just from each other, but everybody else. Goku and Gohan return to their normal lives, with Goku obviously making out of Namek, not just returning home fine, but also returning home without Super Saiyan. You win some, you lose some. Piccolo, on the other hand, has seen a huge increase in power, and has a new motive for himself as well. He wants to defeat Frieza, figuring out where he is, and he is kind of concerned that he might show up on Earth eventually. Regardless, Piccolo is going to prepare for his next encounter with Frieza, as well as his next encounter with Hit. The two of them are still out there, and he doesn't know when either will show up, and if either will be a threat in the future. They could grow stronger, they could be the same strength. He needs to be sure that he can get rid of them when the time comes. So, what's going on with Frieza and Hit then? Well, as for Hit, let's cover his story a bit. Hit wants to get the Dragon Balls somehow. He knows they're gone on Namek, but since they existed on Namek, they must exist somewhere else too. Although, that's not his main concern at the moment. He could use that in the future, and you may be thinking he might use it to get Frost to come back, but actually, he would use them for a more selfish reason if anything. He doesn't know how he'd use them if he did get them, or if they even do exist out there, but he'd rather use it to benefit himself. He is kind of a third party hired for Frost after all. And while he does want to finish his job because that's just part of who he is, his job doesn't include reviving Frost, just procuring the Dragon Balls for him, as well as defeating any of the people that were opposing them on Namek. And since the Dragon Balls on Namek are gone, as well as basically the planet itself, well, that part of his objective has failed, and he has to accept that. Although he doesn't know that Namek was brought back by Earth's Dragon Balls. But that's kind of besides the point. He wants to find those others and defeat them. He's not going to rest until his job is completed. Not just Frieza, but everyone else on Earth that came to Namek to defeat him. He actually doesn't know much about them and assumes they were part of Frieza's army, judging by Vegeta's armor and all, and the fact that the group had Goku and Caulifla, who are other Saiyans too. Everyone is back on Earth more motivated than ever. Piccolo is training in preparation, while Goku is trying to train to surpass Piccolo or Frieza in any way possible. He doesn't know how he could do so, but he knows he could probably find some sort of way. And Hit assumes that in the meantime, everyone else is going to grow stronger. So if he encounters anyone again, he needs to grow stronger as well. But it's going to be hard to track down the others. That random group that he encountered when they defeated the Ginyu Force, tracking Frieza, that might actually be easy. There's a passage of time here, about a year or so. By now, King Cold has found Frieza, and they started the process of rebuilding him. But he's not fully finished yet. Although in this time, Hit was able to track them down, as well as growing stronger himself too. With the strength that he has now, as well as the abilities he has, he should be able to defeat Frieza. He locates their mothership, sneaking aboard it, catching everyone off guard, defeating some of the random Frieza Force soldiers that he comes across. And he does this all very covertly. His time skip and all his assassin abilities actually help him to go through this without anybody noticing. And as he goes through the ship, he tries to get any info he can on the Dragon Balls, as well as the rest of the Frieza Force, and see if he can find those other people on Earth, since he doesn't actually know where they're from and maybe he can get some info here. So he collects whatever he can along the way. But much to Hit's surprise, pretty early on, he comes in contact with King Cold, who's immediately on guard and actually isn't too concerned. He's ready to face Hit. King Cold knows who he is and why he's here. He's here to kill Frieza, isn't he? And Hit says that's part of the objective, but King Cold is part of that as well. And King Cold assumes he's going to be after the Dragon Balls as well. What, is he going to try to get them to bring Frost back? Hit says actually no. His primary target right now is just him and Frieza. Right. Well, whatever the case, King Cold says this is the end of the line for Hit. He could have just lived a peaceful life away from everything, but him coming here sealed his fate. And it shouldn't be too hard for King Cold to defeat him. Especially without Frost at his side, Hit really stands no chance. But Hit tells King Cold that he has no need for Frost anymore. He'll win here. He's more than capable on his own. Alarms start ringing on the ship, and Hit realizes he has to work quickly. King Cold tries to swing at him, but Hit just vanishes from sight, then appearing with his fist connecting to King Cold's chest. And at first, nothing happens, but once Hit steps back, King Cold is just then completely immobilized, then falling to the ground. Hit says that he doesn't need Frost as an ally anymore, but he is grateful that he got this poison from him. It makes King Cold a lot weaker. King Cold then tries to stand up once more, barely having any strength left. He's using poison? What a cowardly move. Hit is an assassin after all, and is going to use anything at his disposal. This is going to make the job much more efficient. He punches in front of him, with a compressed blast of air flying right into King Cold's chest, immediately stopping his heart. The poison weakened him enough to kill him with just one attack. Hit then lifts him up against one of the walls, blasting him out into the vacuum of space. King Cold's corpse floats out in space, and much to Hit's surprise, it doesn't actually freeze or anything. He guesses they're the kinds that can survive in space, but that doesn't matter. With him seemingly dead now and defenseless, Hit launches a single blast that completely eradicates him. He knows how durable these people are and wants to make sure that he doesn't come back or anything, especially with how Frieza came back after all. But while Hit did make this as quick as possible, it wasn't quick enough. The ship is losing stability in the part that he launched a hole into, but as he runs to find Frieza, it seems he's gone. A piece of the ship has separated, launching off on its own. Frieza actually made his own escape, with some of the scientists on board breaking off the section of the ship where Frieza was. He's almost fully repaired and just needs a little bit more time. Frieza hates the idea that they have to run, but this should at least slow Hit down. The rest of the mothership collapses with Hit aborted, as he quickly makes his way towards his own ship. But Frieza's long gone already, and Frieza still has no clue who messed with him. He got word that someone was aboard and defeated King Cold, and he has a hunch that it might be that assassin that he faced before, but that makes no sense. That assassin was so weak beforehand. How could he have grown so strong so quickly, enough to defeat King Cold? Even with whatever assassin techniques he has and the ability to stop time, that shouldn't be enough. He still needs the raw strength to defeat King Cold. So, has he grown stronger? Is that it? It can't be anyone else. The Frost Core has completely collapsed. And that Namekian he faced before, it wouldn't have been him, he would have known. It couldn't have been Vegeta either. He wasn't nearly strong enough, and there's no way he grew that strong that quickly. He doesn't have much info, but assumes that he's now being hunted by Hit. What's he gonna do now? A few soldiers and scientists are left with him, thankfully. But the issue is, Frieza has no objective. He doesn't know where Hit's gonna go. It has no clue how to track him down. Not just that, but he has no clue how to track down the other Namekian that he faced before. It's gonna take a lot longer. And he still is gonna need a little bit more time to fully heal and get adjusted to this body. He wants to figure out who that assassin's working for. But not just that, he wants to find that Namekian that faced him before, the one that left him in this condition. Even though the planet's gone, he definitely found a way off there. But he does remember an interesting tidbit of info from his crew. His soldiers had reports of Vegeta running around, same for Caulifla, as well as some galactic patrolmen. The pieces are there. They just need to put the pieces together somehow, and figure out what planet they're all coming from. As for Hit, he decides to try and find the others that fought him before too. He wants to try and track down Frieza, but he has no way of tracking that other ship that escaped. By the time he realized it, it was already too far gone. But he assumes that Frieza's next target might be whatever planet those other people came from too. They each have a common enemy. He'll finish his job no matter what, which also includes eliminating those on Earth. And just like Frieza, he thinks a good place to start would be tracking down that patrolman, the one that he saw before. And also that Saiyan he fought, the one wearing orange, the one who was able to dramatically increase his power and defeat him. Wherever they came from, that must be where they are now. So now let's go back to Earth itself. By now, Kappa has actually been assigned to protect Earth along with Jocko. He kinda did have it under his jurisdiction before, but since he's done so well with it so far, that's a big focus of his now. He doesn't live on Earth though, but he does stay very close nearby. He even tries to recruit Caulifla and Vegeta. He knows they have nothing else going on for them right now, and he did kinda want them to join in the first place against Frieza. He hopes the fact that they're fellow Saiyans, especially with Caulifla being a Sadalin, that might actually make them warm up to him. But it doesn't. At least for Vegeta. Vegeta doesn't want to go with the offer, and decides to stay on Earth. But because of Vegeta's decision, Caulifla actually decides to join. Knowing how strong Kappa's grown with the patrol, she wants to join him there, growing stronger herself. Besides, this means that she doesn't have to be around Vegeta, since she still does kinda hate him, understandably. This will be a good way to keep herself ahead of him, as well as keeping them from trying to kill each other. Vegeta does aim to surpass the other Saiyans though, training intensely on his own. Naturally, he still does end up with Bulma, but he'll figure out some way to surpass the other Saiyans, especially Kakarot. By now, about 2 years have passed since Namek, so it's been another year since Hit's encounter with King Cold and Frieza. As for Frieza himself, he's finally gotten adjusted to his body. The healing process is complete. Mecha Frieza is now ready. It did take a bit longer for him to fully adjust to this body due to the extent of his injuries and the fact that Hit kinda delayed it. But also, Frieza took some time trying to train a bit with this body too, making sure he has full control over it. It wasn't a lot of training that he did, but it was enough to get him adjusted fully, and more importantly, with his amazing potential, even a little bit of training goes a long way. Let's say a few days and maybe even a week here, just to fully adapt. As for Hit, he hasn't been sitting around doing nothing either. He's finally located Earth, growing stronger himself as well, continuing his own improvement, growing stronger thanks to pure progress. He wants to improve his physical strength and the ability of his time control. And one day, he descends on Earth. Just like with Frieza and Cold, he's gonna make this a pretty quick job. Thankfully, this place isn't swarming with soldiers, and since it's an entire planet that he's infiltrating, it's a lot easier to remain undercover. His first target is Goku, the one who was an issue before because he was able to counter Hit's time abilities. He actually didn't get to see the full extent of Piccolo's powers, and doesn't realize that he's the biggest threat at the moment, but still has Piccolo as a threat. He'll defeat them all as they come. He tracks Goku down to the middle of some wasteland, wondering why he's here. From a far distance, he launches a poison dart at Goku, immobilizing him as he collapses to the ground. The poison courses through him, injuring him, but also leaving him vulnerable. Hit quickly launches over, ready to kill Goku with one attack. But before he lands it, he senses a power nearby. Something then catches him off guard. He didn't even sense a power nearby. It just popped out of nowhere. But he sees those other two Saiyans in that group from before, Gohan and Vegeta. Vegeta's actually been training with Goku recently. It is a very recent development, but it has been happening. As reluctant as he is to do so, Kakarot's unlocked some sort of new power that Vegeta wants to get a hold of himself. And he's glad that they can finally see Hit again. This time they won't give him a chance to run away. And Vegeta will be the one to beat him. Gohan's also ready to fight as well, and no more words are exchanged, as Vegeta and Gohan fend off the assassin together. They know his abilities from the last fight. They know it's going to be kind of tough to face him with those abilities, but still, it's important because they know about them. But Hit lets them know that he's improved since last time. Even if they know what he's capable of, they don't know the extent of what he's capable of now. Before, he was only able to time skip about a 20th of a second. He's improved that now. It's about 1/15th, and he's gained a better ability on time control in general, while also going much stronger physically. And Vegeta questions why Hit is even here, and Hit just simply says he needs to finish his job. He was tasked with defeating all of them, and he's gonna do so. But Vegeta says it's a pointless task. First of all, his leader's gone. He should just give it up. But not just that, it's cowardly the way he's going about it. Sure, he's an assassin and all, but at least fight like a true warrior. Or was it because he knew that he wouldn't be able to defeat him and Kakarot? And Hit says he's confident he would have been able to defeat Goku even if he didn't catch him off guard. Just like he'll be the one to defeat Frieza. Oh, so that's it too. He's after Frieza as well. But Vegeta lets Hit know that he'll be the one to defeat Frieza as well, once he attains Kakarot's power. What, that Kaioken thing? Hit says that's not going to be enough for Frieza. Not for him either. But also he's surprised to hear that Vegeta wants to defeat Frieza. He assumed they were part of his crew too. Vegeta even did have the armor of the Frieza Force on. But Vegeta laughs at this. No, he hasn't been with Frieza for a while. Besides, Hit should have seen them fighting against the Ginyu Force. That wasn't some sort of internal fight. Vegeta wasn't the Ginyu Force. He was with that other group. The Ginyu Force was specifically after them. Frieza is their enemy, and Frieza is Vegeta's target. But even with a valiant effort from Gohan and Vegeta, it's not enough to face Hit. He's grown so powerful, and his techniques are so advanced. They can't do too much against it. But thankfully, before Hit's able to do anything else, another fighter quickly arrives. One who catches Hit completely off guard, and then fights him with such astonishing speed that even Hit can't keep up. Piccolo has arrived on the battlefield, and Hit's confused. Why is a Namekian here, and how is he so powerful? It's that same one that he saw before, he remembers that, but is he stronger than Goku? Piccolo's able to stop Hit.
also throwing a Senzu Bean at Gohan, who then gives it to Goku. But Goku's actually fine. Thankfully, the poison was only temporary. He wasn't hit with nearly enough of it. And Hit's in a pretty big bind now. But then they sent something strange. Hit didn't realize that this whole time, he was being tracked by Frieza. And that's exactly who he senses. Frieza's power is approaching Earth. He led Frieza right here. And now Frieza's gonna have an opportunity to take down everyone that was meddling in his plans. Not just Hit, but the Saiyans on Earth too. And this just makes things even worse for Hit. He warns them of Frieza's power. They might have been able to defeat him, but he doubts they'll be able to defeat Frieza. They're going to need his help. But Goku tells Hit to chill out. Frieza might be powerful, but they should be able to handle him. And even if Hit's power will be helpful here, they might not need it. They're actually a lot stronger than Hit's giving them credit for. Frieza's ship lands, and he makes his presence known. With a group of a few fighters arriving over there, Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, and Hit, who actually isn't too sure what to do right now. But no one's off guard because they know that Hit could easily try and kill them while they're not paying attention. Piccolo's keeping a close eye on him to make sure that doesn't happen. And Hit still has no clue what they mean. They're gonna need his help to fight Frieza. But Goku says that he and Piccolo can handle this. Frieza's glad to see everyone already here. This is gonna make things a lot easier for him, even if that Galactic Patrolman and Caulifla aren't here right now. But Goku steps up first. And he says Frieza's gonna be pretty surprised to see what kind of power he has now. He's trained so long and hard to try and surpass Piccolo, and only just recently he found out about this. But it's a state of power beyond anything that he's had before. And Frieza laughs at the idea of a Saiyan trying to defeat him. There's no way he could grow that powerful. And Goku asks if Frieza really wants to wager against that. His aura flares up, a golden key surrounds him, and mechanical sensors within Frieza go off, trying to estimate what this power is. Goku shouts as everything around them shakes. Even Hit is thrown off guard. Goku's hair spikes up and then turns golden, with a burst of ki as he fully powers up. He wasn't too sure what this was at first, and he barely has a control in it, but according to Vegeta, this is apparently the Super Saiyan form. Frieza's frozen in fear when he hears this. A Super Saiyan? No, that's just a rumor. That doesn't exist. And Goku walks ever so slowly closer to Frieza. And Frieza says he doesn't care if the Super Saiyan is real or not. His new body is even better than it was before. Not to mention, he's grown a bit stronger too. Sure, it was only a few days of training, but it's more than enough. And Goku questions if that's really going to be the case. But before Frieza can do anything, he's suddenly caught in a time cage by Hit, who then yells out now's the time to attack, as Piccolo rushes in too. And this makes Goku kinda mad. He wanted to fight Frieza with his own strength, but it looks like he has no choice. They'll just have to defeat him right away. A combined effort from Piccolo, Goku, and of course Hit defeats Frieza. Well, that was kind of a letdown. Goku was looking forward to facing him, but Hit kinda screwed that up. Although, Hit can make it up to Goku. If they could fight sometime in the near future, that would be pretty great. And Vegeta calls him insane for even suggesting that. Hit was just trying to kill them before. But Goku reminds Vegeta, he tried to do the same as well. Same for Piccolo. They were in an enemy of my enemy situation, and it seems Hit isn't really a threat here anymore. Plus, he knows what Goku's power is like now, as well as Piccolo's too. Hit could try to kill them, but it's gonna be pretty tough. And Hit really has no clue what to think, but he kinda chuckles to himself. Fine, then so be it. While it is part of his mission to defeat them, technically, he guesses it doesn't matter anymore. Frieza's gone, and they're not really part of the Frieza Force anyways, so they're not really part of that objective. This isn't the last you'll see of them. He departs Earth, with everyone thinking that was just a really weird encounter, and Goku's pretty surprised at how dedicated he is to his job. What a weird guy. Out on the sacred world of Kais, Shin and Fuwa have actually sensed all of this going down. They're keeping a closer eye on everything due to actually trying to be competent here, but also have their hands full, and it seems a lot has happened recently that they need to catch up on. There's a passage of time here, about 3 years or so. Over this time frame, nothing too big happens. Caulifla and Kappa do return to Earth occasionally, and Goku's glad to hear that Kappa's actually able to work with her somewhat. She is tough to work with, but still, better than before, especially considering she was part of Vegeta's squad. And it's good that she's working for the right side now. The two have actually been gone from Earth for a while, and learned that Goku accesses some sort of new power, a transformation called Super Saiyan. They don't learn to access it right away, but still, they definitely are going to try and work towards that, especially with Caulifla wanting to get that. The two do have jobs as a Galactic Patrolman after all, so they can't just be here training all the time. But they will stop by occasionally, especially because with power like that, Kappa can become one of the strongest patrolmen. There's one strange guy who's a bit stronger than him, and Kappa wonders if this will put him over the edge and make him the best patrolman. Although, Jaka will still think he's the strongest regardless. Anywho, they go back to their jobs. Of course, Vegeta's going to try to unlock Super Saiyan as well, spending all his time working towards that. And Goku's pretty amazed because even with this great power, Piccolo is still ahead of them. He guesses that makes sense though because he did merge with a bunch of Namekians, essentially the whole planet of warriors. And he's glad he got to fight Frieza before because he knows Piccolo could have just killed him easily. He and Hit weren't actually needed in that fight. But this doesn't deter Goku. If anything, it keeps him more motivated, trying to reach Piccolo's level and surpass that. He knows he can. Although, something gets in the way of all this. Goku eventually comes down with some strange virus, and nothing can be done about it. But Kappa eventually does get word of this, wondering if he could do anything to help. the Galactic Patrol has a ton of advanced tech and resources, so maybe they could do something to make a cure. Bulma honestly isn't too sure because she couldn't even whip up something. Same with Dr. Brief, and they're not really too into medicine anyways. Kappa wants to do anything he can to make sure Goku can pull through, so he tries everything he has, trying to get Jocko and Caulifla to help as well. And in the nick of time, the Galactic Patrol is able to procure something, with their scientists using their resources to try and get some sort of cure. They can't cure it immediately, but they're able to find a treatment, and this helps them buy just enough time to actually develop a cure. Goku has the virus a little bit earlier on, pretty much around the time where future Goku got this, and it takes longer for him to heal because they didn't treat it right away. But after a few weeks, surprisingly, Goku makes a full recovery, a crisis was averted, and they're grateful for the help of the Galactic Patrol and their resources. Kappa doesn't want to take credit, but Jocko kinda does. And Kappa says that Goku's helped him so much in the past that he needed to help return the favor somehow, and thus, the heart virus never kills Goku. But that doesn't mean they're safe from threats here. One day, there's a terrifying news report. Some city's being attacked by what looks to be just 2 regular teenagers or something. No one has a clue of what's going on. Krillin's the first to get word of this and contacts the others. Judging from what they see on the newscast, it looks like somebody using Ki to attack. But no matter what they do, they can't sense any strong Ki signatures, but they should be able to. It's strange, and it seems like this could be a problem, so they're definitely going to check it out. They fly over to the city, but just as they do, they see a ship descending from the sky, a very familiar one. It's Kappa's ship, with he and Caulifla jumping off board. This is under his jurisdiction after all, so he wanted to check this out because he has been monitoring the planet. And he hoped they would have some sort of info, but they don't. Jocko also jumps off the ship, saying that no matter what this threat is, they'll be able to defeat it, until he sees the entire city vaporized in front of him, and decides he's gonna go back on the ship for a bit. The group looks around frantically trying to find who's responsible for this, and they see 2 figures floating in the sky. They lock onto this group, descending down to the ground. Vegeta says these are just 2 normal humans, but how are they able to do this? They're shooting beams of what looks to be Ki blasts, but they don't sense any sort of power coming off these 2. And then Goku and Krillin see something interesting. One of them is wearing the symbol of the Red Ribbon Army, and Goku puts all the pieces together. These are androids. That explains why they can't sense them. 17 compliments Goku for figuring it out. Yep, they're androids, and he should realize that they're the ultimate life forms too. They're actually glad that Goku came here. That makes their job a lot easier. They're actually not really doing it just to please Jiro, but they do have a directive to kill Goku, kind of as a side quest for them, and then they'll just go back to their normal destruction. But this is fun. They didn't expect to see Goku right away. But Goku tells them they're not going to get away with this. He doesn't care if they're androids, humans, aliens, whatever. Whatever power they have won't be enough to face them. He's surrounded by a golden aura, powering up with his Super Saiyan. The 2 androids aren't really too phased, and then Vegeta does the same thing, powering up as well. Kappa looks around a bit confused, and guesses they're all going to power up as soon as they can, so he transforms as well, with Caulifla following suit. Vegeta's jaw drops and Goku looks over smiling. So they actually got the form. That's awesome. Goku's obviously elated, but Vegeta, not so much. Especially knowing he still wants to be stronger than the other Saiyans, mainly Kakarot and Caulifla. And Caulifla could tell this gets under Vegeta's skin. But Vegeta's not going to let distract him. He'll prove himself in this fight. They also have Krillin, Piccolo, and Gohan there, all ready to fight whatever this threat is. The androids aren't too phased by this though. They have data on all these fighters and kinda know how they fight, even if they aren't too aware of these new developments in their power. The Super Saiyans all fight with great speed, but no matter what they do, it's not enough to fight the androids. It is enough to just push them back though, and basically hold them off, but not nearly enough to kill them, especially because they learn that androids have infinite energy. But there's something there that really helps them tip the scales, that being Piccolo. He still is the strongest in the group, and no matter how strong the androids are here, it might not be enough to face Piccolo, and they kinda realize that right away. The Super Saiyans have their fun at first, and it's not like Piccolo wasn't already fighting seriously, but once he sees that they're not faring too well, he decides to show off some more of his power. Obviously the androids can't even sense it, but he's actually able to completely demolish them. They still do have the advantage in stamina, and this doesn't mean that they're not powerful, they still are very strong. But they can't believe how strong Piccolo is. He shouldn't be this powerful. But again, they haven't really seen the full extent of his power. Piccolo says no matter how much data they have, they definitely aren't up to date on what happened to him on Namek. But they know Piccolo's full power. It shouldn't be like this. And Piccolo asks if they're really sure about that. He hasn't used his full power for a while. Not to mention it's much greater than it was on Namek because it has been a few years. And the androids realize they're fighting a losing battle, so they throw up a smoke screen and try to escape, using their lack of ki as an advantage. But Piccolo is quickly able to reach his arm out, grabbing one of them, dragging 17 in by his leg. And as the smoke clears, he sees Android 18 standing there, holding Vegeta with a hand stretched out to his head, having taken him hostage. Alright, Piccolo could do the same, taking Android 17 as his hostage. So it's come to this. They've realized they've lost, so their only option is to actually take a hostage. How pathetic. And 18 has no clue what to do because this is the only thing she could think of in the meantime. But then 17 thinks quick, putting up a bunch of different barriers, launching a powerful ki blast in front of him, basically turning into a giant hamster ball as it rolls away. 17 puts all his power into it, and there's such strength in this blast that it sends them far away. At a shocking speed too, basically launching them across the entire ocean as it rolls across. And 17 is able to wiggle free of Piccolo's grasp, but the second he does, Piccolo launches a blast from his mouth, not only destroying all the barriers around them, but completely incinerating Android 17. Piccolo rockets back into the city, and then senses a huge burst in power. It's Vegeta. He summons all of his strength trying to break free, elbowing Android 18 in the gut, and it doesn't do much in terms of damage, but it's able to help him break free. And he's absolutely fuming. How cowardly that they're trying to take hostages too. Just accept their defeat already. And he quickly jumps back, then firing a Gallic gun at her, with 18 launching her own blast, easily holding it off. But she could tell this isn't good. 17's probably already been defeated. And Vegeta's blast gets more powerful as Goku then jumps in, and then Kappa, and then Caulifla. It's a 4v1 beam struggle, but then she hears two voices cry out from above. First, it's Gohan, yelling Masenko, hitting her from above and not doing too much damage, but Piccolo then makes his way back, joining in with Gohan's attack. So now from the sky, she's hit by that double Masenko, and is consumed by all the blasts hitting her at once. And just like that, the androids are defeated. In case you didn't already notice, there's no time traveler here either, which also means Cell from that alternate timeline isn't going to show up. But it is worth noting they never found Jiro's lab. Essentially, this is the Adventure of the Future timeline, but there's no need to distinguish the timelines because there's no time traveling here. That's why the androids awakened earlier. That's why Goku came down with the heart virus and didn't have someone travel from the future to help him. And it also means Jiro died at the hands of Android 17 just like normal, and no one's ever going to find Cell. So he still is being developed in Jiro's lab. And Vegeta pulls Kappa aside. He's decided what he's going to do next. He wants to train with the Galactic Patrol. And Kappa's a bit confused to hear this. Why? Well, Vegeta's seen how they've grown so strong so quickly. Plus, something about these tailless Saiyans has always been strange. He wonders if they have inherently greater potential. But even if that is the case, that doesn't matter. Vegeta's own hard work will pay off. Besides, he's an elite Saiyan prince after all. If anything, he should be inherently gifted too. And he knows they probably have some strange training facilities. That's gotta be the case. They had the tech and resources to cure Goku's virus, so they gotta have something for that as well. And Kappa says, yeah, they do. That's part of the reason they grew so quickly. And it's decided. Vegeta's gonna go with them for a bit, wanting to see if he could ascend Super Saiyan somehow. And more importantly, getting ahead of all the other Saiyans. While everyone else stays on Earth, Goku is still trying to get Gohan to unlock Super Saiyan, and was hoping that this battle would help with that. But you know, it's probably a good thing that it didn't because he knows it's unlocked from anger too. Especially with how Gohan's power works. He knows that inducing that anger would probably mean that something really bad happened, so it's probably good that it didn't happen. Thankfully they have Piccolo here, so that's still really going to help them grow stronger. But there's also other things going on too. Let's go out into space, going back to Hit. Following the encounter with Frieza on Earth, Hit has found new work out in space. He still is basically working as a freelance mercenary. Whoever pays the highest, he'll work for them, and he has a great work ethic. He's notorious around the universe, not just for his great powers, but just the fact that he always gets the job done. No matter what it is, he sees it through to the end. And there is one faction that's particularly interested in his abilities, that being the Heaters. First, they started hiring him for a few jobs here and there. The best part is, Hit never asks questions about them. As long as the pay's fine, he'll do whatever they say. Taking out high-ranking soldiers on other planets, any competing factions, or even cleanly assassinating people that work for them that they want to get rid of. Because the Heaters do have some of those people. And with him working with the Heaters so much, they form a good business relationship with Hit. And he becomes one of their star mercenaries, although he is pretty competitive with another one of the mercenaries, one who's also doing very well in his own right. That being Granolah. The two are very competitive, with Granolah being sent out as basically a pirate. He has his own great abilities, and definitely is powerful, but the Heaters still kind of view him as a problem. Their empire is expanding, especially without Frieza there. They're able to take the throne and fill that power vacuum, taking over as many planets as they can and making as much money as possible. And with this, they're getting more soldiers, more strong people, people that they can trust. And the Heaters start to view Granolah as more expendable than he was before. And Granolah could easily tell what they're thinking. He doesn't have as much jobs with them anymore, and when he does, they're a lot more dangerous than they were before. Granolah starts trying to train more and more, trying to grow stronger. He feels like he knows what the Heaters are going to do. Frieza might be gone, but he knows there's still other threats out there. The Heaters are still a pain, and Hit might be a potential threat as well. But Granolah knows that there's also Saiyans out there apparently. Granolah's a bit paranoid, thinking he has enemies everywhere. And he wants to do whatever he can to preserve his life, wanting to figure out maybe how Hit's techniques work. Maybe he can get them for himself. This could be the key to his survival. He can get rid of the Heaters once and for all. Get rid of Hit too, so he's not a threat. And even better, enact revenge on the Saiyans, who ironically enough he heard about from Hit, who had mentioned them in passing to the Heaters while Granolah was eavesdropping. And one day, Granolah is able to get what he wants. Hit goes to the Heaters' headquarters for another job, but feels a strange sensation as he's walking in, almost as if his time skip is activated. He can move freely, but he knows he didn't activate his time skip. And then he realized what this is. It must have been someone else. Even though it was only for a split second, someone used the time skip ability. He felt a weird ripple in time that felt like it almost stopped for a bit. He rushes inside and all he sees are the Heaters on the ground. Every single one of them, they're dead. And each one of them has one wound on them, a precise attack that killed him in one shot. And he looks around, trying to see who did this. And then he feels that same sensation again,
that ripple in time. Anyone else wouldn't be able to move with this. But Hit activates its own time skip, skipping at the same time as whoever else is doing it. Everything completely stops around them for a brief moment. And Hit turns around quickly enough to see who it is defending against the attack. The time skip ends, and Hit's standing there with his arm defending, with Granolah being the one to attack him. Wait, it's him using these abilities? He didn't know Granolah had those powers. But more importantly, why is he after Hit now? As we've discussed before, Hit doesn't really care about his employers. He's not loyal to them and has no attachment to the Heaters. They just pay him, that's really it. But Granolah is directly threatening him, so this is his problem now. Hit tells Granolah he has no clue how he got this power or what he's planning. But if he plans to try and kill Hit, Hit's gonna make it as tough for him as possible. He can tell that Granolah had some clear grudge against the Heaters, and lets Granolah know nothing of this is personal. He got paid and that's all that matters to him, just his job, and that job with the Heaters is done. But Granolah has no clue of what to think. He doesn't know if Hit is a threat or not. But even if he is, that doesn't matter, because of his wish to become the strongest. Wait, a wish? Hold on, does that mean he used the Dragon Balls? But he never went to Namek or anything. How did he get the Dragon Balls? And Granolah's surprised to see that Hit knows about them, but says it's no concern how he got them. So he made a wish to become the strongest in the universe at this point, which grants him the powers of the others who he surpassed. Now he's able to control time just like Hit. But then, Granolah drops his guard. He'll be willing to take Hit's word for it, not going after him. Because first of all, he knows if he needs to kill Hit, he can. And second of all, he could tell that he's genuine. He's worked alongside Hit long enough to know this. He has no grudge against Granolah and no reason to kill him. And he has no connection to the Heaters besides being paid. And it's not like he got rid of Hit's only source of income. He can get other jobs. And Granolah says if it really does interest Hit, he's only using this power for vengeance. He knows Frieza's gone already, but he still had other issues. The Heaters, for one. They were plotting to kill him after all. But more importantly, he knows there's someone else out there that he needs to defeat. He heard Hit mention it before too. The Saiyans. The same group of warriors that destroyed his people. All he wants this power for is vengeance. He just wants to get rid of the Saiyans, and then live his life in peace. He doesn't want to have to kill Hit, but he will if he needs to. And says he hopes Hit realizes the same thing. Don't get in his way. Time freezes again, and Hit tries to counter it, but he can't. Granolah is able to actually stop time for a little bit longer, giving him just enough time to get out of there. He wasn't using it to attack, just to disappear. And Hit has no clue what to think. Granolah might be an issue. He never was that strong before, and now Hit's kinda concerned. But he wonders if Granolah's actually gonna try to go through with that. He knows exactly what Saiyans he's going for too, and he wonders if he's truly gonna be able to stop that. But again, Hit isn't really attached to anyone. This isn't any of his business. But he does wonder what his next move should be. But he recognizes Granolah's going down a dark path. He's consumed by revenge, and he did mention something interesting. He wants to get rid of any remain of the Frieza Force too. But surely he should know about the Frost Core, right? Which could also leave him as a potential target. By the time this has all happened with Hit, a few years have passed since the Android Saga. Vegeta does eventually return to Earth from the Galactic Patrol. He can't stay there training forever because, well, he is still with Bulma. Trunks was born, and while we're on that topic, Goten was born too. And Vegeta eventually did come back. But his training worked out. It looks like he unlocked a form beyond Super Saiyan. He was surprised to see the strength of these two Saiyans, especially Cabba, while he and Caulifla were continuously trying to surpass each other. It seems the tensions between the two have mellowed out, and now they're just each focused on being stronger than the other. Goku isn't Vegeta's main focus here. It's actually those other two Saiyans. And that doesn't mean Goku's gonna lose sight of anything either. He has his own rival, Piccolo. Since he is around Piccolo more here than he is with Vegeta, and Piccolo was the strongest of the group still. And Goku's glad to see that Vegeta ascended Super Saiyan, because he's not the only one to do so. Actually, before he did it, Gohan was able to do so, not only unlocking Super Saiyan, but eventually going beyond, unlocking the power of Super Saiyan 2. And Piccolo is glad to see everybody catching up, mainly because he kinda had an unfair advantage against them, fusing with an entire planet and all. He still does remain ahead. But when Vegeta returns to Earth, he mentions something that he heard from the Galactic Patrol. They're tracking down some known pirate. Vegeta was wondering if they were referring to Hit, but no. Hit actually isn't classified as such. He's just an assassin. This guy actually goes around not only as an assassin, but also steals stuff. Mainly for a group called the Heaters, which have just been recently eliminated. They don't know what happened with it. And it's kinda good for the patrol because that's one less thing to worry about, but at the same time, who killed them? Who was strong enough to do that? And what was the purpose for it? They did think it might be Hit, but he wouldn't really have had a motive to do that. And they wonder if it's one of the other people that they work with. Some guy named Granolah that Vegeta has no clue about. Apparently he is powerful though. And he originates from some planet called Cereal, which for some reason stuck with Vegeta. He can't really remember why, but he knows he's heard of the planet before. He's just trying to think of what it could be. Why did that stick out to him? Anyways though, Cabba did want Vegeta to mention this to everyone. Mainly because he's heading towards Earth it looks like. That's also another reason Vegeta came back. He wanted to warn everybody. Well, Goku invites it. If there's another threat coming towards Earth, that actually might be fun to fight against. He wonders what kind of foe they're going to face, if he even is a foe. Cabba, Caulifla, and Jocko arrive on the planet as well, right before they expect this other ship to arrive. After a few days, it seems the time has come.
They could finally sense that energy getting closer and closer to the planet. He's definitely suppressed. But even so, they could tell this guy's pretty strong. And as his energy gets closer and closer to the planet, Goku, Vegeta, Kappa, Caulifla, Piccolo, and Gohan all prepare for the encounter. Granolah was going to try a sneak attack, but he can immediately tell that they're expecting him here. He sees the group waiting, staring at his ship. Well, that'll make this battle a little bit more interesting at least. Although he did kind of want to make it quick. He simply jumps off the ship, landing in front of them. So it looks like these are all Saiyans here. Although, interestingly enough, one of the people in the group is a Namekian, and one of those Saiyans actually looks to be a kid. Kappa simply steps up and asks why he's here, letting him know they are ready to fight if he does pose a threat. They don't know his motive for being here, but it's probably not a good motive. Granolah doesn't even respond. Kappa just simply collapses to the ground. Granolah didn't even move at all. They don't know what happened and how it happened so quickly. And barely able to speak, Kappa warns them. Somehow in that moment, he was able to attack Kappa. And it was a precise blow that was able to do enough damage to do this to him. But the question is, how did he move so quickly? Goku pulls Kappa out of the way, giving him a senzu bean, as the rest of the Saiyans transform, ready for a battle. And at first this catches Granolah off guard. Saiyans can transform? Well, it doesn't matter to him because he's the strongest in the universe after all. This should take all of them into account as well. Although it doesn't seem like he can suppress his power any longer. So, he charges all of his ki as well, ready for the battle. And Caulifla taunts him, asking him if he's scared. He doesn't realize who he's messing with. And Granolah assures them he does know who he's fighting. These Saiyans are the exact reason he came here. And Vegeta questions this. He acts like he's seeking out Saiyans purposefully. And Granolah says that's their answer, as he launches into attack with Vegeta, Caulifla, and Piccolo fighting at first. And Piccolo's confused. He should be strong enough to defeat a foe like this, but how is he this powerful? Granolah is so much stronger than him. This power, it almost seems unnatural. Kappa gets back up and thanks Goku. He's still not sure how that happened. And Gohan says he couldn't see any movement either. Goku says the same. Like, they've dealt with fast opponents before, but they should have been able to register that. That wasn't just normal fast movement. That was something else. It's almost like what they saw with Hit. But that doesn't make sense. There's no way that he'd have the same abilities. Kappa says from what they know, Granolah and Hit both did work for the Heaters. He doesn't know if they work together because they don't have that much data. And he wonders if he somehow learned those abilities from Hit, but that seems kind of far-fetched. And Goku says it doesn't matter. They figured their way around that once, and they could do that again. As the three of them all power up into Super Saiyan 2, joining in on the battle. And now Granolah's kind of in trouble. He's facing a 6v1, and despite his strength, some of these fighters are incredibly powerful. They're all actually around the same level. But Granolah assures them he will get revenge for what the Saiyans did to his tribe. And then it hits Vegeta. That's why he's here. That's why Planet Cereal sounded so familiar. So, this is some revenge for what the Saiyans did so many years ago. He hates to break it to Granolah, but he came all this way for nothing. They're the last surviving Saiyans, and none of them had anything to do with this. But Granolah says he doesn't care. They were complicit in it. Planet Cereal was once a larger planet. With the two universes merging, there actually were more Cerealians. But it didn't really matter because the Saiyans eliminated every single Cerealian that they could find, with Granolah being the only survivor. And Kappa tries talking with Granolah. He's not the only one who's been wronged by the Saiyans. He has been too, and he is a Saiyan. Not all Saiyans are the same. There's two separate tribes of them. But Granolah doesn't care. Again, he is complicit in this. Even if he is from a different tribe as Saiyans, why is he teaming up with these others that are from the same tribe that eliminated him? If anything, that makes him Granolah's enemy too. But Granolah's getting more and more frustrated as the fight goes on. Despite wishing for all this power, nothing's working. He didn't expect to face this many people at once. And even with his advantage in strength and abilities, it still isn't good enough. Besides, he's not that great at time skip yet. He's been trying to use it more and more just to work with it. He feels anger boiling up inside of him. His frustration's growing. He tries to summon as much power as possible, and then feels a strange change. There's a flash in his left eye, as then it appears red too. His power hasn't changed much, but they do notice this mid-battle. And this provides a much greater focus, especially against so many foes like this, it's going to be a lot easier to hit their vital points. First he goes for Vegeta, the supposed prince, knocking him down with a single blow. Caulifla then rushes in to attack, and the same thing happens. He's able to guard against the other attacks in the nick of time, then striking her with one blow that knocks her down. And with those two out temporarily, this means it's a 4v1. This is much more manageable. He then performs a time skip, with Kappa barely being able to defend, knowing what's about to happen. But he aims for Goku, who only dodges by chance, trying to predict his next movements. He blocks Granolah's next attack, with Gohan then attacking from behind. But then it's almost like Granolah's in two places at once. He then appears behind Gohan, knocking him away with a blast, but it doesn't even seem like he moved from where he was attacking Goku from. And Goku says he knows Granolah's secret. Somehow, he got the same time abilities as Hit. And he commends Goku. Good job for figuring it out. But it's far too late to actually counter it now. And once more, he activates it. And it seems to be an even more powerful time skip than what Hit had, even though Granolah doesn't have a great control on it. All the Saiyans are suddenly suspended in air, trapped in a time cage of sorts. He only had enough time to get some of the people in the group. Gohan and Piccolo are the only ones left behind, the two he doesn't think are too much of a threat to him, since one is a kid and one is a normal Namekian. Not to mention, he probably has the least of a gripe with these two. That kid's probably completely unaware of why he's here. And Piccolo's not a Saiyan, so why would he be involved? And this gives Piccolo a realization as well as a chance to ask something. Why does he have a gripe with these Saiyans after so long? They aren't responsible. And he also realized that since Granolah left them behind, he's not some completely merciless killer. He definitely has some sort of motive for being here. He's just misguided. Otherwise, Piccolo wouldn't even have a chance to speak with him right now. And maybe he can get through while Cabba couldn't. But Granolah says they already know his reasoning. The Saiyans destroyed his entire tribe. He knows Frieza also ordered them to do so. But they're all the same in his eyes. But Gohan asks why come after them. None of them were involved. Hell, the only ones who were even alive were kids at that time and they weren't on that planet apparently. But Granolah knows what Saiyans are like. It's in their nature to be destructive like this. Besides getting vengeance, he wants to make sure he doesn't have to deal with them again. And Piccolo points out how Granolah mentioned Frieza. Does he not realize who these Saiyans are? They rebelled against Frieza. They helped defeat him. They actually worked with Hit to defeat him. And Granolah didn't even realize that. These are Hit's allies? Not that that makes it any better, but that explains how Hit knows them. But they worked together to defeat Frieza? Not just that, they went against Frost Army too. Although Frieza was the one responsible for killing him. Piccolo tells Granolah he can relate. He saw his whole planet get destroyed by that army. Not only did he see that, but he has the memories of everyone who was on that planet, at least the ones who survived and fused into him. He's witnessed the horrors of Frieza's army from hundreds of perspectives. The Namekians went through something very similar not too long ago, and he tries to reason with Granolah. His judgment is clouded, and while Granolah does hear Piccolo out for a bit, he says he's thinking perfectly clearly, and he immediately goes back to attacking them. And Piccolo can tell he's definitely conflicted now. His words did have some effect. And Piccolo notes that he left those two at the time cage for a reason. It wasn't just because of who they are, it's because he underestimated their strength too. And he lets Granolah in on a secret. Piccolo is the strongest of the group, and as of the Saiyans, Gohan's actually the strongest Saiyan, despite his age. Gohan and Piccolo fully power up, starting to fight Granolah, trying to hold him off a little bit longer, seeing if they can help break the others out of whatever that time cage is. And thankfully this means Granolah's losing focus. The other Saiyans are all injured, having been hit in their vital points, but he's loosening his grasp on the time cage, and they're able to break free, falling back to the ground, watching as Gohan and Piccolo are on the offensive. And right before Granolah is about to strike the two of them, somebody appears right in front of him, catching both his hands. And Granolah jumps back, immediately recognizing who it is. Hit has arrived on the scene. He tells everyone this wasn't his fight to get involved in, but he decided he wanted to do everyone a favor. And also, he recognized Granolah might be a threat to him too. But he couldn't face him alone. This at least is a better way to fight him. And Goku's surprised to see Hit here, especially surprised to see that he wants to team up with them. And Hit chuckles a bit, telling Goku to relax. He's not here to team up. He just realized they have a common enemy and saw an opportunity to strike. They're probably wondering how he got these powers too, and Hit spills the beans about everything. And Piccolo can't believe it. He wished for this power? He didn't realize that was possible from the Dragon Balls. And Piccolo realized that also might be a reason why he didn't go after him. Granolah underestimated Piccolo and recognized that he wasn't a Saiyan, but also another reason he might have spared him at first? Well, it could be because he knows another Namekian on his planet, explaining how he got the Dragon Balls in the first place. And Piccolo sees his duty here. He almost got through to Granolah and stopped him before. He's got to be the one to do it here again. And Granolah says it doesn't matter if he tells them everything. His power has grown even more since Hit encountered him. And besides, his time skip is better too. And Hit really begs to differ. He didn't seem to have too great of a control in it. Sure, maybe he could time skip a little bit longer. But does he not realize that Hit grows a lot as he fights too? Pure progress has allowed him to increase his time skip as well. And Granolah asks if he can match a fifth of a second. And Hit says, yeah, he actually thinks he can. This catches Granolah off guard, but he decides to test it anyways. The two time skip at the same time, fighting in between time skips. And no one can even process the fight. They just see the two of them warping in and out of time, disappearing and reappearing in random spots. Almost like they're phasing in and out of reality. They each skip time to attack the other first, but instead, they're just matching each other's speeds. And now that Hit's even the playing field, he recognizes Granolah's weakness. He doesn't know how to use all his powers. He's not practiced enough with it. Hit has more experience. And not only that, Granolah has taken some damage from this battle. He was in a 6v1 after all. The two keep warping in and out of time. As Hit then focuses all his power on something that Granolah just used, trapping him in a time cage as well, focusing all of his energy on it, not letting Granolah go. Granolah floats there, lagging in time almost. And Hit tells everyone to attack now. This is the chance to stop him. Vegeta, Caulifla, and Cabba launch him without any thought. Goku and Gohan hesitate, but then Piccolo yells out, telling him to stop. First of all, Goku says he doesn't feel right attacking him like this. It's a dirty tactic, and it's unfair. And Piccolo says that's not the reason he told him to stop. He walks up to Granolah, who's still being held there by Hit, and Hit glares at Piccolo, trying to tell him to finish it too. But Piccolo tells him there's no need. He can tell Granolah's conflicted, ever since he spoke to him before. Not to mention, he's clearly defeated here. He should recognize that they could kill him at any moment now, and even if he does escape this technique somehow, they could do it again. It's a 7v1, now with someone who could actually control time on their side. And then Cabba surprisingly tries talking with him too. It's like he told Granolah before. He knows what the Saiyans did. He wasn't one of them. He wasn't even part of that tribe. Not to mention Goku over there. He was raised here on Earth. He had no knowledge of the Saiyans until a few years ago. And then Gohan, he's a kid. Cabba's actually part of the Galactic Patrol, helping stop people like Frieza. And it's gonna surprise Granolah, but Caulifla's part of it too, and Vegeta's an honorary member. And it's just like Piccolo mentioned before. They work to stop Frieza and Frost, trying to right the wrongs from the past. And Hit can attest to it too, being responsible for killing King Cold and helping to kill Frieza. And Goku says he could see it too. He can tell Granola's not a bad guy. It's like Piccolo was saying, he's misguided. He's not a merciless killer, and he shouldn't try to be like that. The desire for revenge clouded his judgment. It's not worth risking his life over this. And Hit can't hold on anymore, letting go of Granolah as he falls to the ground. He stands back up, and it looks like he's about to attack too. And Piccolo reminds Granolah, he doesn't blame him for hating the Saiyans. He knows how the Saiyans were before, but Granolah needs to know, these aren't those Saiyans. Most of them aren't even aware of what happened. The one who would be is actually trying to reform if anything, although Vegeta hates to admit it. Besides, his gripe should be with Frieza and Frost anyways, who are dead now. Granolah then drops his guard, powering down, not really knowing what to do, and he asks Cabba, so is the Galactic Patrol here to arrest him? And Cabba says actually no, they were here to help defend against him. They didn't know why he was coming to Earth, but they thought it was for a bad reason. If anything, Cabba thinks that it's great that he eliminated the Heaters, assuming that he was the one responsible for it. With Cabba also learning that he was basically held captive by the Heaters, and did all this to survive. He was in a pretty terrible situation, so even though he was working with the Heaters, it wasn't really by his own will. And besides, he got rid of them, so he kinda did them a favor. Not to mention, it would be pretty hard to lock up Granolah anyways, even if he wanted to. But that's not why he's here. Granolah doesn't even really know what to say, but he's heard them out. He doesn't apologize either. He simply jumps up, and then flies back away to his ship, stopping midair to look back at them, just contemplating for a bit, as he then flies off. Vegeta and Caulifla are ready to chase him, but Goku and Cabba are able to stop the two, and Gohan commends Piccolo, amazed that Piccolo just talked it out with that guy. And Piccolo's kind of embarrassed, but then chuckles a bit. He thanks Gohan. It's because of him that he could see the good in people like that. Gohan and Goku did give him a chance after all, so why not pay it forward? And Hit kinda just stands there awkwardly, as Goku thanks him for the help. Glad to finally see Hit again, and Hit's actually surprised that they let Granolah go in the first place. He could have actually stopped Granolah before, but it would have probably led to his own death if he tried. And Goku reminds Hit, he also let Granolah go too. Maybe Goku's rubbing off on Hit a bit, and Hit says he doubts it, but smiles, with everyone going their separate ways again. But little did they know, their paths will cross once more. An evil threat is lurking about the Megaverse, one that the Kais know all too well about. Shin and Fua have been scouring the universe. It's a little bit tough to find what they're looking for, but they know it's out there, and they're terrified about it. Shin has mentioned this to Fua a long time ago, with him learning about the history of Universe 7 before the two verses collided. There was a monster that attacked Shin, with him being the last survivor. The Grand Supreme Kai and the other Supreme Kai are all gone, thanks to a threat known as Majin Buu, the embodiment of Universe 7's evil. And with the two universes colliding, this poses an issue that might have not been as obvious at first. With their hands full, sure, there were a lot of other issues at hand, but it completely crossed Shin's mind. While Buu isn't active right now, if he ever were to become active again, he'll be a much bigger issue than before. He's the embodiment of Universe 7's evil, but now there's a larger megaverse. That means he could potentially be even more powerful, being the embodiment of evil from both universes. They need to stop him before he awakens. They need to find out where he is and try and seal him away for good, because they know Babidi is out there somewhere, with him being apparently active again. Majin Buu would have been a threat regardless, but now he has the potential to be an even bigger threat than before. And the two Kais are going to do everything in their power to stop him. As I mentioned before, the two Kais in the scenario aren't being incompetent, they're actually doing their job. The whole reason the scenario started in the first place is because, well, incompetence, and they want to avoid that. Even though last time it was the fault of Beerus and Champa, but they know this universe needs to be on its best behavior. And especially because the two gods of destruction aren't doing too much, they kinda need to pick up the slack. It's not only that, but they also have to learn everything about the other universe as well, which is how Fua heard about Buu in the first place. And while they can't confirm it just yet, it's exactly as they assumed. Buu is still sealed away, but he's actually a lot stronger than before, powered by the inherent evil in both universes combined. A formidable foe is waiting on the horizon. Let's shift over to the Galactic Patrol. Cabba and Caulifla are at the headquarters one day, when one of their colleagues gives them some news. This is the strongest patrolman in the force, Beerus. He's always been kinda odd, but they know he's reliable. He's worked his way up in the ranks pretty quickly, and he's been doing a great job, and seems very knowledgeable somehow. He has some news about a terrifying threat. They're not sure how he knows, but he tells them what's going on. He wants them to head to Earth immediately. He knows it sounds suspicious, but he has intel about some threat arriving there, warning them about Majin Buu. The patrol already has some knowledge of him, also knowing that the Grand Supreme Kai is part of him. And Buu's revival could spell some trouble, partially because it could affect one of the other prisoners there, but mainly because Buu is a huge threat in general. But Beerus knows that Babidi's heading towards Earth. With so much energy there to exploit, Babidi thinks that this planet is his best bet at reviving the Majin. He asks Cabba, Caulifla, and Jocko to go to Earth with him, which is strange that he's going, but they trust his judgment. They recognize he isn't what he seems either, but they can't put their finger on why. Caulifla especially is suspicious of him. This guy acts really weird, and Cabba assures that he's trustworthy, but he kinda does agree. They know virtually nothing about him, but he's a good patrolman and he's been reliable. They just can't pinpoint why he's so knowledgeable, why he has so much strength, and why he's so mysterious. On Earth, the two Kais arrive. They're here earlier than normal, and they can tell that Bobity's going to attack soon. They have to try and scour the planet somehow, finding wherever he is. He might already be here. And not too long into their search, the two of them see a ship landing nearby. One that has kind of a strange presence on board. At first they think it might be Bobity, but no, it's the Galactic Patrol. The two guys go up to the ship, assuming they're here for the same reason, mainly because Beerus steps off. He and the Kais make eye contact, silently acknowledging each other. The two Kais don't know exactly what Beerus is, but they can kind of assume, and they don't say anything about it, just silently acknowledging it with Beerus. They introduce themselves to everybody, with Cabba and Jocko immediately showing respect, realizing that these two are Supreme Kai. Kali feels a bit out of the loop, but they explain. And then she's immediately intrigued. Oh, if they're here to help against Buu, they must be really strong. And the two do say they're powerful, but not as powerful as the threat here on Earth. The two Kais explain all the info they have on Buu, and also touch upon why he's such a big threat, including the fact that this isn't just a normal universe. This is amazing to the patrolmen because they've heard rumors about this, passed through the Galactic Patrol for generations. But hearing it directly from two Supreme Kai, that's pretty much all the proof they need. It's weird to think that this universe actually isn't normal. That explains a lot, actually. Does that explain the differences between the Saiyans and everything? There's no time to mull on it now, though. It is a pretty huge reveal for them, and the Kai say they'd be glad to educate everyone later on, but for now they need to focus on this. And Cabba suggests enlisting some more friends to help find Bobity. If he's probably here already right now, they're going to need a lot more eyes on the lookout for him. And Shin's glad to hear this. They're aware that there's some strong fighters on Earth, but do these patrolmen actually know them? And pretty quickly, they're able to get a few people over here. Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo. The four strongest warriors on Earth. They're caught up to speed, except for the universe reveal because that's just going to make more questions for them. And Piccolo is very serious about this. Considering he's the fusion of so many Namekians and has a lot of their knowledge too, even though Kami's not a part of him, he still has knowledge of the Kais here, and takes everything they say very seriously. But not just that, he does know a bit about Buu and Bobity, with it having been passed down through Namekian legends. He knows Goku and Vegeta are probably excited for a strong fight, but urges them, don't take this lightly. And for that exact same reason, he also does know a little bit about the Universal Merge. Just not enough, and no one else is really going over it at the moment. But it is worth mentioning that Piccolo knows a little about it. Everyone splits up and starts looking. They have an entire planet to cover after all. But thankfully Shin and Fu are able to narrow it down to just one area. It's still a pretty large area, but it should be easier to search here than the entire planet. They sense a vague evil presence nearby, and everyone goes in groups of two. It doesn't take too long before the search actually produces something. One of the groups flying together is Goku and Gohan. And as they're looking in their respective area, Gohan then hears Goku yell out. Turning back to see him standing there with half his body looking like it's stone now, he points over to where it came from, showing Gohan where the enemy is before he fully turns to stone. He doesn't have time to say much but tells Gohan to watch out. He had some ability to turn him to stone from a long range. Gohan goes over to Goku trying to see what he can do to reverse this, but he can't do anything. And he looks over to where Goku is pointing. There's a Cape Man floating there in the air, looking down at Gohan. He's immediately enraged, ready to fight this man, but Shin and Fu then teleport over, sensing his power spike significantly. They confirm that the threat's over here, then teleport around to all the others and bring them to this area too. But Shin warns Gohan, don't use too much energy. They can kill Dabura, and if they do kill Dabura, then it'll free Goku from the stone. But he can't use too much energy here. Shin puts a big emphasis on that. Gohan can do whatever he needs, just don't go overboard. And Gohan's a bit confused by this, but he listens. He's only going to need a brief power boost to defeat this guy anyways. Gohan then launches in to fight Dabura one-on-one, being sure to avoid most of his attacks until he figures out that it's spit that turns people into stone. As the Kais continue bringing everyone over to this area, just so they could look around even further, Bobity's got to be around here somewhere. And amidst their search, Cap is able to stumble across what looks to be a ship, but before he could yell out about it, he then feels a sharp pain in his side. Somebody stabbed him, and he starts to feel weak. He falls to the ground, losing most of his energy. But he doesn't lose all of it. Before it's completely drained, Beerus then enters the scene, shooting at who he presumes to be Bobity, with Bobity then quickly teleporting out of the way. Beerus does have to be careful though. He can't use his real power. He's basically just here as a guide. And this gave Bobity a good amount of info. First of all, he's glad to see that Cabba was strong enough to have that much energy. This group should be particularly useful, but also that Beerus guy is interesting. He's definitely not what he seems, but Bobity isn't too sure why. He couldn't sense his energy either, but he definitely seemed powerful. Bobity starts monitoring the scene, and he watches as Dabura is killed by Gohan. Pretty quickly, in fact. This annoys Bobity a bit because he wanted to get a little bit more energy out of that, but he still has other options. Gohan rushes over to Goku, who thankfully is okay now and isn't stone anymore. He updates Goku on the entire situation, and Goku's just glad that wasn't permanent or anything. He was kind of freaking out when he was turning into a statue, as anyone would. By now, everyone has pinpointed Bobity's ship. It's just a matter of infiltrating it now. And Bobity realized that this might be a tough situation. He didn't expect him to be here that quickly. Thankfully, he did get some energy. Dabura's fight with Gohan did lend him some, and Cabba had a fair amount too. But he still needs more. He's barely above 60% of the energy that he needs. And Babidi has a few other questions. Who's Merus? Why are there two Kais here? He doesn't recognize that other one. Although he does remember a while back, he felt some sort of disturbance in the universe. He honestly wasn't too sure what happened, but he knows the universe isn't the same as it was when he was first active. And he could actually tell that something's pretty off with Buu. He's not too sure why, but he has a feeling that what he's unleashing isn't the same thing that Bibidi had from before. He finishes giving all of Kappa's energy to the egg, trying to think of what to do next. Maybe he could try and possess someone else in that group. There's gotta be someone in that group with enough evil energy to manipulate. But as he's thinking, the ship starts shaking for some reason. He panics, thinking it's being destroyed from the outside. But he realizes that something's shaking behind him. He looks back at Buu's egg and it's rapidly shaking. And steam's coming out of it too. Wait, is it hatching already? That doesn't make sense. He only has about 60% of the energy in there. What's happening? Why is it so unstable? But Babidi stands back. The entire ship explodes, and everyone on the outside sees a giant plume of smoke. The smoke launches up into the air, and then forms into a giant pink blob. Shin and Fu are confused too. There's no way that could have been enough energy, right? But Shin thinks this is a result of what they were theorizing before. Maybe Babidi didn't need that much power because Buu already had some. It's just like they thought. The two universes merging actually affected this. With 2 universes worth of Buu's and evil energy combined into one, this is what fuels him. Even while he was sealed, he still had more latent energy, and the gauge that Babidi had in Buu's egg didn't reflect that properly. And as the smoke forms into Buu, Shin looks on with terror. This isn't the same Buu that he fought before. He looks drastically different, and the energy, it's even more intense than he remembered. The group coalesces together and watches Buu rise up, and Shin comments on it. He's not as docile as Fat Buu, and he's not as unrestrained as Kid Buu. This is a brand new Buu. This is Super Buu. And he can't believe this occurred. It's not the Buu he remembers, so it has to be his theory. It definitely came true. Fua tries to keep it quiet and tells Shin. It's gotta be because of the 2 universes merging. And no one hears this, but Piccolo actually does. What do they mean there's a multiverse? And what is this about a multiversal merge? There's so much here that's not adding up. And it's not just that either. There's also that Merus guy who seems strange. He has a lot of questions for these guys, but Piccolo keeps it to himself. He doesn't want to cause a panic. Besides, he does have the knowledge of the previous Namekians too. And he's been wanting to find more info out about this because he actually does know a little about it. But that's not the main focus here. How are they supposed to face Buu? Not just any normal Buu either. It's a much stronger Majin Buu. Goku then notices 2 powers approaching. They're smaller powers and they're not enemies. And then it clicks with him who these powers are. It's Goten and Trunks. Why are they coming here? Vegeta then feels it too and realizes they need to get those 2 to leave. They're gonna get killed over here. Goten and Trunks then fly in, saying they sense all this power getting out of control and decided they wanted to help. And then they see Majin Buu standing there with Babidi. Goku and Vegeta try to get them to leave as quickly as possible. But it seems like it's too late now because immediately after, Super Buu attacks. Damn, now they have to worry about those 2 as well. And Gohan spends a lot of his time trying to make sure that they don't get in the way. Not only are they a liability in this fight, but he's concerned that they're going to get hurt. Although we can't focus too much on that because Gohan is one of the stronger people in the group and he needs to utilize his power here against Buu. But nothing is working against this Buu. They have a big group facing him, and the group is powerful. But this Buu is so far beyond the normal Buu that it's going to make it a lot tougher. He's intelligent now. He has strong magic, and he's far more powerful than the normal Super Buu even was. And it's not just that either. This Buu is beyond any Buu we've seen in the Buu Saga. Kid Buu, Fat Buu, Super Buu with any of those people absorbed, including Buuhan. This Buu surpasses even those ones. It's not like the group has a frame of reference either way. And the thing is, that's this Buu's strength without anybody absorbed. He stops fighting for a bit, and then turns his head completely around, looking at Babidi. Babidi cheers him on, trying to motivate Buu. But Buu then simply turns Babidi into candy, then telekinetically bringing him over and eating him in one bite. He then turns back into the group. He says he hopes they didn't think he was some mindless monster being controlled by Babidi. No, he has complete free thought and all. And consider that just a little bit of an example of his power. This should be a really fun battle. Shin and Fua try their best to help, but they fall back for a bit, turning to Merus. Shin says he doesn't know exactly who Merus is, but he can assume. He's related to the angels somehow, isn't he? His power should be able to help out here, but Merus says he's not too sure. His power is very limited here. If he tries to fight as an angel using any of those abilities, he'll be erased from existence. He's forbidden from doing that. He's essentially here as an observer, but he will offer help in the best way that he can, making use of all the Galactic Patrol tools at his disposal. But he's getting concerned too. He doesn't think these mortals stand a chance against this guy. The Kais certainly don't either. But he can't protect the Kais. That's not his objective. He can't use his powers here. He knows that this universe is already under scrutiny anyways, and if an angel went rogue and started using his powers, that would probably just put it at more risk, mainly from Zeno this time. But he tries to offer help in whatever other way possible. And even though he's preoccupied with the fight, Piccolo also picks up on this too, easily able to eavesdrop on everything. What do they mean he's an angel? Like, he's dead or something? What power does he have hidden away that he can't use? He has to save these questions for later. This Buu is a terrifying opponent. He wants to have fun and gain more power. And he's clearly enjoying himself here. Thankfully, they don't know that he can absorb anyone yet. So the first absorption should be pretty easy. A piece of himself is split off during the battle too, and he doesn't regenerate it. And it slowly creeps up on the group. targeting Beerus at first. For some reason, Buu feels like he's the one that could be the most beneficial here. That piece of him jumps up at Beerus. And at first, Buu thinks he has him in his grasp, but for some reason, Beerus is able to move out of the way incredibly quickly, acting completely on instinct, and then telling the others to watch out as that piece of him flies past. He's able to shoot it with his blaster midair and destroy it, but that wasn't the only piece of him to fly off. There's a piece of him near everybody. One of them's able to latch onto Goku's foot. Two of them almost hit Goten and Trunks, but Piccolo's able to jump in the way, destroying the two pieces aimed at them, but there's another nearby. One that catches him by surprise and ambushes him. The pieces of Buu slowly start crawling over them. Buu is surprised they saw through that trick. But it's already too late. Now, Piccolo and Goku will be part of him. He summons those pieces over, fully assimilating their power into his. His energy spikes tremendously. Shin and Fu fall to their knees. They're doomed. Buu was too strong before, but now, he's gonna have all the abilities, all the techniques, all the power of these two, and they're down two fighters at that as well. How could this have happened? They've tried to do everything right. They tried to correct their mistakes as Kais, trying to be better as gods. But this was a completely unforeseen event. They tried to act as quickly as possible, but it seems that it just caused this to happen. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy. But Beerus walks over to the Kais, telling them to not blame themselves. This isn't their fault. This is simply a symptom of the bigger issue. It's something completely out of their control. The two universes merging. They did everything to help. He's glad they're here, glad that they're doing their jobs. They're acting as gods should, but they can't give up just yet. Buu's power-up and transformation completes. As he stands there, admiring his new body, he feels even stronger, even smarter than before. He already knew he was above everybody too, but there's no harm in absorbing some extra power here too. It's gonna make the battle a lot more interesting, especially because he gets to see the look of terror on everybody's faces when they realize that their two friends are now gone. It could make this battle a lot more interesting. As he stands there admiring himself, Vegeta, Kappa, and Caulifla try to launch him together. But without even moving, Buu produces a shockwave that knocks them all back. He doesn't even flinch. He doesn't even look in their direction. But then he turns over at them and smiles. So, now it's time to begin the next stage of the battle. Everyone tries to attack at once, but nothing's working. Buu isn't even phased anymore. He actually welcomes this. It's kind of entertaining. He actually tells them to plan an entire group attack. He'll give them time to all attack at once, charging a collective beam together. And he'll stand perfectly still for it. They can't believe his arrogance. But they need to take this opportunity. The Kais even join in too. And everyone bands together, with Vegeta commanding them. They are a bit concerned because by destroying Buu, they're going to be destroying Goku and Piccolo in the process. But Vegeta says it's fine. They'll use Namek Dragon Balls to bring everybody back. Earth's Dragon Balls were used to restore Namek after all, and they should be thriving with a new set of Dragon Balls by now. They still don't know how to feel about it though, especially Gohan. They're going to have to kill Goku and Piccolo. But that's if they even can defeat Buu. The collective beam is charged. And at once, everyone fires, with all the beams swirling together into one massive attack. And just as Buu said, he stands there, completely motionless. He doesn't even try to defend against it. The beam hits him directly, and he does feel the pain from it. It's a powerful attack, but it's barely enough to injure him. And the few injuries that it does cause, well, they're just healed instantly. Buu thanks them for that. Now they should realize how screwed they are. That collective attack couldn't do anything against him. And now is them at their full power, all attacking at once. So how do they expect to harm him otherwise? No one has ascended Super Saiyan 2, but everyone has grown more powerful. But even with that, it doesn't mean they're going to do anything against Buu. This is a Buu who's far stronger than normal, who now has Goku and Piccolo's powers as well. And surprisingly enough, the next one to step up is Beerus. He tells everyone he'll hold Buu off, at least distracting him for a bit. And they know he's powerful, but what is he going to do against Buu, especially alone? They're concerned he'll be killed, but Beerus says it's fine. He won't die here. He knows it. And Buu honestly laughs at the idea. Alright, fine. If this guy wants to work as a distraction, sure, he could do that. And Beerus tells him for this to work, everyone needs to just channel their energy into one fighter, allowing that person to attack. That could exponentially boost their strength probably. He's not even too sure if it'll work, but it's probably their best bet. They decide that Gohan's going to be the catalyst. He's the strongest Saiyan right now, and the strongest one in the group remaining too. If he uses their power combined, well, maybe that could work. Giving him one strong attack, with everyone's energy channeled into him, that could actually work. It's the last thing they could try, otherwise they're going to be truly defeated by Buu. He honestly thinks of it like the technique that Goku mentioned, the Spirit Bomb. He doesn't know how to do the Spirit Bomb, but maybe this is a similar principle, and even better, he could probably try and have it only target Buu's energy, seeing if he can maybe spare Goku and Piccolo within there. Goku actually did show him a smaller Spirit Bomb before. He's never really had to utilize the attack, but he has shown Gohan in practice. Gohan's not going to know how to do an actual Spirit Bomb, but he could use similar principles, trying to have it at least just target that evil energy. So even if this isn't a traditional Spirit Bomb, it's going to try and work like one. Even if it won't be the actual Spirit Bomb, it's their best bet. Beerus jumps in to fight Buu. His attacks don't do much damage, but whenever Buu swings at him, Beerus easily dodges, which surprises Buu. He shouldn't be that quick. None of his attacks are working on him. Beerus doesn't defend much, and his attacks don't really do anything either. He's just dodging all of Buu's attacks somehow, and Buu can't believe it. How is that even possible? He even tries to absorb Beerus at one point, but he's too quick to do it. If Beerus uses full strength here, he could easily defeat Buu, but he can't do that, otherwise he'll be erased. but there's nothing against him just dodging attacks. All the other angels are able to do it, so he can too. Buu questions who this guy is. He's definitely no normal mortal. Something is strange about him, and that's exactly why Buu wants his power and his speed. Meanwhile, Gohan's trying to charge an attack. Everyone starts to lend energy to him, and Gohan says he thinks it's working. He can feel a ton of energy flowing through him. Right now it's just Kappa, Caulifla, and Vegeta lending energy to him, as well as the Kais. But Goten and Trunks are there. They still really do want to help, and they have no clue of what else to do here. So they join in, lending what little energy they have to Gohan. It's really the only thing they could do here. And once they join in, Gohan feels a very weird sensation. Before he felt a lot of power flowing through him, but now there's a different surge of energy. The Kais then look visibly confused. Shin has Fu off, he could sense that, and both are astounded. A mysterious glow surrounds Gohan, and he then rises up in the air. He's not doing it willingly either, he doesn't know what's going on. They ask the Kais what's happening. They apparently sense something strange, and Fu-Ah turns to the rest of them. For some reason, he can't really explain why, but he sensed godly energy flowing through Gohan. It's a type of ki that they're not going to be able to sense, but the Kais can, as well as any other godly beings. But that doesn't make sense to him. Gohan shouldn't have that kind of ki. Gohan floats back down to the ground, with that glow around him disappearing. Gohan feels immensely powerful, and it's not the type of power that he's used to, but he doesn't know why. He tries to create a sphere of energy in his hand, channeling all that power into it. This must be the Spirit Bomb. Maybe that's why he feels strange. He's never successfully made one, so he assumes maybe that's what this is. And he turns to the group. He thinks he's ready, and surprisingly this is very easy to control. But as he looks at them, they all look visibly terrified. They can't sense anything, and Gohan's changed. He doesn't even realize it either. Why are they all looking at him like that? Buu continuously tries to absorb Beerus, but nothing's working. And the two of them are suddenly distracted during battle, both looking over to where Gohan is. Buu senses a weird spike in power, and there's no doubt about it. This is some sort of godly ki. This isn't any mortal ki. But then he sees Beerus notice it too. Why could he sense godly ki? How does he know about that? And where is that godly ki even coming from? He demands to know who Beerus is, asking what's going on here. He's not immortal. He's a god in disguise. That has to be it. And Buu sees an intense red glow nearby, as Gohan walks through the flames produced by his aura. And Buu is mortified. This power, this is not the power of a normal Saiyan. It feels nothing like what he sensed before from the rest of them. And from when he absorbed Goku, he knows that there's no other Saiyan form like this. He stumbles back in fear, as Gohan calmly walks closer. He's not too sure what happened, but he can tell he's transformed. And as he gets closer to Buu, Buu tries to launch an attack at him. A full power blast. The rest of the group jumps for cover, but Gohan simply sticks one hand out, not just blocking the blast, but grabbing it, controlling it for himself, and then simply flinging it right back at Buu. Beerus dodges it instantly, and Buu's hit by his own attack. The cloud of smoke is thrown up, and Gohan's disappeared. Where'd he go? And Gohan taps on his shoulder. Buu quickly swings around with a powerful punch, but Gohan grabs his fist. Buu throws another punch. Gohan grabs that fist too. The two start wrestling, but Gohan's not putting in much effort. He simply headbutts Buu, and charges a strange ball of energy in his hand. He's not even concerned about Buu anymore. He's more so concerned about accidentally killing Goku or Piccolo. And Buu can't believe how much has changed. There has to be some other way around this. He separated a piece of himself too behind Gohan, and he hasn't noticed yet. And Buu creeps that piece of him up Gohan's leg. But Gohan actually did notice, and it's instantly incinerated by Gohan's aura. He doesn't even look behind him. He thanks Buu. Without him, he wouldn't have awakened this power. He still has no clue what it is, but he will find out one day. He crushes that ball of energy in his hands, and simply walks up to Buu, and then walks right past him, placing his hand on Buu's shoulder. He truly is an amazing fighter, but Gohan can't let him live any longer. Gohan calmly walks back to the group. Buu turns around once more, trying to launch in at Gohan, directly landing a powerful punch, but it does nothing, and Buu's fist starts disintegrating. He looks at his other arm, and that starts disintegrating too. An intense glow surrounds him as Gohan continues walking back towards the group. Buu screams in pain as he slowly disintegrates. That evil presence disappears, and there's a powerful explosion, with nothing left behind but an unconscious Goku and Piccolo. The two Kais within Buu are also left behind, as Gohan's attack only destroyed the evil within Buu. They're unconscious for now, but the other Kais run up to them immediately. And Beerus watches on in disbelief. How did that mortal get a godly power like that? Gohan powers down, still unsure of what even happened there. Shin might actually have an idea of what went on here. The gods have been trying to take their jobs a lot more seriously, which means they're trying to get a lot more knowledge on the universe around them. One of the greatest places to go for that knowledge is Planet Namek. They've apparently kept a book of legends with a lot of info in there, and Shin has read it before, and he remembers one time seeing some legend about a Saiyan, a righteous Saiyan with the power of the other Saiyans around him, who extended his limits, becoming something called a Super Saiyan God or something like that. The other three Saiyans perk up when hearing this. A Super Saiyan God? That's not a thing. They only know of regular Super Saiyans, and they're surprised they didn't hear about it from Piccolo before. He should have a lot of the Namekian's knowledge. Shin says he probably didn't have the knowledge of that entire book, while these two Kais, they actually do. They just didn't know what the ritual is like, and it didn't even occur to them to try that. But now it jogs their memory. That explains why Gohan got that godly ki. He became a Super Saiyan God. And Gohan thanks the Kais for their help and their knowledge. Without them, they would have been doomed. but the Kais thank him instead, as well as the rest of the group. Goku and Piccolo regain consciousness, wondering what happened, but it seems everything's okay. Although Gohan does want to know one thing, he walks up to Beerus and pulls him aside. He wants to know who he really is. He saw him who's fighting Buu, and Gohan could tell Beerus could sense his energy. And Piccolo's eavesdropping once more because he wants to know too. He still remembers the conversation from before he was absorbed, but surprisingly, Beerus actually does reveal his identity to Gohan. And he looks over to Piccolo too, knowing he's listening, but he trusts Piccolo with this info. Beerus explains that he's a god beyond even the Supreme Kais. Well, he's a trainee, but he is an immortal. He's an angel in disguise. He wasn't able to use his full powers, but he could at least defend himself by dodging. He tells Gohan he could have actually eliminated Buu easily, although he's not allowed to use his godly powers, only his regular mortal powers. He actually offers to train Gohan. With those new godly powers, he probably needs someone to show him the way of how to use them. There's a lot more Gohan should know about Beerus, and a lot more that he wants to know about Gohan. These mortals are really fascinating. And it makes him wonder too, how strong could they truly grow? If this one became a god, what's next for him? And what's possible for the others as well? Gohan doesn't know what to think, but he actually does accept it. He wants to learn more about this too, just because this power is actually kind of scary, and if he knows more about it, then it could put him more at ease. It's so crazy too because he was just trying to make a spirit bomb, and he accidentally became a god. And it makes Beerus wonder too, what's his brother going to think about this? Because he probably has sensed this too. He'll probably know that some new god has risen up. And more importantly, besides his brother, he wonders what the god of destruction of this universe will think too, Beerus. He might have sensed it, or he'll hear from the Kais. Although, he thinks Beerus is still asleep, but isn't too sure. But little does he know, far away on Beerus' planet, Beerus is actually awake. He is a bit groggy though, because he woke up a few years earlier than normal. He was told the Super Saiyan God would arise on this day. He did sense the jolt of energy somewhere near Earth. A godly key that he's never sensed before in this universe. Of course, it pales in comparison to his, but there's no doubt about it. It was some sort of godly key, from some mortal no less. And he does consider going to Earth now, but, you know, that could wait. He'll sleep in a little longer. Whis is a bit annoyed because he set those alarms for a reason, but next time he'll make sure Beerus actually stays awake. But he decides to look into it too, and actually contacts Beerus, finding out about the Super Saiyan God. And he tells Beerus, make sure he keeps a close eye on the Super Saiyan God. Beerus is going to want to see him soon. Thankfully enough, he was already going to do that anyways. The Kais return to their planet, glad that this threat was avoided. But someone's there waiting for them. It's Champa. He senses strange energy coming from Earth. It was almost like some new godly key rose up. And he hears what happened, and he is a bit interested, but honestly doesn't care that much. He knows Beerus was blabbering on about that a while ago. He guesses he'll see that Super Saiyan God eventually, but he doesn't really care to fight him or become a rival with him or whatever. What he's mainly interested in is the food on Earth. Beerus could have that Super Saiyan God. Maybe that'll distract Beerus from all the food on Earth. That's gonna go all to Champa, and he's gonna get all the good eats before Beerus does. And the Kais aren't too surprised. Even with all the crazy stuff that's happened in this megaverse, these two gods of destruction still act pretty much the same. At least one of them is actually awake though. Slightly unimportant side note because I know somebody will ask, Champa has his own planet still. Beerus does not live at Champa. But all the Kais, including the ones that just were recently freed from Buu, they're all in the same sacred world from Universe 7. At least they could live together peacefully, unlike Beerus and Champa. Back on Earth, some pretty strange things happen. They want to try the ritual again, and they never actually ask the Kais how to do it. They just know some group of Saiyans has to channel their energy into another Saiyan. And after some trial and error, they're eventually able to get it done on Cabba and Cauliflower. They're the next two to get the Super Saiyan God form. Vegeta actually wanted to wait and work for the Super Saiyan God form, but in order to keep up, it seems like this is the only way to actually get there. So reluctantly, he does the ritual as well, with Goku following suit. They were hoping to get it in a more fulfilling way, but they kind of cave in. Cabba and Cauliflower though, they don't care. Cauliflower just wants to be the strongest thing ever. And Cabba just needs to kind of keep her in check. The two Saiyan Saiyans actually look a little bit different in the Super Saiyan God form. I just now realized after this whole time recording this series, the term Saiyan Saiyan is almost my username, which is just a coincidence. That's not actually the origin of my name. Little fun fact aside, Goten and Trunks actually wants to form next, but Goku and Vegeta agree that they can't turn their 7-year-old kids into literal gods. That's gonna be kind of irresponsible, especially when they don't really know much about the power themselves or how to really control it fully. Which kind of bums Goten and Trunks out. Beerus actually has started to train everyone in the Galactic Patrol, wondering which of these Super Saiyan gods is the best. He actually now has some jurisdiction over Earth too. And Jocko wonders what the hell he did on Earth to cause this to happen. Beerus said he actually did nothing, they just found this themselves. And Jocko can't tell what's going on, but it's terrifying to see all these Saiyans with this great power. A power that's so amazing he can't even sense it. All the other Saiyans still don't know Beerus' real identity, but Gohan actually does, as well as Piccolo who joins them in the training. Little do they know, they have a really good teacher training them right now. Although he can't really do too much with them yet because otherwise it's going to easily give up his identity. So at some point they move on from training with him, not knowing the full extent of his power, although Piccolo and Gohan still train with him. With Piccolo fully confronting Beerus, and Piccolo knows that Beerus knows that Piccolo knows. Wow, that's confusing, but essentially, Beerus knows that Piccolo knows he's an angel. And he has no qualms about training Piccolo either. He did want to see more of those Super Saiyan gods, but Gohan's enough. He still is the strongest Saiyan at the group. But it will be interesting to see the other two, the two Vegetan Saiyans and the two Saiyan Saiyans. Gohan's a unique case. He's half Earthling, half Vegetan Saiyan. And he wonders if the other types of Saiyans will go down different paths. He doesn't know how Goku and Vegeta will perform, or how Kappa and Caulifla will perform. Everyone may have their own different forms ahead. And as these two stick with Beerus eventually does come to Earth, waking up a few months later, wanting to finally find the Super Saiyan God. And he gets more than he bargains for because he sees 4 of them. And there is another one who occasionally goes with the Galactic Patrol, but is also more so focused on his school life because Gohan's still a teenager. Wow, aren't they terrified to have a god here that's so young? Actually, no, because they're all gods too. And they know Gohan's pure-hearted. And not only is Beerus surprised to hear that that's the first Super Saiyan God, but he's more so surprised to see that there's so many other ones here. Piccolo and Gohan eventually show up too, having heard about this god of destruction from Beerus. And they know Whis too, so that's an angel as well. And Beerus actually lets them know that that's his older brother. Not just a trainee like him, he's an actual full-on angel. And while Beerus is occupied with other Super Saiyan gods, Whis just silently looks over at the rest of them, smiling and nodding. Kinda terrifying Gohan and Piccolo. And it seems there's an interesting future ahead for this group. But thinking about this makes Beerus wonder. There's so many differences between all these Saiyans. It does make him wonder if there's any more out there, because there can't just be these ones that survive. And knowing how different the Saiyans and Vegetans are, he wonders if there ever were any Saiyans that were both of them combined actually. Like here they have some hybrid Saiyans on Earth, but they're all Vegetan. And knowing how powerful these hybrid Saiyans are, what about any other ones that could have existed? There's no way that there's any others out there, right? Well, that remains to be seen. Piccolo and Gohan continue their training with Beerus, who actually resides on Earth temporarily. It's now under his jurisdiction too. And it's great because this way they don't have to leave the planet. Beerus has no desire to take Piccolo with him, and as for Gohan, he'd rather just stay here anyways. The other Saiyans all go to Beerus' planet though. But let's focus on Piccolo and Gohan's training for a bit. With Beerus, this is actually really helpful because Gohan can tap more into his Super Saiyan God form, and Piccolo gains his own godly abilities. Beerus can tell that Piccolo has some insane hidden potential locked away, especially with him being the fusion of, well, basically an entire planet almost. And once he gets access to Godly Ki, he might be able to become one of the strongest in the group again, if not the strongest. He got surpassed because everybody got Super Saiyan God. But seeing a Namekian with those godly powers could be interesting, especially if he might be able to get something for himself, his own new form perhaps. Beerus thinks the power of every Namekian within him can boost him to insane levels. One thing does stick in Piccolo's mind during this training. With the whole idea of the Megaverse thing being confirmed with him, he wonders what else that's changed in the universe. Like he knows the history of Namek, and a little bit about the Saiyans and what makes them different. But there must have been some pretty substantial changes too, and they also haven't met the other God of Destruction yet. They know there's 2 Kais and they met one God of Destruction, but Champa hasn't shown himself here. Piccolo and Gohan expect some big arrival and think that maybe they're gonna have to fight him when he comes here, but Champa actually doesn't cause any issues. He comes to Earth eventually, and asks them for one thing. He wants them to show him where the best places for food are. Piccolo doesn't eat food though, but as for Gohan, he at least can help Champa out, and Champa takes a liking to Gohan. Let's go back out into space for a bit, going over to where Hit and Granolah are. They've actually started working together, and have grown a lot stronger in the process. As mentioned before, Granolah's wish actually gave him a lot of Hit's abilities, including stuff like pure progress, allowing him to grow just as quickly as Hit. He actually prefers this method of growing stronger. Thankfully, he barely lost any time of his lifespan, and now he's actually growing through hard work. But what are they actually up to? They actually have a common goal right now, and it kinda plays into Granolah's revenge, but in a better way. Frieza and Frost's army both exist out there, and they've both been trying to revive their respective leaders. The thing is, they probably would have been successful. We probably could have seen Frost or Frieza come back. But it's not going to happen because these two are actively trying to stop those armies. First of all, one of the planets with Dragon Balls is Planet Cereal, and of course Granolah's going to do everything he can to defend it. And that's even if they find out that Dragon Balls are there. Of course they know about Namek and Earth too, and Granolah and Hit stop those forces pretty easily. This is basically what they've been doing most of the time. They also take jobs for stopping the Frieza Force too, because some of them are still out there causing problems, even though there's barely any of them out there. Same with the Frost Corps. It's great, they earn money, they grow stronger, Granolah gets to satisfy his revenge against the Frieza Force, and Hit gets to keep the Frost Corps off of him, since they kinda hate him now. And Hit still does take a bunch of jobs on his own here and there, while Granolah spends a lot of free time just chilling on cereal. The Frieza Force is still growing somehow, and at one point, Hit and Granolah tail one of their ships in space, trying to see where they're headed. Maybe there's a base somewhere that they don't know about. Maybe they're about to stop an attack on another planet. They won't know for sure until they get to whatever location they're going to. But the Frieza Force is just drifting aimlessly out in space, at least this ship is. Little do Granolah and Hit know, they're actually looking for strong powers to recruit people for their army, specifically to counter Hit and Granolah. And they end up arriving on some strange planetoid, with Granolah and Hit following close behind. The Frieza Force soldiers descend on the planet after detecting a strong power, excited to see what they might have found. But before they can do anything on the planet, Granolah and Hit descend down. Hit skips time and immediately appears in front of them, while Granolah is far away, also using time skip to covertly snipe people. Their teamwork is deadly, but they simply just knock everyone unconscious now because they want to get some info later on. Although they do leave one soldier awake, and that soldier's terrified to see Hit in front of him, so he spills the beans. So they didn't even know what this planet was. They're actually trying to recruit people. That actually makes a lot of sense. But what power did they detect here? They can't sense anything. It's not like there's Dragon Balls here either, and this planet is pretty worthless, so it's not like they're going to try to take it over. Could this planet be a trap, or were they actually here to find somebody? But nearby, Granolah hears someone yell out at him, and then he senses two strong powers approaching behind that guy. Granolah turns around, and not too far away, Oatmeal is able to pick something out. Granolah lifts Oatmeal off his eye to get a better look. And briefly, he's stunned in place from shock at what he's seeing, and he reacts quickly, activating Time Skip. Hit wonders why he's activating it. He skipped a full second ahead, just to get the jump on some people, and then he calls Hit over. Hit's also surprised at what he sees. Granolah instinctively reacted and tried to knock these people out, thinking that they might be threats, because right at first glance, he could tell that these three were clearly Saiyans. An older one with a tail, and then two younger ones, a guy and a girl, both without tails. Hit then pulls out a communication device, trying to contact Kaba because he does have his contact now with the Galactic Patrol. Someone else picks up though. It's Beerus. Kaba isn't available at the moment. Hit says when Kaba's available, he should bring some of the Saiyans over. Specifically just the Saiyans on Earth. Beerus says he can come there too. All the Saiyans are gone right now and he can't really contact them, but he can bring Gohan and Piccolo along with him. You know what? Hit says that's good enough. He knows Piccolo's pretty powerful, and so is Gohan. And Gohan is one of the Saiyans, so maybe he could do something about this. Granolah and Hit wait around, with the three Saiyans still being unconscious. Well, maybe Granolah shouldn't have attacked right away. They actually go out into space for a bit too, not sure of when they'll wake up, and not sure of when Beerus will arrive. They orbit around Vampa until then, with Granolah monitoring the situation from up above, being able to see all the way down to the planet even from beyond it. The three Saiyans eventually wake up, looking confused, and Granolah is still unsure of what to do. But eventually Beerus arrives with Gohan and Piccolo, and their ships connect. Gohan and Piccolo think this is pretty awesome. Obviously they were at Namek before, but space travel is just cool in general. So why were they called over here? Granolah explains the situation, and they can't believe what they're hearing. And Beerus is a bit concerned too. There's more Saiyans out here? Are they Vegetan or are they Sadalan? Honestly, Granolah couldn't tell. He thought they were Vegetan, since they all seem to have tails at one point. But he wonders why the other two don't have their tails. And he honestly kind of panicked when he saw them. So they all drop back down on the planet together. First with Granolah and Hit encountering the other Saiyans. Gohan and Piccolo stay behind, just listening in, with Beerus also doing some talking too. And once he gets a better look at them, he can immediately tell what's going on. They learn the names of these Saiyans, Paragus, Broly, and Kale. But Broly and Kale are the interesting ones. Paragus is just a Vegetan Saiyan, one of the ones that's purely from Universe 7. But those two, they did have tails at one point and they were forcibly removed. But from what Beerus can tell, they're hybrids. The kind that he was theorizing about, the potentially Universe 7, Universe 6 hybrids. And it makes him wonder why their tails are gone. He could tell just by looking at them too. They might have some crazy power locked away. Paragus is honestly pretty confused here. He remembers seeing Granolah before, but then he disappeared. All of them just suddenly collapsed. Oh, yeah, Granolah's got to explain that. Well, he says the Frieza Force showed up and they were all knocked unconscious. But they took care of the Frieza Force. Hit side-eyes Granolah, but he couldn't really come up with a better lie. He completely forgot that he'd probably have to explain that. And Beerus asks some more questions, and they find out that, yeah, Broly and Kale are actually rare Universe 6 and 7 hybrids. They're pure Saiyans, but hybrid in the sense that they're from different universes. Paragus is a Vegetan Saiyan, and their mother was a Sadalan Saiyan. King Vegeta had them sent away long ago, fearing their explosive latent power. Many other hybrid Saiyans did exist like that, but most died when Frieza killed the Saiyans and never got to reach their full potential. It was actually known among some of the Saiyans that some of the tail and tailless hybrids could be like that. Most were average Saiyans that just blended in with society. They were all born with a tail, and they acted mostly like Vegetan ones. But there was always this theory going around that maybe a hybrid Saiyan like that could be incredibly strong. Just like the theory behind how Gohan is so strong, as a hybrid between Earthlings and Saiyans. Frieza actually feared some of these Saiyans, although they don't know for sure, but that is part of the reason why he destroyed Planet Vegeta here. Paragus is pretty shocked to hear that some of the other Saiyans exist, including Vegeta, the prince, but he holds his tongue for now. They need to get off this planet first, and then once they find Vegeta, they can kill him. And they think that these three Saiyans might be allies, so they bring Gohan and Piccolo off the ship too, and Paragus sees another Saiyan in front of them. That one's apparently a hybrid too, although not a hybrid between Saiyans, a hybrid between Saiyans and Earthlings. And then there's a Namekian here for some reason, but Paragus is just buying some time for now. But seeing another Saiyan here actually infuriates him. And you know, there's two spaceships nearby. He could just steal one of them. If he just kills everybody here, he could steal the ship and find Vegeta somehow. He just confirms where Vegeta is and they say he lives on Earth, which is where they came from. That's all Paragus needs to know. He then turns to Kale and Broly and commands them to attack, confusing everyone there. Granolah and Hit are about to counter, but they actually go for Gohan and Piccolo instead. And honestly, they're not too concerned. It's just two Saiyans versus Gohan and Piccolo who are incredibly powerful. It's not going to be that big of a deal. But Beerus actually is a bit concerned. If the potential of these two Saiyans are actually that high, this is really an issue. Gohan and Piccolo are confused as to why they're even fighting, but whatever, they can't do anything against it. Immediately, Kale and Broly show off a lot of power, and they're just in base right now. It actually kind of throws Gohan off guard. He goes into Super Saiyan right away, but that basically just evens the odds, while Piccolo shows his full power in base. Paragus is briefly shocked to see a Super Saiyan, but Kale's fighting Gohan right now and she's actually overpowering him, while Broly's fighting Piccolo and overpowering him. But amidst the fight, just like he feared, something snaps within them. An intense green aura surrounds them. They significantly bulk up too. At first it's just a simple wrathful form, but they're powering up rapidly. This is something that Paragus has actually seen before firsthand, and this is why he wasn't so scared of the Super Saiyan. He's actually seen the two of them transform before, and the only reason he's still alive today is because they actually fought each other. His children are equal in power, and while they did go berserk at one point, they stopped each other. Had it only just been one of them, he would have died here and this planet would have been gone. But he wonders how they're going to perform in battle here. Although, he is a bit concerned. Once they kill all these people, will they be able to nullify each other's power like last time? Only time will tell. Gohan immediately powers up into Super Saiyan God, while Piccolo wrestles Broly, and has a strange aura surrounding him too. Hit and Granolah are about to jump in, but then note that something's changing with Piccolo's power. And you know, Beerus is rethinking this. It might be a good test for everybody here, especially because Piccolo's never gotten to use this in a real fight. Broly has grown a bit in size in his wrathful form, but then Piccolo starts growing too. And it's not just him going into his giant form, it's him just growing physically from a real transformation. A fiery aura surrounds him, creeping up his legs and then eventually his entire body. Broly is overpowering him at first, but then Piccolo overpowers Broly, headbutting him through the flames of his aura, with the aura dissipating around him. Piccolo stands there, larger, looking far more intimidating, and most notably, orange. He looks to Gohan and tells him not to hold back. This is definitely gonna get dangerous. Kale and Broly fully power up, with their hair then changing too. They change in size, and it almost looks like they're growing Super Saiyan, but something's different about it. They look completely berserk, and most notably, their hair is green instead of the normal golden yellow color. And Paragus is glad to see this once again. And now his plan is escape. They'll kill everybody here, and then he'll guide Kale and Broly into fighting each other. They'll knock each other unconscious, Paragus will be safe, and then he'll bring them to Earth. It's good to kill everyone here because he doesn't want Vegeta knowing that there's more Saiyans coming. Piccolo tells Gohan they should swap opponents. He wants to see how Gohan performs against Broly now. Hit jumps in alongside Piccolo, with Granolah alongside Gohan. And Gohan asks Granolah. He can see different vital points in them, right? And Granolah said he's been looking, but their vital points are constantly changing. He's gonna test something though. He briefly time skips, trying to hit Broly in one of his vital points, just to see how effective it is, because maybe they could just take them out by hitting them there. But there's kind of an issue with this. While Granolah is strong, he's still pretty far behind Broly. And not to mention, Broly just seems completely unfazed by it in general, which is weird. These forms that they're using are actually exclusive to them, due to them being a mix of Sadalin and Vegetan Saiyans. For the sake of this what if, we'll refer to this form just as their Berserk form, and for both of them it's going to function just like Kale's did. But also we're taking elements from Broly here because they started in their Wrathful state, and they completely skipped the regular Super Saiyan stage as well. I know I am going off on kind of a tangent, but I know people will have questions about this. So let's outline it here. These two do not have Super Saiyan forms. They have access to Wrathful, but not consciously. And then with their full power they transform into this Berserk state. But I mean, call it Super Saiyan full power or legendary if you want, really makes no difference. Point is, they're Berserk, and they're really strong. Their power's constantly growing, and their power's maximum. Working together actually really does help though. Gohan and Super Saiyan God is obviously going to be really strong, and as for Piccolo, he's using the orange form but also with Godly Ki. The other Saiyans don't know it because they're all with Beerus, but Piccolo's actually surpassed them by now. He's even above Gohan. He unlocked the orange form in a different way. He got it through training, he never got that power awakened state, and he went right into this basically. It wasn't granted to him by Shenron like normal. It's the culmination of all his power as a fusion of Namek, summoning the power of the Dragon Clan and the Warrior Clan inside of him. If this were a one-on-one, he could easily beat either of them. But the issue is they've already grown in battle, and every time they're attacked they grow stronger. Piccolo doesn't realize that he should knock them down as quickly as possible, but eventually he decides that's probably the best course of action. They just need an opening to attack together. For Gohan it's a little tougher, and for Piccolo since they're facing two of them it's also tough. But Granolah and Hit have an idea. They've worked together for so long that now they have new ways to utilize their power. Hit then tells Piccolo to hold his hand. What? Hold his hand? Why? Why now? And Granolah tells Gohan the same thing. What are they doing? Why are they holding hands? And Hit explains. They've worked on their ability and can now control time way better than before. Their attacks personally won't do anything against Broly and Kale, but Gohan and Piccolo actually can do something. And if all they need is an opening, Granolah and Hit can create that. They can actually make Gohan and Piccolo time skip with them. They have a much better control on time skip too. They can do it for up to 2 seconds now, and bring people along with them. So even though Piccolo and Gohan can't personally use time skip, teaming up with these two actually allows them to do so. But in those 2 seconds they need to act quick. They're brought into the time skip. Quickly, Granolah marks all their vital points, shooting at them, and with all their strength and speed, Piccolo and Gohan attack both Kale and Broly at once. On the outside, Paragus has no clue of what's happening, but Beerus is actually conscious throughout all of it, with Granolah and Hit not even knowing that he's watching. And after those 2 seconds are up, Broly and Kale just suddenly collapse in front of Paragus. What happened? They were doing so well just a second ago. Paragus is apprehended by Beerus. They're not actually arresting him, they just want him to calm down for now. To be fair, they've been here alone for decades, so maybe they just went a little crazy. Hit asks Gohan if he's ever seen that form before. He is a Saiyan after all, so he should know about that, but Gohan has no clue of what that was. He's a hybrid Saiyan too, but not like them. His own rage does make him grow stronger, but he's never accessed a power like that, and never gone fully berserk like them either. Are all hybrids prone to this? Or is it just those type of hybrids? And that form they showed? What even is that? Gohan's actually a bit curious, and they all wonder what to do next. Gohan does feel a little bit wrong about just leaving them here too, and they're obviously not going to kill them. That's pretty much off the table for Gohan. He knows how those two seemed pretty gentle before. Kale and Broly were pretty reserved until Paragus told them to attack. So maybe they could bring them back with them and see if they can control that power somehow. Piccolo's a little bit unsure about this, but Beerus actually thinks it's a great idea. Also because he kind of wants to learn about these Saiyans too, being hybrids between Universe 6 and 7 after all. He knows that it's kind of similar to Piccolo's case. Piccolo is basically a hybrid between Universe 6 and 7 Namekians as well, and that explains his insane potential now. At least partially. Who knows what lies ahead for them? Meanwhile on Beerus' planet, all the Saiyans are still training together obviously, completely unaware of what's happening with the other Saiyans. They even get Super Saiyan Blue at some point pretty quickly too. And of course, Champa also visits at some point as well, interested to see what's going on. By now, they all know of the universal merge, and they know that there's another god of destruction and everything, so this isn't too big of a surprise. But amongst themselves, the Saiyans are curious. They wonder if either Saiyan is inherently advantaged. The Sadalans grow quicker, but Goku and Vegeta are prodigies in their own right, so they grow pretty quickly as well, even as Vegetan Saiyans. Kappa and Goku are actually ahead of the other two due to having more S cells from their peaceful lives, which they don't even realize, while Caulifla's keeping up because she's a Sadalan, and Vegeta's just a prodigy in general. They're all pretty much on the same level, and wonder where their training will take them next. Following the encounter on Vampa, Hate and Granolah go back off on their own, doing freelance work and such like normal. This was an interesting experience and a great test of their new powers, and they're also surprised to see how much Piccolo and Gohan have grown. It's especially surprising to Hit because he knew that Piccolo was the strongest at some point, but he'd more so been focused on Goku. Maybe he needs to keep an eye on the others too. As for Broly and Kale, they end up coming with the Galactic Patrol. Piccolo and Gohan are going to try and tame their power. As for Paragus, he'll be there too, but mainly be under watch. He's not going to be arrested or anything. They just gotta try and cool him down. But Gohan and Piccolo see great potential in Broly and Kale's power, wondering what could be done for the two of them for them to train. These two are actually not brutal Saiyans. They just have uncontrollable anger, and that kinda does make them brutal, but not consciously of course. Piccolo can see that Paragus probably misled them somehow and controlled them all their life basically. And maybe with some proper teaching they could actually grow from that. Gohan offers to train them too. Besides, he had to overcome his own anger and try and control that too, try and harnessing that power and such. He's already kind of been through this and wonders if he could help them with the same sort of experience. A few months pass and eventually the other Saiyans do return to Earth. By now they of course all have Super Saiyan Blue, and Beerus is pretty pleased with their growth. But he does want to see what's been going on here as well, mainly coming here because he wants to get some more food. He figured out that Champa's been coming here for visits once in a while, so Beerus wants to make sure he's not taking all the food for himself or gatekeeping anything. Kappa asks if he's really worried about that, but Beerus says he's never seen a god of destruction eat. Champa's very defensive over his food, and so is Beerus. And Beerus wants to make sure he's truly experiencing everything Earth can offer. But all the Saiyans are looking forward to continue growing in the realm of gods, wondering what new heights they could ascend to next. Goku and Kappa follow Whis' training a lot more closely than Vegeta and Caulifla do, with Whis trying to teach them something like moving automatically, whatever that is. One thing to note here is that while Kappa and Caulifla have greater potential than Goku and Vegeta, it's not significant enough to make a difference because Goku and Vegeta are prodigies in their own right here still. And their potential isn't going to be as overpowered here either. If they grew as quickly as they did in the main story, we'd be having a much different discussion right now. Goku and Vegeta are also more experienced fighters. This keeps them all around a similar strength. I would say Kappa is the strongest of the group though because he has a nice experience with martial arts, maybe not to the level of Goku but more so than Vegeta and Caulifla, and he has that great Sadalan Saiyan potential working for him as well. But even though he's the strongest, it's not really by much, all of them are still pretty similar in terms of power. They each have their own advantages working for themselves. And once they're back on Earth, they learn some new Saiyans have been found, which is amazing because they weren't aware that any other Saiyans were out there. Even stranger is the fact that they're pure hybrids, Sadalan and Vegetan. Gohan and Piccolo say they are pretty strong, but they don't really want them fighting right now because they can't really control their power. Goku says it can't be that bad, but Gohan says he promises it is that bad. And from what Vegeta's hearing, he wonders if that means they're legendary Super Saiyans or something like that. The two of them are pretty shy and don't talk much. Caulifla kind of takes a liking to Kale though, while Vegeta and Goku are interested in seeing more of Broly's power. But after hearing about their power, Kappa's really not too sure about either of them though, especially being with the Galactic Patrol. That could cause some issues. They're not actually working with the Galactic Patrol though, just basically training there. Gohan, Piccolo, and Beerus have been keeping an eye on them. And it has been a few months since this all happened, so they have grown a little bit. But they still don't really have too much of a control on their power. And that makes Vegeta think a little bit more about it. Maybe they are actually legendary Super Saiyans, and their unique DNA explains why they are that way, especially being fraternal twins, which is also pretty rare among Saiyans. They're fraternal twins, and they're pure Saiyan hybrids. They probably are the only of their kind to ever exist. But for now, they're still going to remain with the patrol, with Beerus basically keeping a watch over them. They live on Earth, but they're basically under his jurisdiction. Same for Paragus too, because they really want to keep a close eye on him. But it hasn't been just that. This entire time, Gohan and Piccolo have been training with Beerus as well again. And they've made use of something pretty interesting with the Galactic Patrol. They have some room you can go in where you could train for 3 days in 1 day. Of course, it's not as crazy as Earth's time chamber. But still, it's obviously a very efficient way to train. And now with all that under their belt, Gohan and Piccolo do want to see what the other Saiyans have been up to. Goku decides he's going to go first and show it off, and then the others tell him to wait as they all transform as well, trying to be the first one to show off this power. All of them stand there in Super Saiyan Blue. And Gohan's pretty intrigued. He never actually got that since he was working towards something else with Merus. And he chuckles and tells them it's a secret for now since he can't really maintain it too well at the moment. But maybe he'll show them some other time. For now, he's really just stuck with Super Saiyan God. And Goku says that's funny, he didn't really expect Merus to be that great of a teacher. By now, they actually do know his identity. Of course, he doesn't say this right to Merus, but he does think Whis would be better, because Whis is also trying to teach them something beyond Super Saiyan Blue. But Goku still isn't too sure of what it is. It's something about moving their body on instinct alone. Vegeta and Caulifla weren't really too interested in it, but Cabba and him are training for it. That's interesting for Gohan to hear. That actually sounds really familiar. And he's about to ask Goku more about it, but then Piccolo decides to show off his new form. The other Saiyans can't believe it either. It's been a pretty fun form showcase. Even though Gohan and Piccolo aren't getting the same training as them, it still seems like their training, and of course their latent potential, is still pretty effective here. It makes sense with Piccolo basically being the fusion of the entire planet of Namek. And they do wonder how that planet's doing. All the Namekians that died were revived, of course. Although the ones that were fused into Piccolo couldn't be separated, obviously. And Piccolo does hope to return someday. But during this meeting on Earth, Jaco then rushes out with Merus. And then a communicator that Cabba has starts beeping too. Jaco says he's glad that everyone's here too. The Galactic Patrol might need their help. And Cabba asks what's going on, but Merus explains. It's all regarding the Galactic Patrol's strongest prisoner. His cell has been destroyed, and horrifyingly enough, they see empty cells around it as well. Does that mean multiple people have broken out? Actually, no. Only that strong prisoner escaped. The empty cells around him, they had husk of the people that were in there before. They didn't escape. They were killed. Their power was drained. It's their strongest prisoner, Moro, that escaped. And he was trying to make it pretty quick. Thanks to Majin Buu's revival, he actually gained a good amount of magic back. Only temporarily though, but he sat on it, trying to build up a little bit more energy before his escape. And now was the time to do so. He worked quickly. Instead of breaking out into the vacuum of space, he broke into the prison, getting close enough to other cells around him so he could absorb their energy, taking some extra power alongside him. It's all thanks to the universal merge, especially with the Kais being freed from Buu. That allowed a little bit of his power to return, just enough for him to make this escape. And he's not even aware of what happened, but as he looks into it, he's eventually able to figure out what occurred. Interesting. It seems the two universes are one now. With all the extra power held by Buu and the Kais in this universal merge, Moro's seal was also stronger, and when it was broken, he gained a little bit of that residual energy. It had to go somewhere after all. This could make for a pretty interesting feast. While everyone on Earth hears the news from the Galactic Patrol, the Kais of course all gather together and figure out what to do here. This is a really big threat. The Kais from Universe 6 don't really like how Universe 7 is always causing the issues, but they have been made aware of this a while ago. They try and figure out what's going on too, and they theorize Moro somehow got stronger from the merge, not knowing it was indirectly caused by that thanks to Buu. The Grand Supreme Kai isn't sure how this happened. He didn't even realize that seal had been broken. And somehow even more energy returned to him when that seal was broken too. This definitely has to be a result of Buu's awakening. Buu was stronger after all by default too. All they know is now, they need to do whatever they can to stop him. Nobody knows, but right now, he's heading towards New Namek. He aims to eat the entire Megaverse and take all the power within it. The Kais will need the help of Beerus and Champa though. The Grand Supreme Kai is a little bit weaker than before thanks to Buu, and Moro is stronger, so his sealing alone won't work. Even if they combine all the Kai's power together, they're not sure if they'll gather enough in time. By now, Moro could have already grown exponentially stronger. Plus, Shin and Fuwa can't directly fight either anyways, because if they die, then the Gods of Destruction die, and surely Moro would probably know about that. That would only play into his plans. Beerus and Champa are contacted, and they think it's best to just erase him. Although at the same time, they don't think he's a big enough threat now to resort to that. They are more than confident in their power, so if he does grow stronger, then they could just definitely erase him by then. Also, Beerus thinks this is a good test for the other Saiyans, and he actually has an alternate solution with the Kais. Something that's equally permanent, but also will have more advantages, as opposed to simply Hakaiing him. And they're not even aware of it, but right now, the Saiyans are already on their way to Planet Namek. The Galactic Patrol already left before the gods started discussing it. They're not even aware that the Galactic Patrol is going right for them. They get all the Saiyans on Earth, as well as Piccolo obviously, and they even pick up hitting Granolah along the way. Merus is a bit concerned because they're bringing a lot of people there, and Moro could just steal all their power. But they might have a plan to try and stop him. Plus, they kind of are going to need that power because by now, Moro's already made it to New Namek. Without having Goku being able to use instant transmission, they get to Namek a little bit later, and by the time they arrive, Moro has already summoned the Dragon Balls there, gaining his youth back. Merus wonders why Beerus and Champa aren't involved. He gets why the Kais aren't here, but why are they not here too? They must have some other plan, because they could easily stop this, and they definitely are taking things more seriously recently because of everything with Zeno. Ever since the Megaversal merge, they wanted to do that. So he hopes they're taking this seriously too, but he's not too sure, knowing their history. At least having heard it from Whis and Vados. Everybody steps up the ship. Broly and Kale have actually come along too, but they watch from the inside, not involved in the fight. They wish they could have gotten here faster, but of course with no instant transmission, and without knowing where New Namek was, it did take a little bit longer even though they made haste. But it wasn't nearly quick enough. New Namek is already dead, a husk of its former self. They see energy emanating off the entire planet too. Moro's taking the last bits of it. And not just that, Galactic Patrol prisoners are showing up left and right. Cabba and Merus got word of this on the way there, and Cabba and Caulifla decide they're going to work to stop them. Goku and Vegeta did want to fight Moro at first, but Cabba warns against it. They shouldn't fight him. Their energy could give Moro a lot of power. He would prefer that these two help against the other prisoners. Goku's a bit bummed about it, but he understands. And Vegeta doesn't know what to think, but fine, he'll go along with it because Meirus is agreeing too. But he asks about the other four, and Meirus says he plans to have them fight Moro. Apparently they have some sort of plan. Gohan, Piccolo, Granolah, and Hit could actually work together against him. Everyone's still trying to clarify things about him. Caulifla's a bit surprised too because she knew about this prisoner but barely did any work at the Galactic Patrols, so she asks Cabba why he's such a big deal. And Cabba explains a little more. They don't know his exact goal. It might simply just be eating everything. But he's already briefed them on his abilities. For now, they'll just stop the prisoners, and Cabba hopes that the other group will be able to stop Moro while knowing his abilities. But apparently they have a way to work around it. Gohan's group flies across the planet, meeting Moro where he is right now. And Moro greets them. He doesn't know who they are, but welcomes them here. They're definitely not native to this planet, and he wonders why they're here, but he won't really question it. He assumes they're here to stop him, but he says it's far too late. But this is good because he has more snacks here now. They do seem powerful after all. Granolah's slate powers up and both his eyes turn red, as he tries to analyze every little bit of Moro. This is good. He might have found a place where he could strike him. He and Hit start out by attacking, actually catching Moro by surprise. Pretty quickly, he's able to tell that they're doing something with controlling time. He tries to take energy from them, but it's a little bit tough because they're just moving around without him being able to do anything. Their time skip by now is even greater, and pure progress has made them grow even stronger than before too. But now they've evolved their time control even beyond that. They've gained some pretty good new abilities, and not only could they just time skip now, they can actually stop time briefly. And this is really helpful for their attacks, especially with Granolah being able to locate vital points within Moro. This actually does injure him. He's amused. They're pretty smart, but he's growing stronger throughout the fight. He's still absorbing some energy left over from this planet, and he's going to take a little bit from them too. But Granolah says it doesn't matter. He and Hit together will be able to defeat him, especially with the help of Gohan and Piccolo. Piccolo decides they might need to pull out their trump card immediately. And Moro wonders what those two are capable of. What, are they going to control time as well? Actually, no. The two complete their power-up. Not much has changed physically, but their aura, it's pretty intense, and he can see their eyes. They've slightly changed color, and they have a dead gaze within them. They look completely emotionless. This is the result of their training with Meirus. This is Ultra Instinct Omen. They don't really have too much of good control on it now, but they could transform into it willingly, and here it might be good to fight Moro. And this group is actually the perfect counter for him. Granolah and Hit's ability to control time allows them to attack pretty effectively, also kind of working against Moro's magic. And of course, Gohan and Piccolo using Ultra Instinct Omen works the same way it did for Goku when he fought Moro using that form. Moro has been growing stronger throughout their fight and actually did take some energy from Granolah and Hit, but he also did take some damage thanks to the vital points being hit. But now he's losing, pretty badly in fact. The four of them are pretty much immune to Moro's magic now. Not actually immune, but he can't really do too much against them. And not just that, they work together too. Granolah and Hit take Gohan and Piccolo in a time skip, just like they were doing against Broly and Kale before. They're able to take them along when they're skipping time or stopping time. Although the time skipping doesn't really help much because Gohan and Piccolo are fast enough anyways to even outspeed them. Their time stop is actually a little bit more effective here. And meanwhile, the Super Saiyan Blues are actually doing pretty well against the prisoners. And Cabba's pretty happy. They're gonna get all these prisoners back to the prison, and he thinks that the others are gonna be able to defeat Moro. The prisoners are powerful because Moro did give them some energy, and thankfully right now he's too preoccupied to take their energy as well. They're making pretty good progress at defeating the prisoners, and it seems like a victory is assured here. They're gonna defeat Moro, and it's all gonna work out easily, but they do wonder what Gohan's group is up to right now. And Moro is actually losing ground, pretty quickly in fact. But all Moro needs is one opening. He just needs one small opening, and he knows how he could win here. And he gets that. He unleashes a bunch of energy around him, flinging everyone back. Gohan and Piccolo dodge easily, but Granolah and Hit, they're a little bit more vulnerable. And this is a great distraction. Moro uses this to then strike Granolah, piercing right through his chest. One time skipper down, and he takes all of Granolah's energy too while he's at it. He then flings up lava around all of them, but once the lava dissipates, he's gone. Granolah's just left there on the ground bleeding out. Moro's actually flying across the planet now to where the other prisoners are. He's mad at himself for getting too cocky there, but this will assure his victory. The Super Saiyan Blues continue fighting, but they're starting to feel weakened and start powering down. And all the remaining prisoners collapse as well, completely being drained of all their energy. Goku weakly looks up in the sky and says that Moro's coming for them. He then collapses, followed by Vegeta and Caulifla, with Cabba being the last one conscious. Moro simply smiles at him and thanks him for the energy, as he holds a ball of ki in front of him and eats it. Cabba collapses to the ground, and Moro has one more trump card that he could pull out. After all, they were using their trump card too, so Moro should pull out his trump card as well. This will assure victory, and assure that he gets to eat the entire Megaverse. Gohan's group flies over, with Hit bringing Granolah back to the ship. Meirus does have some senzu beans there. Gohan and Piccolo are the only ones that see Moro right now. They see him from behind, but Moro slowly turns around. It looks like he's eating someone, and then he transforms completely. If Granolah and Hit were here right now, they'd know what's going on. Same for Cabba and Caulifla if they were conscious. But it looks like he ate some prisoner and they don't know who it is. Moro used this opportunity to eat 7-3, absorbing him and now having all of his powers. He admits to them that they almost won there. Had he not seen that opening, they probably would have killed him pretty easily. But now this pretty much seals the deal, as he then quickly vanishes behind Gohan and Piccolo, grabbing onto both their necks. Fascinating, these powers are pretty nice. He then stretches his arms out and drives them into the ground below, absorbing their energy while he's at it. He then turns around to see Hit and Granolah are there alongside Beerus, and he thanks them for making this so easy for him. The three of them see the gems on Moro and realize what happened. Did he absorb 7-3 somehow? Moro then stretches his arms again, grabbing onto Hit and Granolah. They then fall to the ground having their energy drained too, and Beerus can't believe what he's watching. The Galactic Patrol ship floats nearby as well, with Broly and Kale watching through a window, and Moro tells Beerus to deliver a message for them. When they're stronger, come find him. He'd love to have another snack and absorb their energy again. That's why he left everyone alive here. And now might be a good time to test his abilities. He then vanishes from sight. He doesn't teleport away though, it's just everything changes all at once. Beerus looks around. All the prisoners that were once there, they're turned into husk now. He can't see Moro anywhere. In that instant, he briefly stopped time, rapidly moving around and taking the remainder of everyone's energy, completely killing the rest of the prisoners around him. And it takes Beerus a second to realize what happened. He did that same weird twitch that Hit does when he does his time skip. But it wasn't just simply that, he completely stopped time. He must have attacked during that time stop. Beerus rushes to wake everybody back up, glad that they aren't dead. But now, they really need to work quickly and figure out what to do next. Moro might be too strong to defeat at this point. And who knows what's going to happen next? How strong can he truly grow, and what is his plan? Moro is amazed at his current speed. He's flying around so quickly and effortlessly. Although with that much power, he is using a lot of energy and is getting a bit hungry. He does note that his body is having a hard time maintaining the power too. So he's in a weird situation where he wants to eat more, but he also doesn't want to overwhelm himself. He doesn't have perfect control over his body yet, but he will get that. Going around nearby solar systems, absorbing them without any effort. They make for such great snacks. It's going to be a nice way to tide him over until everyone else shows up again. The entire Megaverse will be his next, and then the multiverse itself. The best part about all this new power is the fact that he has access to so many different abilities. The regeneration of Namekians, the intense godly ki of the Saiyans, Gohan's Ultra Instinct, Hit and Granolah's time warping abilities, as well as Granolah's improved eyesight. And that's exactly why the power is so hard for him to maintain at the moment. But he has some time to himself. He can get better acclimated to this body and have it contain even more power. Maybe he could even merge with the multiverse itself, rather than simply just eating it. It's not out of the question, and that's actually what he aims to do now. He causes havoc around nearby galaxies. Back on the destroyed Namek, everyone is trying to monitor his movements. They could sense him even from that far away. The amount of energy he's giving off is incredible, and he's moving so rapidly too. Vados and Whis then appear on the planet next, with the Saiyans wondering if they're here to help, but obviously they can't fight. That's not why they're here. They're here to basically help them see what's going on. The angels are basically just here to deliver a message. The gods are working on a way to stop Moro. After all, after the whole multiversal merge, they do want to take their jobs more seriously, and that includes Beerus and Champa even though they don't lift a finger too much. Whis tells them that the gods are actually doing something here. Vados then pulls out her staff and projects an image of Moro towards the others. They watch as he flies around, only taking seconds to absorb entire solar systems. He's gone mad with power, and his hunger's grown out of control too. And with everything he eats, every moon, every planet, every star, every solar system, his power is ever increasing. And rather than using it to just power himself up, he's using this power to fortify his body, helping it contain all the other power he's gained. Well, they have an idea of what he's doing, and they already kind of knew what he was up to, so why are the angels here anyways? But Whis tells them to watch closely. Moro continues his rampage, but then stops midair, as if he senses something coming towards him. A powerful aura surrounds him as he taps into Ultra Instinct. This isn't the full Ultra Instinct either, it's just Omen because that's all Gohan had. But it's enough for him to dodge 2 attacks, as 2 fast purple beams of light comes towards him. Floating there out in the vacuum of space is Beerus and Champa. Moro is a bit surprised to actually see them here. He didn't expect them to get involved in the fight. But this could be interesting. Imagine if you were to take the powers of God of Destruction. Not just 1, 2 of them actually. That could be truly amazing, and their power must be delicious. He's salivating over the thought of how much power they have. It's going to be a truly great feast. And Beerus commends Moro for his effort. His power is truly astonishing, and honestly, Beerus isn't sure if any of the mortals will be able to defeat him. Even if they all combine their powers together, it seems this magician has grown too powerful. But Champa says they're going to have to put a stop to it. They already had one problem with Zeno and they don't want another. Besides, if Moro destroys all the planets around them, who's going to have any good food left? The only ones who should go around the universe destroying and eating things are them. And Moro laughs at this. What are they supposed to do then? It's like they said, he's grown so powerful now that the other mortals can't defeat him. He doesn't assume the gods of destruction are much higher up, but even if they are, he should surpass them by now. And Beerus says he's right. But there's 2 things Moro should know about. First of all, his power is great, but his body can't contain the power. It's already overflowing out of him, and they could tell that Moro is struggling to maintain it. His aura itself is so powerful and is leaking so much ki that it illuminates entire galaxies around him as his energy flows out in every direction. The aura itself is even dangerous. The closer someone gets to Moro, the more damage the aura causes just because there's so much energy flowing out of him at once. It's explosive. And they don't think that Moro can maintain that power for too long. More importantly though, they address what Moro said about the gods of destruction. By now, he's actually stronger than most gods of destruction. Beerus says they definitely would have a challenge, and it would take at least 2 or 3 of them to defeat him, which makes the magician smile. So they probably can't defeat him either, right? It's hopeless. But Champa says that they were just talking about other gods of destruction. These 2, they're different. They've been training with their angels for hundreds of years now. The others have even seen it on Beerus' planet. Ever since the Universal merged, they didn't want to get more serious after all. Beerus says they can't blame Moro for not knowing because the gods never really do fight. Especially Beerus and Champa, who are so far above the others. But they tell him he's going to get a nice treat before he dies. He's going to see the full wrath of these twin destroyers, something that most people won't ever get to see in their lives. They tell him to consider it an honor that they even have to use this power against him. They're especially mad that Moro is destroying all their food sources though, and Beerus doesn't want his rivals to be destroyed by him either. They're going to be fighting with nothing held back. Not because they want to use their full power, but because their anger is basically making them use it. Their ki swells up, overwhelming Moro's. His aura is pushed back, destroyed by the raw destructive power from theirs. Moro tries to power up a little bit more too, activating his cerulean red eyes, combining it with the power of Ultra Instinct as well. He tells these two they're fools to stand up against him. In that brief moment when he stopped time, he made sure to take everybody's powers. They're up against an entire arsenal of abilities. And he's glad that he's going to get to fight them. They'll make for delicious snacks, and a great test for his strength right now. His power is so grand that they won't surpass him, no matter how much they bluff about their powers. But there's one thing Moro doesn't address. They're right. His power is going to overflow if he keeps fighting like this. He doesn't want to overload himself. The energy's too much and he needs to fortify his body even more. By fighting, that's taking away from that. But he has no choice, although this will be a great battle because he'll be able to get all of their abilities as well. The twins vanish from sight, then appearing on either side of Moro as he blocks both their attacks at once. A punch from Beerus and a kick from Champa. They begin dashing around the universe, flying at such immense speeds that they can only be tracked by Whis and Vados. And Moro's having a tough time. He's desperately trying to dodge their attacks, but also trying to attack them as well. This Ultra Instinct isn't perfect. He can't dodge every attack, especially because he's facing two of them at once. And Moro's at his full power, but he could tell that they're not right now. But Granolah's eyesight kinda does help him. He's able to see vital points on Beerus and Champa, trying his best to strike them. But they're so quick, it won't work. The only way he can do it is by completely stopping time. Which is something that he can't do in rapid succession. It's something that kinda does take a lot of energy out of him because he hasn't really experienced this much. He briefly stops time, only for half a second. But at the speeds they're moving, that's an immense amount of time. And in that split second, he lands thousands of punches on Beerus, all aimed at different vital points. And at the same time, with his other hand, he launches thousands of blasts at Champa, also aimed at vital points. But somehow, even in the stop time, they're still able to move. What the hell is this? Are they so fast that they even transcend that? As time starts flowing normally again, Moro is hit at rapid speeds by both of them. His attacks actually did damage them a bit, but they also damaged Moro. His body's growing more unstable. And when he did make contact with Beerus, Beerus' aura actually did hurt him a bit. Beerus says they're not stupid. They surrounded themselves with their raw destructive energy. And sure, some of his attacks made it through, but most didn't. Champa barely took any damage. And even though Beerus did take some more, that means Moro took some of his own because he actually made contact. Moro desperately tries to survive. This is what he'll do. Next time, he'll stop time, and he'll be able to grab onto one of their necks. He'll coat his arm in so much energy that their destructive power won't be able to destroy his arm. He'll steal their powers and use it against them. This fight is so explosive that it's leaving permanent scars on the Megaverse. There's brilliant streaks of light left behind from wherever everybody's flying, and from when they strike each other. And Beerus and Champa are trying to control themselves. They need to balance out each other's power. One of them alone could actually take on Moro pretty easily, but there's a reason there's two of them here. For example, if Beerus was just fighting alone, his destructive power would be more than enough to get rid of Moro. But it would be so explosive that it would probably destroy the multiverse, not just this Megaverse, but every other universe around them. They've dealt with this before, and now they know how to work around it. That's why Champa's there to balance it out. With every action Beerus takes, Champa takes an inverse action. This means they are limiting themselves a bit, but they're still able to use immense power. In this way, the universe itself isn't at risk. Sure, there's a couple scars here and there, but nothing that can't be fixed later, especially for what they have in mind. Moro only has one shot at this. He charges all of his energy and stops time once more, this time extending it to a full second. And again, at the speed they're fighting, that's basically an eternity. And amidst the time stop, he channels all of his power into one hand, trying to fortify it and protect it as much as possible. His body's already growing unstable, and he needs to expel the power somehow. But at the same time, if he can get access to their powers, that'll help him kill them quickly. It'll let him survive this encounter and continue onwards. He reaches a hand out, going right through Beerus' aura and grabbing his neck. Or at least, that's the plan. Beerus' aura suddenly flares up even more, and he turns back looking at Moro. Did he really think that stopping time would work on people as fast as themselves? Moro's arm is scorched by Beerus' aura, but he grabs onto Moro's arm, completely destroying it. And then Moro feels a hand on his other arm. Time resumes, and then Champa's there. Both of his arms have been destroyed, with Beerus simply lifting a finger up, then poking the gem on his head, cracking it as an overwhelming amount of energy flows out, with a geyser of ki launching across the universe from it, raising anything in its path. Moro's body begins morphing, unable to contain the power. This can't be happening. He got too greedy, but he didn't expect it to be like this. He thought he'd be able to maintain this power. But his last sight is the twin brothers standing together, charging all their power together, each with a hand outstretched. They tell Moro that he clearly doesn't know who he's dealing with. He shouldn't have underestimated them. Moro's aura is completely crushed, overwhelmed by the aura of Beerus and Champa. And it's not just that, the aura is erased. The power just does not exist now. But they do commend him. They actually had to go full power here, which made the battle much more fun than they expected. If he weren't facing the two strongest gods of destruction, he might have won. He might have been able to absorb the multiverse, and he definitely would have beat them then. But that's not happening here. Not today, not ever. Because now Moro is going to be gone permanently, with each launching a combined Hakai, completely erasing the magician, leaving nothing left. Champa turns to Beerus and says that was a good battle, and Beerus is impressed. It's been a while since they had to use that strength, and it was nice fighting alongside Champa for once. He wouldn't have thought that Champa would have gotten to this level. But Champa reminds him, they're twins. Of course they're going to be close to each other. Back on Namek, everyone is just watching in disbelief, with Whis and Vados happy that it's over. Looks like their lords got it done just like they said. But Vegeta asks, if they could have gotten involved this whole time, why'd they wait until now? Well, Whis says they did want to get involved at first, but there was an issue. For one, they wanted to make sure any damage could be restored. Namek's Dragon Balls are gone, and as for Earth and Cereal, their Dragon Balls probably wouldn't have been strong enough. So they gathered the Super Dragon Balls while everyone else was fighting Moro. They actually did think the mortals would have been able to beat him, but they didn't realize he had that much power in store. The Super Dragon Balls are basically a backup plan. They didn't want to fight the battle for the mortals off the bat, but at a certain point, Moro did become their issue, so they didn't really have a choice. And that's where the two are headed right now. They're getting the Super Dragon Balls because they got them in a safe place. Not only did they have to gather them, but they had to make sure they were really far away from Moro. Especially because by the time they got them, Moro had already grown so much stronger. Imagine how powerful he would have been if he got the Super Dragon Balls, whether that meant absorbing them for himself or using a wish from them. And yeah, they kinda did cause more damage by going this route, but it doesn't matter to them because in the end, they're able to use the Super Dragon Balls to restore everything, healing all the scars that Moro created, as well as restoring all the planets and the people that were destroyed. But then Cabba brings up a pretty good question. If they had the Super Dragon Balls and they're that powerful, why didn't they ever restore the universes? Why did they keep them merged? Whis and Vados laugh. That's a little beyond them. But, just as I mentioned in the first part, it's actually because of Zeno, thinking it would be pretty entertaining to see two universes merge into one. So, they just kept the Megaverse as is. But this is the first time that the Super Dragon Balls have been used in a long while. Champa and Beerus then come to Namek too, telling the mortals not to get any ideas. They only used it because they didn't really have any other option to restore the universe. However, while the mortals won't be using the Super Dragon Balls for themselves, this will have consequences. It's been so long since they've been used, and Super Shenron has a pretty noticeable presence. Also from the aftermath of this, Goku is now going to try and replicate Ultra Instinct after having seen it once. He thinks he could probably pull it off. He is good at copying things after all, and Cabba wants to work with Goku to attain it. Vegeta and Caulifla though aren't really too interested. They're more so interested in the God of Destruction abilities that Champa and Beerus are showing off, wondering if the two destroyers will be able to show them. That battle was awesome. Caulifla's hyped up and really wants to get that power for herself. And of course Vegeta's intrigued. But everything's back to normal thankfully, and hopefully they're not going to encounter a strong enemy like Moro again. He was far too powerful. The mortals had no hope of defeating him. And, if left unchecked, even the destroyers wouldn't be able to kill him. He already surpassed most of them, but thankfully Champa and Beerus are much stronger. Back on Earth one day, Piccolo's meditating like normal, watching as Gohan is training Broly and Kale, trying to get them to control their power. They're making some great progress, but Gohan says they still have a long way to go, although he's glad at how much they're growing. They're grateful for this because they've always been kind of scared of their power, and Gohan tells them not to worry. They'll be able to get a grasp on it soon. Besides, if anything does go wrong, they have Gohan and Piccolo here to stop it. As Piccolo's meditating, he gets even deeper in thought. There's so many questions he still has about the Megaverse, so many things that he hasn't seen before, especially after seeing the Super Dragon Balls. It makes him wonder different things about the Namekians, because there had to be a Namekian that created those ones, right? It could be interesting to look into. But as he's meditating, he hears voices in his head. Voices of the Namekians that have been long fused into him, such as Saunao and Piranha, as well as Nail, who's the main one at the forefront. There's dozens of voices, all from the Dragon Clan and the Warrior Namekians. But Nail's voice speaks up. If he'd like to learn more about Namekian history, there is one more thing that he should know about it. One thing that may be deep in his memories, but something that he'd never thought of. Has he ever heard the tale of Lord Slug? No, Piccolo hasn't. He could learn more about Zalama later. Looks like he's gonna have to go through the rest of Namek's history first. And remember, this is 2 Nameks, not just Universe 7. And that's where the history of Universe 6's Namek comes in. Far back, there was an old, wise, yet evil Namekian, originating from Universe 6. It makes sense that Piccolo didn't know about this, at least not until now. This didn't have anything to do with the history of his Namek from Universe 7. But millennia ago, before the universal merge, this Namekian existed. He's been searching for the Super Dragon Balls for a while. He tried using Namek's Dragon Balls, trying to gain unstoppable power. The warriors fought him off, banishing him from the planet. But his quest for the Super Dragon Balls still continued, unbeknownst to the rest of the Namekians. They don't know much from beyond that. They don't even know if Lord Slug is still alive. But with the universal merge, it might have been easier for him to gather the Super Dragon Balls, if at all possible. At the very least, there would probably be more planets with Namekians on them. Which is good because any Dragon Balls will help him towards his conquest. And it turns out, Slug is still out there. Over all these years, Slug has visited various planets, trying to extend his life as much as possible, and at one point he did get a set of Dragon Balls from a smaller planet, able to wish for eternal youth. That planet's Namekian destroyed the Dragon Balls, forcing Slug to find another. He found another dragon, but it was unable to find the location of the Super Dragon Balls. But Slug at least has eternal youth now, and far more knowledge than ever before. But after all this time, he finally has a way to find them. He just needed to locate one of them, and that would have let him find the others. He would be able to create some sort of device to locate them. And that's exactly how this arc helped him. Slug has been keeping a close track of the constellations. He knows the location of everything in this universe. Every star, every planet, anything that could be Super Dragon Ball sized. And he notices that 7 giant bodies have shifted. The Super Dragon Balls are dormant for so long that they blended in with everything. But of course, he could see that Super Shenron was summoned. He could feel it. And he noticed 7 suspicious celestial bodies moving around. Those must be the Super Dragon Balls. He just needs to find one of them. And even though it's unusable for now, he can gather its signature, using that to find the rest in another year. It takes a bit, but he's tracked down one of them. And now all he needs to do is wait 1 year. And unlimited power will be in his hands. A whole year passes following the Moro arc. Pretty much everything has gone back to normal, thanks to the wish from the Super Dragon Balls. All the prisoners were actually brought back by that wish too. Which Beerus and Champa didn't realize when they made it, but it doesn't matter because the Galactic Patrol is still around. Everyone that was freed by Moro is brought back to the prison. The prisoners are kind of surprised that Moro lost, and kind of terrified to see that the Galactic Patrol is linked with the Gods of Destruction somehow. Also, the fact that the Gods of Destruction exist and aren't just rumors. Same with the Super Dragon Balls as well. But rumors still spread around the prison. Cabba's taunted by 2 of the inmates one day. Well, one of them because he's the only one who can actually speak normally. They did escape before thanks to Moro's wish, and they overheard some things from him because they were pretty close to his cell, and some of the higher-ups in his temporary group. Prisoners named Botamo and MERGED. Botamo wonders if anyone else is going to seek out the Super Dragon Balls now, since they're basically confirmed to be real at this point. And Cabba says they're not going to get it anytime soon. But Botamo says he should be worried about anyone else out in the universe that's looking to get them. There's people like Moro that probably will want to get them eventually. If Moro actually did succeed with his plans, he probably would have gathered the Super Dragon Balls himself too. They have heard tales of other strong people out there. Villains that the Galactic Patrol has never hunted down. Mainly due to them being so hard to find and probably not even existing. Cabba asks what they're referring to, but they say they're not going to tell him. Besides, they're only rumors anyways. They spoke too much because they don't really want to give any info to a Galactic Patrolman, but they just tell him to keep his eyes peeled. They might have another surprise coming to them soon. This does make Cabba think a lot about it. He never realized that the fact that the Super Dragon Balls were used means that other people might know about them now. He regroups with his fellow colleagues too. Shako thinks it's nothing to worry about. There's no way that anyone's going to be able to get them. Even Moro wasn't able to. And Khalifa says if anything, they should just get them for themselves, just to make sure nobody used them, of course. But Mary says it's better to leave them alone. Besides, Beerus and Champa are obviously aware of them, and if anything were to happen, they'd probably be able to intervene. They would need someone stronger than those 2 to come in and get them. Which is impossible, not even Moro surpassed them. But Khalifa butts in and says that one day, she probably will surpass them. Her and Vegeta have been working towards the same power that they have anyways. Who cares if they could use Hakai's? Khalifa can now too. And even Cabba has his own thing now. She says those Gods of Destruction better watch out. The Saiyans aren't something to be underestimated. That doesn't even include Kale and Broly, since those 2 are getting a better control in their power as well. Goku and Vegeta are back alone on Beerus' planet for the time being, since Cabba and Khalifa do have some work to do with the Galactic Patrol at the moment. The 2 get ready for a brand new battle. Vegeta powers up into a new purple-haired form. This year of training has really paid off. He now has access to a form that he calls Ultra Ego. But Goku powers up into his own form in response, now having some access to Ultra Instinct, although he has a long way to go with it. Training with Gohan and Whis really helped here. Of course, Cabba was involved too. He really wishes those 2 were here right now. A battle with 4 people with their powers would be pretty fun. And they're interrupted by something strange. The Oracle Fish is going on a rampage. Well, as much of a rampage as a fish can go on. He's freaking out for some reason, saying that there's going to be a mortal surpassing the gods rising up soon. They're able to silence the Oracle Fish, and Whis thinks it's nothing. But Goku jokes, maybe that means they're going to surpass Beerus and Champa one day. But Beerus tells him not to get too cocky. Sure, they might get close, but that's probably going to take a couple decades at the very least. Maybe centuries. And as far as he knows, that's beyond a Saiyan's lifespan anyways. Well, maybe it's Piccolo or Gohan or something. Maybe Hit or Granolah. But Beerus doubts it. He doesn't think the Oracle Fish is right this time. With their immense power, there's no way that anyone can surpass them. And if that were to happen, they would have been aware of that person by now. Ah well, Goku does believe that it's going to happen. The Oracle Fish has to mean something by that, right? On Earth, Gohan and Piccolo are fighting against Broly and Kale. They have full control over their Berserk forms now. So it's not really fair to call it Berserk anymore. Piccolo's combined the awesome techniques of Ultra Instinct with his orange form, while Gohan simply uses a white-haired Ultra Instinct transformation. Piccolo finds it incredible how different their powers are. Their strength from Ultra Instinct originates from calmness, but Broly and Kale's power comes from anger, and it seems like it's going to stay that way for a while too. He wonders if they'll ever get anything else, but Gohan says it's better to just practice the basics at the moment. They're not average Saiyans. They take a breather after their battle, but Piccolo then has a weird expression on his face, grabbing onto his head, almost as if it's in pain. Gohan asks what's wrong, but Piccolo closes his eyes. He sees a vision again. Saunel, Pirna, and Nail appear once more. Why are there Namekians in his mind talking to him again? He only sees this during meditation. What are they doing? They tell Piccolo to focus, warning him of a threat, and Piccolo has no clue what they're talking about. He hasn't sensed anything, but he tries to focus as much as he can, trying to sense anything in the entire universe that might be bad. This has never happened to him before. They've never warned him about a threat. But as he focuses, he does feel something very subtle, but it's there. An evil presence, far away, and he can't tell where it is because it's so far. But nearby it, he senses other familiar powers. That key that he senses, it's Granolah. Something's coming towards his planet. It's a calm day on planet Cereal, with Granolah once again enjoying the peace here. A ship lands nearby. It's hit. He just got back from another job. He's surprised Frost and Frieza's army are still out there. They're very few and far in between right now, but he's amazed that their influence still lasts to this day. But he feels something strange, looking up in the sky. Granolah and Minato sense it too. Oatmeal calls out that something's approaching. It's a ship, and there's only one energy on it. Granolah could feel the ominous key within it. Is this some new threat? And it doesn't seem to be related to Frieza or Frost because the ship looks completely different. And this power actually feels strong, unlike their random soldiers. Of course, they immediately fly over towards the ship. On the front and the back of the ship, 2 ramps open. A man steps up to the front, and they can instantly tell he's the Namekian. Well, he kind of expected these 2 to be here. The man doesn't even introduce himself. He says he'll give them a choice. They could play this easy or they could play this tough. Give him the Dragon Balls, or he'll have to find them by force. The Dragon Balls? How does he know about that, and why is he here for them? Well, he gave them a chance. Looks like they're not going to give them up that easily, which he kind of expected too. He tells them it doesn't matter though. Either way, he'll get the Dragon Balls for himself and then destroy them. Quickly, he powers up. He holds nothing back. The entire planet shakes. Everyone is knocked back. And instinctively, Granolah and Hit stop time, just to observe what's going on. But amidst the stop time, they see something that terrifies them. This Namekian is transformed. And his transformation, it looks like Orange Piccolo. But what freaks them out even more is how he moves. While time is stopped, his eyes dart towards them, and a terrifying grin appears on his face. He then slowly turns his body, and then is able to fully move around. Time starts flowing again. He says that's a pretty interesting trick, but it looks like that's probably part of his arsenal too, and he didn't even realize it. He's gone around the entire Megaverse, getting any sets of Dragon Balls that he can get his hands on, quickly and efficiently destroying them after the fact. And all these sets of Dragon Balls, they've granted him knowledge, power, pretty much everything that he needs, but it's still not enough. No set was strong enough to show him where the Super Dragon Balls were, and no set was strong enough to give him the same powers that the Super Dragon Balls would be able to give him. Every random planet that a Namekian is on, he wants to go to all of them, make sure that there's no Dragon Balls left, and then go get the Super Dragon Balls. And he has just 3 more on his list: Planet Cereal, Planet Earth, and then finally Planet Namek. There won't be any Dragon Balls opposing him anymore, and that day might come sooner rather than later. By his own calculations, the Super Dragon Balls should almost be ready to return. He already has a way to track them down, and his main goal will be to gather them as quickly as possible. He has the speed, power, and abilities to get them quickly, and getting rid of any other Dragon Balls ensures that nobody will stand in his way. He doubts they'd be able to do anything, but it's a good plan just in case. Hit and Granolah attack Lord Slug together, and somehow, he's able to use the same time-stopping abilities. And Granolah wonders, did he make a similar wish to him? Is that how he got these powers? One of Slug's wishes granted him the knowledge of all the strong people in the universe. He's made wishes to unlock his potential too, and of course he has his eternal youth. And he does tell Granolah, at one point he made the same wish as him, the wish to be the strongest in the universe, although that was about a year ago. So, things might have changed. But it won't matter. Once he gets his hand on the Super Dragon Balls, it'll all be over. He just needs to tie up these loose ends before he gets them. And he holds them off pretty well, but amidst their battle, they notice the sky turns dark. Lord Slug starts glowing too, and then the sky returns to normal. His power increases once more. It was kind of an unnecessary wish, but it would be a shame to let a wish go to waste before he destroys the dragon. And he's surprised they didn't notice. But when he exited his ship, Slug split himself into 3, with his 2 clones going to find the 2 Dragon Balls. They summoned Taranbo, wishing for him to be the strongest in the universe once more. And immediately after, they killed Taranbo too. He didn't know if it would work, but his clones did seem to be covert enough. Time then stops once more. Granolah and Hit are of course able to move here, but Slug is faster. He moves in front of them. It seems instant, but it's faster than that. What is the speed that he has? Each of his arms punctured through Hit and Granolah, with time resuming. Just like he thought, this new power is pretty great. But again, doesn't really matter. Soon enough, the Super Dragon Balls will give him even more power. He tells Granolah and Hit it's a shame they won't get to see him once he becomes their new cosmic ruler. But at least they were lucky enough to get a glimpse of him. And Slug then senses something moving nearby. Oh yeah, he almost forgot. He casually lifts up a single finger, with an incredibly powerful blast coming out of it. Granolah hears Minato yell out, but it's already too late. Granolah weakly turns around, watching as Minato is incinerated by the blast. He tries using all of his strength to crawl over to Minato, but Slug tells him it's no use, there's nothing left of him. Slug turns back around and walks toward his ship. Time briefly stops again, and he feels Hit grabbing onto his ankle, and he feels something poke him there. He grabs Hit's arm and crushes it. He has a poison needle on him. Did he really think that would do anything to him? He then lifts a foot up in the air, and then stomps on Hit, planting him to the ground and knocking him unconscious. He lifts up 2 fingers and forms a small ball in it, planting it in the ground. Well, that's all the use that Planet Cereal will have for him. His ship departs. Granolah makes it over to where Minato once was, and he finds nothing there. And the planet starts rumbling. The ground starts cracking. What the hell just happened? Not long after, Hit regains consciousness. He's partially healed, but he has bandages on him. and as he looks around, he realizes he's on Granolah's spaceship. He looks out the window and sees the remains of Planet Cereal. Granolah's looking out the window, completely frozen still. Hit wants to know what happened, and Granolah can't even say anything. That guy, he just destroyed it. Everyone's dead. He was lucky enough to have enough strength to crawl back to the ship. Bringing Hit aboard, there was a single senzu bean on there that they got from Goku before. He split it into two, and that kind of healed their wounds, but they still have a long way to go. Had it not been for that, they would have died. They're lucky they even escaped here. But Monaido and all the inhabitants of Planet Cereal, they're dead. The Dragon Balls there are gone too. Everything he's worked to protect, it's all gone. He clenches his fist. He turns to Hit. Granolah doesn't care what happens to himself. No matter what, he's going to kill that guy. He's going to find that Namekian, and he will pay for what he did. To think once more, he's on the path of vengeance. He never wanted to have this feeling again, but it's back, and even worse than before. But Hit says he's going to join. This guy is clearly a threat to everyone. If he just destroys things randomly, who knows what's going to be next? And he's going to get the Super Dragon Balls maybe. Is that even possible? And the fact that he chose today to attack. He was laying low until the Super Dragon Balls came back, which is why he's going around today and eliminating everything beforehand. He's going to get the Super Dragon Balls and power himself up somehow. And by destroying every other set of Dragon Balls, he gets rid of any opposition. Meaning that once he kills someone, they're going to stay dead for good. There's going to be no way for them to be revived. That's why he's destroying everything. They need to do whatever they can to help. Back on Earth, a new threat has recently awakened. A loose end from the android saga. It's an android called Cell, aiming to be perfect, and he has the DNA of all these great fighters here, including Hit and Granolah. But unluckily for him, he's easily defeated by Broly and Kale. This is a good first test of their power. Even in his imperfect state, this Cell was pretty strong. And Gohan and Piccolo are pretty impressed. They didn't expect that threat to appear in the first place, and the fact that those two defeated him with ease, it shows that they've really grown. Especially because the android probably had all of their powers too. Imagine if he became perfect. How bad would that be? But it looks like they don't have to worry about him. Earth has been peaceful for a while, and there's no way that anyone else is going to come here and attack them. Well, hopefully at least. Gohan hears a voice in his head. It's Cabba. He tells them to all come to the Galactic Patrol immediately. He's heard about some threat from Hit and Granolah, and it sounds very serious. They need to take action ASAP. Piccolo, Gohan, Kale, and Broly get on a ship, going towards the nearest base. And when they get there, they see that Goku and Vegeta are there as well. And Hit and Granolah are going to arrive shortly. Cabba says some weird things have been going on. Apparently some Namekian attacked Planet Cereal. It's destroyed. Granolah and Hit barely made it out of there. And apparently this guy might be after the Super Dragon Balls. He also mentions the Galactic Patrol scientists have detected weird movements in space. Ever since Moro died, they've been extra diligent, especially since the prisoners remembered everything, so they knew that other people probably knew about the Super Dragon Balls too. Their lead scientist, Dr. Rhoda, actually had noticed some peculiar things. He's their most brilliant mind. He's the same one who actually helped save Goku from the heart virus, and he's a genius in every aspect. He briefs everyone too. They've detected strange signatures in space. And the weird thing is, this has only started happening today. Planet-sized structures have been moving. And it's not normal planet movement, it's something impossible, almost like they're being moved by someone. Who's strong enough to move planets and how? There's probably not even a technology that could do that. But what's worse is once he noticed this, they looked into it more. The planets give off a strange energy, almost similar to the Dragon Balls on Earth. Likely they're Super Dragon Balls, the ones that are about to return to functionality soon. And this immediately clicks with Piccolo. Wait, they said it was a Namekian. Do they know the name of him? They say they're not sure, but Granolah did mention. When the guy left the planet, he said something about Lord Slug dominating the universe soon. Lord Slug? So that must be him. Apparently he's going to go after the Dragon Balls that are left in the universe, which means Earth and Namek are at risk, the last two planets with Dragon Balls left. Piccolo immediately says they need to split up. He'll station himself on Namek, while another group will go to Earth. Hit and Granolah suddenly arrive too, with Granolah still fuming. He wants to take action immediately, but Piccolo tells him not to be too rash. They do need to act right away, but they still need to be cautious. But Granolah explodes and tells him that they need to go now. And Piccolo says that's what they were planning to do, but he's not surprised that Granolah is so agitated right now. And Hit still can't believe what's going on. This is way beyond him. But he tells Piccolo whatever he needs to defeat Lord Slug, he'll help. And MERGED says that it seems that Piccolo knows a little bit about this guy, and he explains how he does know. But he didn't expect Lord Slug to actually be a threat soon. He thought it was just a random tale that the Namekians told him. And for that reason, they decide Piccolo's going to lead them on what to do. Gohan, Piccolo, Broly, Kale, and Granolah will go to Namek, while Goku, Vegeta, Cabba, Caulifla, and Hit will go to Earth. These groups will know how to best fight with each other, and each group has a person that can control time, although they don't know how much it'll help considering that Slug can do the same thing. Thankfully their ships are pretty quick. Earth was already close by, and getting to Namek only takes about an hour or two. Especially after what happened with Moro, they wanted to make sure their ships were fast enough to beat any enemy. And on both planets, right after everybody gets back, a ship arrives on each. Lord Slug steps off on Namek, but Lord Slug also steps off on Earth too somehow. The group on Namek gets communication from Earth. Slug is here. Well, he's here too on Namek. Granolah mentioned that Slug did split himself up before. This isn't too surprising, and Piccolo says this might be good. If he had to split himself up, either these two are both half of his power, or one's going to be weaker than the other. Either way, that's good. That means they should be able to defeat him, especially with the amount of people they have in their group. He might be individually the strongest in the universe right now, but since he's split up and has to fight all these people at once, they have a chance here. Slug grins as he steps off the ship, seeing Piccolo there. It looks like Granolah and Hit somehow survived, meaning all their friends could prepare too, but it won't really matter. For centuries he searched for the Super Dragon Balls, and his journey is not going to end here. After everything he's done, everything he's sacrificed, and all the power he's gained, they're not going to stop him. He wonders what he should use Namek's Dragon Balls for, or Earth's for that matter. He could just immediately go kill their respective elders, but he'd rather use their wishes first. Maybe he can get immortality, although that immortality might be useless, especially compared to what the Super Dragon Balls can grant. If he ever did become immortal, he wants it to be so powerful that he can't even be sealed away with it. Plain old Dragon Ball immortality is useless. But maybe he doesn't even really need that. With the amount of power that he has, he's basically immortal already. On both planets, the two slugs simultaneously power up, with Piccolo flabbergasted to see his strength. He turns orange, but he also has some of the aura of Ultra Instinct around him. Slug cracks his neck, ready for another fight. It should be fun to utilize all their abilities against them. Following his transformation on both planets, of course the fighters are going to respond with their own transformations too. Caulifla's actually pretty happy about this. It's finally time to show off her new transformation. She's been waiting to use this in battle. She's the first one to transform, taking on a new form with purple hair. Vegeta's also kind of jealous because she keeps her eyebrows, but for some reason his go away when he uses this. Whatever though, he goes into the same form, with both using Ultra Ego. And as that happens, Goku and Kappa go into Ultra Instinct. A fight breaks out on Earth, and quickly, they see that they might be outmatched. Hit also has warned them about his time-stopping abilities too. And they are able to push Slug back, but he is incredibly powerful. He is the individual strongest in the universe, but when he's fighting 5 people that are pretty close to that title too, it's going to make it a bit tough for him, although he has all of their abilities and knows all their moves. He's attacking so quick that he basically surpasses time with ease, not to mention he can control time to an extent. It's almost like he's attacking in the past somehow, like his attacks occurred moments before they actually land. They can't even be seen. They're not even sure of how he's capable of doing this. The same thing is happening on Namek too, where they also have 2 powerhouse fighters and then 2 Ultra Instinct fighters, as well as a time stopper. And as they're fending off Lord Slug, the 2 groups come to realize that the Slug on Earth is stronger. The one on Namek is actually weaker, so he split himself up in a different way. Most of the power went to the one on Earth, and because of that, the one on Namek is actually killed pretty easily. With Shin and Fu teleporting in right after, they're surprised to see them on the battlefield. Piccolo says they should go back immediately because this will put the gods of destruction at risk. But Fu had a great idea. He's going to teleport all of them back to Earth so they can get back there instantly. And just to make sure they have extra firepower, they get 2 pairs of Potara earrings from Shin and Fu. They quickly explain what these things are and what they do. They tell Broly and Kale to bring it back to Earth. Piccolo and Gohan will stay here just in case. Granolah decides to stay with them too. So the Kais quickly teleport Broly and Kale to Earth, then quickly leaving. And Slug does look a bit concerned. He just needs to hold out for a little bit longer. He thinks he could accomplish this. They were smart for splitting up. And he has done some good damage here already. He says that 90% of his power went to the one on Earth, and 10% went to the one on Namek. But now that they have reinforcements, it's kind of an issue. And they notice when Shin and Fu teleport in, Beerus and Champa were there briefly, basically acting as bodyguards for the Kais. Slug obviously did notice the Kais come in, and he probably did have the idea to go after them too. But for some reason he's not even fazed by their arrival. It's like he doesn't even care that he had the opportunity to just kill them now. Which kind of concerns Beerus and Champa. Why does he still seem so confident? He's clearly going to lose here. Beerus and Champa even consider fusing themselves. They could do that and become incredibly powerful, even using Ultra Instinct, which they definitely have access to by now. But at the same time, they need to protect these Kais that they're linked to, and if they do fight alone, balancing out their destructive force would be kind of hard. They might accidentally destroy everything in the process of fighting. Maybe even just from existing, so they don't want to risk it. Slug continues losing ground on Earth. No matter what he does, he's being pushed back and taking considerable damage, to the point where he can't even regenerate it, thanks to Vegeta and Caulifla using Hakais. And they land one final attack. No one even needs to fuse right now, they could just erase Slug right on the spot. And with a combined effort, Lord Slug is defeated. Vegeta and Caulifla land a powerful Hakai together, glad to finally kill him, watching as he's erased by it. But as he's being erased, he smiles a little. They fell for it again. He's erased before he could say anything else. But they're wondering what he means by that. Kappa then gets communication from Dr. Roto with the Galactic Patrol. He says they've detected the Super Dragon Balls returning. It seems they're no longer dormant, basically just at the moment they returned. But the planets, they're all moving together. They have been keeping track of the planets that were supposed to turn into the Super Dragon Balls, detecting nothing strange near them. If they did detect Lord Slug somehow getting near them, they would have been able to tell everybody. But there was no ship that arrived, nothing else. And for some reason, the planets are moving now. Somebody or something is pushing them. And it's because Lord Slug planned for this in advance. With the Super Dragon Balls, there's a clone of him. Lord Slug split off a small fraction of himself a while ago. The 2 slugs that they were fighting were actually 99% of his full strength. There's another Lord Slug clone right there, who's at 1% of his power. There's no way he could fight anybody else. And this is how he remained undetected. He was split off months ago and stayed with the Super Dragon Balls. He kept his energy low so they couldn't detect it, and by living with the Super Dragon Balls, he never needed a ship to fly in. He was completely undetected this entire time. Just to be safe, he would have loved to get Earth's Namek's Dragon Balls, but it doesn't seem like it matters now. Even if those 2 sets of Dragon Balls are somehow used at the moment, it doesn't matter. He already has the Super Dragon Balls. Ideally, he wanted to destroy them, but delaying their usage like this is perfectly fine too. And he thanks Moro and the Gods of Destruction. Without them, he would have had no way of finding the Super Dragon Balls. He also could have simply gone after the regular Dragon Balls after gaining the powers from the Super Dragon Balls, but he simply couldn't wait. Besides, it's better to strike preemptively, and the conquest was pretty fun. He did at least want to feel some sort of challenge before becoming the strongest thing ever. And there was definitely a challenge for a bit, but of course he still had this to get his victory. Super Shenron is summoned, and immediately, Lord Slug makes his wish. He wants the greatest amount of power that the Super Dragon Balls can grant. To become the strongest in any reality, he's going to get the power of the Dragon God Zalama, essentially merging with the Super Dragon Balls themselves. And with that power, he can control the Super Dragon Balls and become the strongest thing ever, surpassing even Zeno with ease. This multiverse will be his domain, and he could probably move even beyond that. The wish is granted, and the essence of Super Shenron himself merges into Lord Slug, with Slug powering up immensely. The Super Dragon Balls around him are destroyed, causing an explosion that's so powerful that the shock destabilizes the entire universe. The men between Universe 6 and 7 breaks once again from this. Everything is shaking. It can be felt on Namek, on Earth. Not just that, the sacred world of Kai's, Beerus' planet. Otherworld, hell, all of the realms in Universe 6 and 7. Beyond that too. Reaching the other universes as well. The other gods of destruction and Kai's wonder what's happening. And even Zeno is alerted from this. But just as he and the Grand Priests are about to look into it, they just disappear, completely being removed from reality, alongside Zeno's guards. Slug needed to get everyone there out of the way immediately. They're realistically the only threat he could have faced, but it looks like he was worrying too much because he was even beyond them. It all happened within an instant. They didn't even realize what was happening by the time it did happen. As for everyone else, they're of no concern. No other sets of Dragon Balls are strong enough to hurt him. No mortals are strong enough to hurt him. No gods are strong enough to hurt him. Slug is the strongest thing in reality right now, and it's by a huge margin. But it can't just be this reality. Slug needs to assure that he's the strongest in every reality. There can't be any threat facing him. But this is all part of his plan anyways. He's not concerned at all. And Slug is going to exploit this chaos. With all the universes collapsing in on each other, it's a good opportunity for him. This is his new domain, and he wants to see what he truly controls here. The boundaries between every universe collapse. Every universe is destabilized. Slug tries to even warp time for himself, but runs into a little bit of an issue. His body can't fully adjust to this power. It's not because it can't contain it, it's because he's created a weird paradox. He's messing with time and reality a little too much right now. And he sees the problem. He needs to become a constant. There are Lord Slugs in other realities. He needs to obtain their power as well. There just needs to be one. By controlling the realities of the other Slugs, he risks affecting himself. Well, that's fine with him. He needs to purge all the other realities of any threats anyways, so taking a pit stop and merging with his other selves isn't too big of an issue. This will be his prime reality, and he'll become the constant, the one Slug in any realities. And once that happens, he'll truly have a full grasp on his power. Not just raw strength, but the ability to overwrite reality itself, basically authoring his existence and everyone else's. Sure, right now he's the strongest thing ever. He doesn't really need this, it's almost too excessive, but the power is tantalizing. He wants it for himself. He wants the ability to overwrite reality to his heart's content. This will allow him to grow so much further than he can even imagine right now. So he leaves this reality for a bit, warping into others just to find the other Slugs. And just the thought of it makes him excited. He'll have the full power of the Super Dragon Balls. He could even make his own wishes from the Super Dragon Balls, basically have an infinite wishes. And this will be accomplished soon enough. For now, we'll just refer to him as Prime Slug because there's going to be other ones coming into this story, as he looks through other realities trying to find them. And with all these different realities that exist, he has 2 tasks. He needs to get rid of all the other Slugs by merging with them, or simply killing them if they won't merge with him. And besides that, he needs to do the same with the Super Dragon Balls, either absorbing their power or destroying all the Super Dragon Balls in any other reality. But by doing this, he creates even more destabilization. Connections are made to other realities, any other continuity where Lord Slug exists in it. Back in Universe 6.5, or whatever this universe is now because all of them are collapsed together, Beerus and Champa are trying to figure out the best thing that they could do. The other gods of destruction are already on the move. Even in Universe 11, they've mobilized the Pride Troopers, but nobody knows what to do right now. Of course, there's a huge threat, but how do they even find Lord Slug, and what are they supposed to do against him? But the biggest issue is in Universe 6.5, since alternate Slugs start appearing here. These were sent by Prime Slug just to help him out, and now Earth faces a bunch of them. Some are variants of Prime Slug, and some are just simply clones of him that he split off. They all descend upon Earth. Looks like they're gonna have to use those Patara earrings now. They just hope this works. Goku and Vegeta decide to fuse together, and Caulifla's about to fuse with Cabba, but wonders what would change if he fused with Kale instead. So they fuse together. 2 new fusions are born, naming themselves Vegito and Kefla. Vegito has all of Goku and Vegeta's powers, meaning he can swap between Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. But as for Kefla, she's a raw powerhouse, having all of Kale's explosive strength, combined with the destructive power of Caulifla's Ultra Ego. Vegito's the best here in terms of technique, but Kefla's all about raw power. They start defending Earth. Meanwhile on Namek, it doesn't seem like anything is going on there. Piccolo, Gohan, and Granolah need to get back, but the Kais can't risk going to Earth right now. So they're stuck on Namek. What are they supposed to do? Piccolo needs to try and formulate some sort of plan. As Prime Slug moves through all the realities, he comes across some very strange ones. Things are different, and he's not too sure why. He assumes it's some kind of butterfly effect. Maybe one thing changed a while ago and that caused everything to change here. For one, he notices all these realities, they just have normal Universe 7s. And it seems like in all those realities he's from Universe 7, surprisingly. Let's look into one of these realities for a bit. In this reality, we arrive on Earth, in a seemingly normal Universe 7. On this planet, there's a man that looks like Goku, but he isn't Goku. He goes by the name Kakarot, and he's watching as 2 people are fighting right now. His brother Raditz, and his ally Granolah. These 2 have recently ascended their most powerful forms, gaining their own respective Ultra forms, and they're about to face off with them. But they notice a strange tear in reality, and they know that's what it is because they've experienced this before. A man steps through this tear in reality. It's Lord Slug. How is he back? They killed him so long ago, and what is that tear in reality? Raditz doesn't want to deal with more multiverse shenanigans again. But it looks like they don't have a choice. Granolah, Raditz, and Kakarot all transform to strange-looking forms. This surprises Slug a bit. Weird, he never saw those in his original reality. It seemed like this was a universe where Goku was somehow raised by the Crane School, never hitting his head and basically being Kakarot his entire life up until now. Well, he isn't sure what happened here, but he doesn't really care. Although, I'll put it on the top right of the screen if you want to see what scenario this is. He focuses all of his power, and strangely enough, another Lord Slug materializes out of nowhere. He came to this reality, using the strongest people here as a beacon, which is Kakarot, Raditz, and Granolah. This helped him locate the reality, and now he's using his powers to warp time. Slug is dead in this reality, but he pulled him out of the past, because even though he's dead here, he was never erased. His soul still exists. The other Slug even looks confused too, but then Prime Slug grabs onto him, forcibly pulling his essence into himself. Essentially a Namekian fusion that he controlled. This is an interesting reality. He'll definitely have to come back soon. And Prime Slug then disappears. What the hell was that? In another continuity, the same exact thing happens. This time, Prime Slug locates somebody on Namek. And once again it turns out to be Goku, or at least an alternate version of him, who's also Kakarot in this timeline. He was actually raised on Namek, and it seems like a Lord Slug exists in this timeline too. Strange, it looks like Goku constantly comes into contact with Lord Slug in these other timelines. He goes into another reality. Surprisingly enough, the person he teleports to is Frieza. So Frieza's one of the really strong people in this reality. The Emperor transforms, with his body becoming black and silver. But before Frieza could even attack him, Lord Slug pulls himself out of this reality too. This is a timeline that kind of follows the regular events of the mainline story, but where the events of the Lord Slug movie took place. And he keeps hopping around different realities where he did exist. And there's one reality where there's no Lord Slug, but they know what's happening there. There's Granolah, the Supreme Kai of Time, and she's there with 2 different versions of Bardock. They notice an instability in reality, something that they have experienced before, where someone was messing with time and space. But this time, it's much different. The person messing with it is far stronger. She wonders if this involves Fuse somehow. Bardock suggests that the newly formed Time Patrol should get involved, but they kinda need to figure out what's going on first. Let's go back to the main reality. In case you didn't get what just happened, Lord Slug hopped between a few of my what-ifs and then some other realities too. But while all that was happening, in the reality of this story, Piccolo finally did formulate a plan. He wanted to learn more about the Dragon God Zalama. Lord Slug doesn't see this universe as a threat anymore, and he's gonna come back eventually to rule it, so he won't destroy it. So Piccolo wonders, is there a way to create his own set of Super Dragon Balls? They've gathered all the Namekians together, all the new warrior Namekians, and the Elders. And surprisingly enough, Shin and Kibito teleport in, even bringing Kami to Namek too, holding all 7 of Earth's Dragon Balls. This entire time while Slug has been causing chaos, they feel like they might have come up with a plan. Piccolo merging with other Namekians worked really well before, so maybe they could do that again. Merge with everyone here, have the power of Universe 6 and 7's Namek, but not just the warriors, the Dragon Clan members too. So from what they understand, Lord Slug merged with the Dragon. What if Piccolo was able to do the same? This is a last-ditch effort. They really have no other option here. They might as well put all their cards on the table. This is incredibly risky, but it's worth a shot. Shenron and Porunga are summoned together, and all the Namekians gather around Piccolo. And Piccolo makes one wish to both the dragons. He wishes for the dragons to grant him all the power they can, merge into him. This is really a long shot, but this will buff Piccolo significantly, and maybe will give him the ability to create his own Super Dragon Balls. That's really their only shot at winning here. A strange glow surrounds the entirety of Planet Namek. The 2 dragons grant their wishes. Gohan and Granolah watch on cautiously. A fight on Earth rages on between the Slug army and all of our heroes. But on Namek things are weirdly peaceful. Every Namekian disappears, as do the dragons, with light shooting out of them, going into Piccolo. Every Namekian, both dragons, the Dragon Balls, all of them merge into Piccolo. Both sets of Dragon Balls swirl around the entire planet, then implanting themselves into different parts of Namek, almost like seeds being planted for a tree to grow. And where Piccolo stands, there's a strange pillar of light, a giant one in fact, taking on the shape of a Namekian tree. He ascends up into the circular part of it, and all the light condenses into him, and Piccolo floats there, in awe at this new power. That definitely works, but he's not sure if this is enough, otherwise he'd just wish Lord Slug away right now. There's still more that needs to be done, but they're on the right path. And they probably need to get back to Earth too. He thanks all the other Namekians for their sacrifice, but they live on within him, and hopefully when this is all over, he can return their lives. Gohan asks if he feels any different, and Piccolo says he does, trying to summon this brand new power. And Granolah looks on kinda speechless. Is he even Piccolo anymore? He begins morphing into something entirely different. And on the planets of the gods of destruction from every universe, their respective angels are all watching. Hope might have arrived, and they need to help out that Namekian somehow. They don't know who this Namekian from Universe 6.5 is, but they simply refer to him as the Namekian Savior. Piccolo fully transforms, trying to summon this power for the very first time. He takes on an odd appearance. His size is similar to that of his orange form. But there's some clear changes. First of all, he goes back to being green, although a darker green, more like what Shenron looks like. He grows a tail, looking like that of a dragon. And in his chest, they see the Dragon Balls. Or what used to be the Dragon Balls. Piccolo has effectively become the new Zalama. But he needs to surpass that. He needs to have power great enough to stop Lord Slug. He'll need power greater than the Super Dragon Balls, not just in one timeline, but all of them. But he realizes something. A way for him to get power. With this newfound strength and his heightened sense of awareness, he realizes something. Slug has been traveling into other realities, other timelines. He's been trying to merge with alternate versions of himself. And maybe it's working. He's not too sure because he doesn't know where Prime Slug is at the moment. But if that works for him, then it should work for Piccolo too. As he is now, his power might not be enough to fight Lord Slug, which is absurd because he's definitely the strongest thing in the universe besides him. Everything pales in comparison to his power at the moment, but it still might not be enough. He needs to assure Lord Slug is stopped. He tells Gohan and Granolah they need to regroup with the others. And not long after, Beerus arrives on the planet. But it's strange because Namek is completely empty. The planet itself is pretty much untouched. But there's no people here. They're all within Piccolo now. Piccolo's gonna chase down Lord Slug, while they're gonna have to defend this universe in case anyone tries to attack it. Piccolo already knows that there's clones of Lord Slug here trying to attack, although he's unsure if they're clones, alternate versions of him, or a mix of both. Either way, it's up to them to help the others and defend Earth too. Piccolo slowly floats up in the air, and then vanishes, trying to use his power to warp between realities. Gohan and Granolah wish him luck, as Beerus then flies them back to Earth, amazed at how strong a mortal could grow. As Piccolo travels through realities, it's kind of tough for him to merge with other Piccolos. As for Lord Slug, he was going to any time on the Slug, and they either willingly merged with him, or he just forcefully merged them into himself. But as for Piccolo, it's a little bit different because either the other Piccolos are hesitant to merge with him, or he's not going to want to forcefully merge them into himself. He travels through many different timelines. Some Piccolos do end up joining him, but others don't. But Piccolo realizes something else that he didn't even notice before. As he's looking through different realities and timelines, he notices something strange about his reality. Not too long ago, around the time when they were first fighting Slug, he noticed that there's a lot of timelines that split off. And he remembers, Lord Slug was manipulating time while he was fighting. And not the normal time skip or time stop, he was actually rewinding time basically. Controlling it to attack in the past somehow. Piccolo completely forgot about that. But every time Lord Slug traveled into the past, he accidentally created an alternate timeline. A timeline where events went exactly the same as before. And the thing is, Slug did this so many times that Piccolo has hundreds of timelines to choose from. So he splits himself into hundreds, going into each of these different timelines. He'll have to deal with the mess that he made with the timelines later, but for now, he could use this in his favor. And the best part is, the Piccolos in these other timelines, they're him just from a few hours ago at most. And it's strange because there's no Lord Slug in these timelines. He just appeared and then disappeared. He didn't even realize what he did, and they didn't realize that Lord Slug was still around. But by splitting himself up, he's able to convince all the other Piccolos to join him. They're basically perfect clones of himself before he did that ritual. He's hoping this will work. This is all too much for him, and he still doesn't know if it's going to guarantee a win here. But still, there's only one way to find out. This is their last resort. Back in the main reality, Earth is still being swarmed by different copies of Slug. Thankfully, with fighters like Ultra Ego Kefla and Ultra Instinct Vegito, it's pretty easy to fend them off, although these fusions don't really last too long. At first, yeah, they're giant powerhouses, but the fusions run out pretty much instantly. Granted, with how fast these people fight, that still is a lot of time. But they also can't just fuse immediately again. And it doesn't seem like the army of Lord Slugs is letting up. They're still appearing, but at one point, they just stop. All of them disappear, but our fighters on Earth sense a weird power approaching. They can't even explain the sensation of the power. It's so strong that it's basically unreadable. They have to even stop focusing on the key. Just trying to feel how powerful this guy is makes their head hurt. And they see that he's finally returned. It's the Prime Lord Slug, the one from this reality. He tells them not to worry. He's not going to destroy this reality. This is the one he hailed from after all. He's not just going to abandon it. And he says it's going to be a nice starting point. He'll roll every other version of reality from here. Besides, a megaverse of 12 universes merged together, that's a pretty fitting compound for him. Think of it as a multiverse-sized castle. Beerus arrives back with Gohan and Granolah, and they just stand there in awe with the others. They can't even try to fight Slug. It's like their instincts are holding them back from it. Kappa and Goku even turn to Ultra Instinct, but Ultra Instinct doesn't let them attack. They know that even approaching him is far too dangerous. Their bodies just automatically avoid fighting him. Is this it? Is this the end of everything? Not just their universe, not just their reality, but every reality. And the craziest part to them is that Lord Slug looks the same. He hasn't undergone some amazing change. He isn't even in his orange form right now. He just looks like Lord Slug. The power is just innate. He doesn't need a transformation for it. Reality is his now. He can overwrite it to however he wants. But he knows something is still lurking about. Obviously, he's not done. With his great power, he's omniscient. He's omnipresent. He could feel everything, and he knows pretty much everything. He knows what Piccolo's up to. Although it was too focused on his own conquest where he didn't even realize it. And any minute now, he's going to show up again. There's a brilliant glow of light. That same tree-shaped key that Gohan and Granolah saw reappears. Pretty much out of nowhere. And Lord Slug instinctively blocks an attack. The group on Earth can't even tell what's happening. It happens faster than an instant. By the time it's already happened, they haven't even processed it yet. Piccolo's reappeared, ready to fight Lord Slug. Slug says that Piccolo's plan was pretty impressive. And maybe he could have stopped him when he first got the Super Dragon Balls. But Slug's on a completely different level now. His power is incomprehensible. He's merged with every other version of himself that he could find. He's merged with other sets of Super Dragon Balls from other realities. He knows Piccolo probably heard what he said, even when he was in a different reality, but he repeats himself. He could rewrite everything. He basically authors his own story. What Piccolo says despite Lord Slug's immense power, he doesn't even realize. He's still underestimating his opponents. The two of them then warp away, reappearing in the middle of nothingness in some unknown reality, a place where they could fight that's not going to damage anything. Piccolo brought them both here. He and Slug have the exact same powers now, although obtained in different ways. This new version of Piccolo was born specifically to defeat Lord Slug, born from Slug's own arrogance too. But Slug wonders why Piccolo's resisting it. He tells Piccolo to just bask in the power that they have. Isn't it amazing? Slug honestly can't believe seeing someone with just as much power as him. And he hopes this enlightens Piccolo. These gods have all failed them. Look what happened to the universe they came from. The ignorance of the gods caused them to merge together. They caused this. They caused Lord Slug to be what he is today. And not just that, he's seen so many different timelines too. No god is fit to rule in any other universe. The gods of destruction, the Kais, Zeno, the angels. No one has been effective. Slug is going to be an effective ruler. Besides, it's not like anyone could stand up against him anyways. Now's his chance to make everything right. Make reality how he sees fit. Piccolo must have seen it. Those gods. All those timelines where things diverge. They don't have the dedication, the mindset, the power to rule like he can. But Slug does. And Piccolo is his equal. How has that not enlightened him yet? The fact that they should create their own destiny. But the destiny of everyone isn't for Lord Slug to decide. And Slug questions Piccolo. Then who can decide it? He's the most powerful thing to ever exist. Why can't he choose, and who's going to tell him not to? But Piccolo says it's for neither of them to decide. They are still mortals after all, and if Lord Slug lived among them like Piccolo did, he'd probably see Piccolo's point of view. Slug laughs this off. They're not mortals anymore. They surpassed that long ago, even before these wishes were made. Piccolo is surrounded by the spirit of limitless Namekians that are fused within him, as Slug also gets ready for a battle. An unexplainable battle ensues. A battle between good and evil. A battle between Universe 6 and Universe 7. Between past and present, a Namekian from long ago and a Namekian from the new merged universe. Two different ideals clashing together. Two equally amazing powers. Two beings limitless in nature at this point. It's not even a traditional fight. The attacks they exchange are enough to destroy everything. The speed at which they're moving. This all happens faster than an instant. The scale of the battle. It goes across many different universes, different realities. They travel through time and space, beyond dimensions that we can even comprehend. Slug is trying his best to kill Piccolo, but as for Piccolo, he's just trying to get a hold of his power. And at some point, he thinks he has the hang of it. He might not be able to kill Lord Slug. Even with the power he has right now, he's not sure if that's possible. But he can end this, albeit in a very non-traditional way. Not some martial arts, not some ki blast, but simply a snap of his fingers. Piccolo can control the power of wishes, and not just from any simple Super Dragon Balls. He can wish whatever he wants, and he resets everything, all with the snap of his fingers. Everyone else doesn't even realize what happened. For them, no time has passed at all. But everything's back to normal. Anyone who has been killed recently, they're revived. Anything that has been destroyed, it's been rebuilt. The tears between realities, the tears between universes, they're all mended. But one thing is different. There is a sacrifice made by Piccolo. He uses up all his current power, just to create a separate indestructible reality, a separate dimension, encased with an infinite other dimensions, all to seal Lord Slug away in. This wish takes all of Piccolo's power and forcefully takes Lord Slug's power too. Simple erasure isn't enough for Lord Slug. He needs to make sure he never exists, never existed. Piccolo is overwriting everything that ever happened, with Slug sealed away in this pocket dimension and then erased. Utterly and completely. Not just that, every action he took, every memory of him. At least for that Prime Slug up until the point where he got the Super Dragon Balls. And then, nothing. Huh, that's weird. I swear I edited this video, but the video was gone. I feel like the script was different, but I don't know what happened. Hold on, I gotta pull up the script again. I think we're on part 14. That's really strange. I swear I edited a video already, but okay. Alright, so where were we? Super Shenron is summoned, or he's about to be summoned. Before he could chant the words to make Super Shenron appear, Lord Slug just starts vaporizing. What happened? He's dying. No, this isn't just death. He's being completely erased, completely wiped out. How did he fail? What happened to him? He doesn't realize what's going on. And strangely enough, I don't remember writing this into the script, but I guess I'll go with it. He just disappears after that? Why did I write that down? Everything is back to normal to what it once was. No one has a clue of what happened. Although Whis and Vados pull out their stabs and see that something happened with Lord Slug. He's gone. He's not in this reality anymore, or any reality. He's gone. Almost like he stopped existing. Only Piccolo knows what happened. He erased Slug and everything from everyone's memories. At least from after this point in time. By reversing time and rewriting reality, he also wonders if his power is gone too. It might still be there, but he has no way of knowing. But he still remembers. And it's strange. The essence of the near-future version of the Namekians that fuse within him, they're still in there, including the Piccolo alternates. But at the same time, those alternate timelines that Lord Slug created on accident, they're gone. They never existed. And those Namekians never fused into him. They're all still here. Everyone's confused as to how everything got restored as well, including Planet Cereal, where everyone's alive again, including Monito. Piccolo could have actually gone back further. He could have made it so Lord Slug never existed, not just in this reality, but every reality. But he didn't like the idea of using time for himself, and authoring reality as he wanted it. All he wanted was for everything to be restored, and for Slug to be defeated. Everyone regroups on Earth, and Piccolo is then approached by Hit and Granolah. These two have a strange sense. It's different from Ki. They can sense disruptions in time. It's inherent to their abilities. And they feel like something happened. They don't know what happened or how it happened, but they feel like it involves Piccolo somehow. There's some sort of disruption in time, something beyond their comprehension. But they're not going to ask any further. They could tell that Piccolo doesn't want them to know for a reason. But Granolah also thanks Piccolo. He doesn't know what went on, but he knows that somehow Piccolo saved everyone, and he brought Planet Cereal back. Kappa asked Beerus if he saw anything, and he said he didn't. Caulifla says this is her own power, and maybe Vegeta's too. Their Hakais were so strong that they erased Lord Slug, even though they were a little bit delayed. And you know what? Yeah, Vegeta theorizes that that might be the case. She and Vegeta have claimed victory, and they're elated, celebrating their great power. They didn't realize their Hakais were that powerful. It looks like Ultra Ego is truly superior. We fast forward a bit, going back to Beerus' planet. Things have obviously returned to normal by now. Every reality is back to how it should be, including this one. The Saiyans and Beerus' planet want to settle the score. Which Ultra form is truly stronger, Ultra Instinct or Ultra Ego? It would have been great to have Gohan here, but you know, it's better this way. It's a 2v2. It's even. Kappa and Goku stand together in Ultra Instinct, as Caulifla and Vegeta stand together in Ultra Ego. On the sidelines is Piccolo, Broly, and Kale, watching on to see what they could learn from this battle. But right before the battle begins, there's a strange warp in time. One person appears and no one recognizes her besides Beerus. It's a short woman dressed as a Kai. It's the Supreme Kai of Time, Granolah. And she comments how this is a strange reality. Universe 6 and 7 are one. Weird, but this does seem like the place where she's supposed to be. And she's here to speak to Piccolo, pulling him aside. They're not necessarily aware of what happened, but they know something happened here and it has to do with Piccolo, as well as the Lord Slug who's gone. Everyone's trying to eavesdrop in on the conversation, but Beerus tells them to get back to their battle. This Supreme Kai of Time is from another reality. One of the ones that Slug skipped over, or was supposed to skip over before everything got reversed. They feel like more threats like this are going to show up. They actually fought someone like that in their own timeline named Fu. And in that reality, they've been working together to try and stop these threats. But they can use a power like Piccolo's on their side. They know Piccolo's a good person. Well, at least in this reality he is. And he might not have full access to his powers right now, but they're still there. They're latent. And he could reawaken that power, albeit maybe pretty slowly. The power is both there and isn't there at the same time. It's a weird paradox, and she's not even too sure how it happened. But she asks Piccolo what he thinks. Would he like to join their brand new time patrol? And it takes some thinking. He reluctantly does accept this though. He could help other timelines too now, and he kinda does want to get to the bottom of what happened. Especially if more threats like this might exist, he wants to make sure they won't happen. He might have gotten rid of Lord Slug, but he wants to make sure every reality is safe. Although, he does know two other people that they could recruit, one from Universe 7 and one from Universe 6, although both of them live in the same universe at the moment. Granollah's probably not going to like their abilities though, the fact that they can control time. Not to a crazy extent though. Piccolo thinks that recruiting Hit and Granolah will really help them too. He wants to preserve this reality. He wants to make sure it remains safe. And maybe these two could join along with him. But he wonders what this time patrol is and what kind of threats they're fighting. As the three of them are taken to a weird place. And they see some strangely familiar faces there too. Is that Goku? Actually, there's a few people that look like Goku. And one of them wonders why they keep saying that name. Another person who's calling him that. His name's Kakarot. Oh yeah, Piccolo should have realized. There are some other strange timelines out there and it seems like these people are from one of them. A reality where Goku's father survived and that whole family actually survived. Also, there's another version of Bardock there too. It's a small crew so far, but the Time Patrol is slowly building up. 3 new members join the What If Time Patrol. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, it's from another What If scenario. With this new path opening for them, and with Universe 6.5 returning to relative peace, this is where we end off for now. It was weird coming up with an ending for this because I was trying to think of something to do outside the box. And this ending is definitely different from what I've done in other scenarios. But I had a lot of fun with it. I could have kept this more grounded, but I like how this turned out. Especially ending with 3 representatives, each from different universes. But what did you guys think? Let me know below. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to see more videos like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, thanks for supporting the scenario all the way through, and I'll see you all in my next video.